This girl pleaded with me to spare her, but I just stared back coldly, revealing the magic circle on my wrist, a clear sign of my power as a mage. A look of pure shock crossed her face as I summoned my fire magic, turning her into a living torch. Just hours ago, my day began with the slave merchant dousing me in ice-cold water. A brutal awakening for sleeping when potential buyers were on their way. He struck me hard, Tğᴇ, across the face for the defiant glare in my eyes. All I could do was wait for the next masters who might purchase my life. Then, a group of adventurers chose me. This was the moment I had been waiting for. It's a common, cruel tactic for adventurers to use slaves as bait inside portals. Monsters are savage, unpredictable beings, music, and sacrificing slaves to lure them out is considered an effective strategy. They approached the gate, the leader marking the entrance with his blade. They would be the first to step inside, claiming treasures untouched by anyone before. We crossed the threshold into another world. The world within was alien, towering. Giant plants surrounded us. As they dragged me by my chains, I could only imagine the size of the monsters that lived here. They boasted of their experience, yet failed to sense the creatures stalking them from the shadows. The woman in their group became the music-first victim. Panic erupted. How did it get so close without a single one of them noticing? They hadn't even had the chance to use me as their disposable shield. Music. The group's leader roared at his companion to tie up the slaves as bait while he faced the monster. The command sent the other slave into a panic, and they both fled. They believed they had escaped. But a second monster erupted from the ground, burying Music, the cowardly adventurer, in the earth. Another monster's tongue ensnared the leader, dragging him to the same gruesome fate as his companion. The last survivor, a red-haired boy, saw me approaching. His eyes filled with a desperate hope. He begged me for help, but soon realized I had no intention of saving him. "Why won't you obey your owner?" he screamed in fury. He didn't understand. I am Music, not weak. For me, facing these beasts is trivial. I calmly retrieved the mage's staff from one corpse and a magic ring from another. The monsters swarmed me from all directions. With a wave of my hand, I unleashed a torrent of fire, incinerating all who drew near. A fire mage is invincible at a distance. The battle was intense, but soon, the field was littered with the scorched remains of defeated monsters. The last adventurer, the girl, was still alive. She begged me to save her, to take her out of this deadly portal. My fury must have been written all over my face. I despise those who exploit slaves, so I gave her the exact fate she had planned for me. When I emerged from the portal and walked back into the city, Music, people stared in disbelief. Why was a slave walking through the streets alone? But I couldn't just run. First, I had to be free of these chains. What they don't know is my secret. I remember my past life. I was Alpam, the last surviving hero from the party that died fighting the legendary dragon. Gornthale, the last adventurer. I fought with every ounce of my being, but even my immense power wasn't enough to defeat that calamity alone. I trembled with helpless rage as I watched my comrades fall one by one. My love was annihilated right before my eyes. The frustration was unbearable. Perhaps a hatred as vast as infinity itself brought me back. Because that final attack should have ended me. Instead, I awoke in a slave's body, 6 years in the past. News of my return quickly reached the ears of Lord Abbas. His subordinate reported that a slave had returned unscathed. An impossible event, as the bait is always the first to die. Abbas was deeply suspicious. How could an entire party of adventurers perish while their slave survived? This strategy is designed to draw out monsters. If the party is wiped out, the slave's death is a certainty. And a slave remains a slave until their debt is paid. Or they die. But the report held an even more shocking detail for Abbas. The slave possesses a magic circle. To Abbas, this was a disaster. Every slave harbors deep resentment for the merchant union. A slave with that kind of power becoming free was a threat to their entire system. The final part of the report made Abbas's jaw hit the floor. The slave was registering as an adventurer. He leaped over his desk upon hearing that Lord Raken himself was taking an interest. If a high-ranking noble was involved with this slave, the situation was far more serious than he imagined. After his employee left, Abbas contemplated how the system works. Slaves are simply those who have debts with the Tğᴇ market. Fail to pay on time, and you are forced into servitude. That boy became a slave because his parents died from a disease, leaving their debt unpaid. They had bought black moss on credit. The merchant union then inflated the price repeatedly, turning it into an impossible debt of 10,000 meso. Elpam was blamed for his parents' debt and forced into slavery to work off an amount he could never repay. And now, a man with every reason to despise the Tğᴇ market was sitting in his office, ready to negotiate. He knew the man before him was Abbas, Lord Raken's left hand. Abbas casually offered to change his contract from slave to a mere F-rank adventurer. A smirk played on Palm's lips. He then declared that he required the rank of E-class, Music. Abbas scoffed, declaring that E rank was reserved for the truly experienced. A slave, by definition, had nothing of the sort. But Palm calmly retorted, For 3 years, he'd been used as bait dozens of times. And since an explorer's greatest virtue is to survive, the fact that he was still breathing proved his worth. The truth in those words was undeniable, leaving Abbas speechless. Looking at the boy, he felt an unshakable, strange premonition. So he offered a deadly test. Palm would join a party entering a portal with a 5-person limit, a portal that had already claimed 12 veteran teams. Survive that, and his worth would be proven beyond all doubt. The next day, Palm stood before the 4 experienced adventurers who would join him on this impossible mission. The group's tank introduced himself with a confident smirk, boasting that his comrades were all formidable warriors. But our hero had a secret. He was a slave for years, until the memories of a past life suddenly returned to him. In their eyes, he was just an innocent boy, completely green and unprepared for the dangers ahead. Their mission: enter the portal and retrieve the belongings of the 12 groups that had already perished. The size of their reward depended on it. Inside the portal, the air was heavy and depressing. They decided to set up camp first, high in the trees, before exploring the desolate landscape. Being the rookie, Palm was told he could rest. The white-haired man declared that building their camp was his and his friend's specialty. A short while later, a formidable camp stood ready. The team decided to split into 2 groups to cover more ground. Tom and Max would form the first group, while Chev and Palm would make up the second. With a nod, each party headed off in a different direction. The rule was simple: if anything went wrong, they were to return to base immediately. Chev found nothing of interest, so he tried to make small talk, saying he'd heard about Palm's past and invited him to join their group permanently. But our hero ignored him, his full attention captivated by a mysterious foot. They returned to camp later with nothing to show for their efforts. All that was left was to eat and rest for the night. Palm drank his portion, and as night blanketed the forest, the group crept towards his sleeping bag. Chev called out his name softly, making sure he was sound asleep. His friend whispered, asking what the captain was doing. The answer was simple, of course. The boy was completely unconscious. They'd mixed a potent sleeping drug into the food and drink they gave him. If they eliminated the slave now, the reward for 5 would be split between only 4 of them. An arm raised, a dagger clutched tightly, ready to finish the job. The blade plunged downwards, aimed precisely at the sleeping form. But Tom looked under the blanket and screamed. Palm had vanished. The rest of the group froze in disbelief. How could he have possibly disappeared? "Find him," Chev ordered, his voice laced with panic. He couldn't have gotten far. Just then, a massive explosion rocked the entire area. From a distance, Palm watched as their supply depot was consumed by fire. Chev instantly knew who was behind it. "Grab the food and items," he screamed. But Max pointed into the darkness and asked what was happening. A colossal, slimy creature materialized before their very eyes, its form shifting and bubbling. In that instant, Chev understood everything. The chaos, the monster. Palm had orchestrated it all. They had been used as bait. With a single devastating strike, the creature sent Tom flying through the air. The slime monster crashed into the adventurers, pressing its attack as Palm observed from afar. A quiet indignation filled him. This is ridiculous. He thought to himself that if they really wanted to trick him, they shouldn't have been so nice. They had, after all, brought him as bait into a portal where 12 veteran parties had already been wiped out. This confirmed Palm's suspicions. The area boss was indeed this monster, exactly as he'd calculated. Chev scrambled away, his mind racing. A creature of this type put them at a complete and utter disadvantage. Max frantically asked his boss to identify the monster. The reply came back, filled with dread: a gold slime. He explained that it was a rare boss that only appeared in red portals, an extreme rarity in the Maple world. The creature's body was composed entirely of acid, making it the worst possible opponent for melee fighters. "Boss! Look out!" Max yelled, shoving Chev away from the monster's strike. Chev turned in shock, asking what had just happened. He then realized with dawning horror that the creature also possessed long-range attacks. Terror filled Max's eyes as the reality of the hit sank in. "It's an acid arrow," Chev shouted, recognizing it could fire parts of its own body. "Pull yourselves together. The cooldown should be 1-minute retreat." Tom, hiding nearby, saw the opening. The monster's special ability had finally entered its cooldown period. He dashed toward Max, screaming, "There's still time!" Then he charged forward with his blade drawn, shouting, "Leave the monster to me." But Chev desperately tried to stop him, yelling that they had to attack as one. The creature simply lashed out again, repelling Tom's reckless charge. Max could only watch in horror, completely baffled. By his calculation, there should have been at least 10 seconds left on the cooldown, but the monster unleashed its long-range attack yet again. Palm watched the now immobilized monster, commenting quietly that it was all over. He reflected for a moment, admitting to himself that Chev's assessment hadn't been wrong. A gold slime, a creature that grows stronger with every item it devours, even shortening its skill cooldowns. It all clicked: the beast's unnatural size, the near-instant cooldown on its acid arrows. This is why every other party had been annihilated. This thing had already evolved to a yellow portal threat, a foe no mere first circle adventurer could ever hope to face. Palm knew instantly. The dungeon was picked clean, officially. This mission was a complete failure. But then, a memory surfaced. Abby's, holding that scroll, daring him to prove his worth. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. So be it. The gelatinous behemoth swiveled, its entire focus locking onto the lone intruder. Bullseye. The slime reeled, taking the full force of the devastating attack. But from a distance, Palm watched. Had his direct strike on its core done nothing? Was its resistance just that high? He assessed the enemy. It would take at least 5 more hits. He scoffed. Doesn't matter. A confident grin spread across his face. I'll just prove you wrong. He had to strike the exact same spot, a single millimeter off, and it was all over. He was attempting a feat most mages wouldn't dare dream of. But he wasn't just any mage. In his past life, he was the greatest telekinetic this world had ever known. A legendary title he once held. With a flick of his wrist, a fire arrow materialized, screaming towards the beast. The creature dodged with impossible speed for something so massive, but he merely scoffed, useless, and prepared another attack. The projectile found its mark, detonating in a brilliant explosion. In the heart of the blast, its core was revealed. Exposed and vulnerable, Palm surged forward, closing the distance in an instant. He prepared the final blow, gathering every ounce of his power. But he failed to see the slime's desperate counterattack. A fearless smile graced his lips as he readied the final assault. The fire arrow launched. A streak of certain death. He drew back an unseen string, transforming the arrowhead into a colossal spear, and let it fly. Using the recoil, Palm launched himself toward a tree, his eyes never leaving the target, tracking its every move. The beast completely disintegrated, its form dissolving into nothing. As the smoke cleared, only silence remained. Palm landed softly amid the destruction. But then, he sensed a presence moving towards him. The monster's core drifted silently, coming to rest in his outstretched palm. His fingers closed around the source of its power. The absorption began. A torrent of energy flooded his system immediately. Palm erected a defensive barrier around himself. Later, in another room, Palm sat across from a familiar face. I'm back. The man with the eye patch simply stared, his silence hanging heavy in the air. He remarked dryly that Palm wasn't just all talk, but Abbas's tone sharpened. Why had he returned alone and empty-handed? Palm explained calmly. The so-called hunters had plotted to betray him for his gear, so he simply put some distance between them. Then they stumbled upon the boss and met their end. Abbas asked cautiously. At the hands of the monster, Palm revealed the truth. It was a gold slime. The man's eye widened in understanding. Of course. All the items in the portal must have been melted down. He seethed, calculating the financial ruin. The gear rented from the merchant guild, all destroyed. An unacceptable loss. But the bigger problem was that this man had returned alive. And everyone knows the fundamental rules of portals. First, a limited number of entrants. Second, entry restrictions based on difficulty and a hunter's circle. And the third, most critical rule, a portal can only be used once. If a survivor emerges, it collapses forever. The man pieced it together. The portal was gone. And only Palm had made it out alive. No matter how you spun it, the conclusion was simple. Palm had failed the mission. You're getting ahead of yourself, Palm stated, his voice calm. I wasn't finished. He slowly clenched his fist. About that gold slime. The man with the eye patch sputtered in disbelief. And then, a shocking realization dawned on him. A triumphant grin spread across Palm's face. I devoured its core. The man shot up from his seat, shouting in pure shock. I absorbed the gold slime's mana stone, and reached the second circle. He declared, that should be proof enough. Palm began to ask for his promised E rank, but Abbas cut him off, offering a D rank on the spot. Palm was left speechless. Abby slammed his hands on the table, his voice booming. I'll give you D rank. And if you work for me, you'll get the treatment of a C rank adventurer. Without hesitation, Palm signed the contract, sealing the deal. Abby's mused to himself. Promoting someone who wasn't even a first circle to C rank treatment? It was unheard of. After all, an adventurer's rank was tied directly to their circle, the very symbol of their innate power. Abby's came to one conclusion. That bastard was no ordinary man. You can't just jump circles by absorbing a single mana stone. The words echoed in his mind, survival instincts. Abbas couldn't help but smirk at the memory. He pictured it a rookie first circle mage utterly demolishing a second circle veteran. That wasn't just skill, it was monstrous potential. A greedy glint sparked in Abbas's eyes. He had to have him. Palm sensed the change. Noticing the man's attitude improved far too quickly, he could practically taste his impatience. Meanwhile, a tear in reality split the sky wide open, heralding an event of massive scale. It was time to move. The first ever portal raid, 100 Red Rank members strong, was about to begin. This was the moment Garmot's merchant union and the great guilds had been waiting for. The first major event was finally here. No problem, Palm stated coolly. I'm in a hurry myself. Moving our plans forward works for me. He turned to face Abbas directly. I need a favor. Abbas simply replied, just say the word. With his hand outstretched, Palm made his demand. Lend me some money. Abbas paused, lighting a cigar as he considered the request. The nerve of this kid. He concluded this bastard was already pushing his luck. They say the portal era began with noble adventurers, but that was a lie. It was a trap laid by the Black Mage, who slaughtered countless heroes and annihilated Maple World's future. After the slaughter, the remaining monsters grew immensely powerful, sealing humanity's defeat. The final day of Maple World was set to arrive in exactly 3 years. From his window, Abbas watched Palm walk out of the grand building. As he headed for the exit, he pocketed the cash. It wasn't nearly enough, but it was a solid start. After all, the red level portal, the one designed for 100 people, only permitted entry to those who had reached 2 circles. The Garment Merchant Union was investing in him for that very reason they were aiming for that specific portal. Wasting this money on items now would be a fool's errand. Gear at his level was obscenely expensive. Palm walked down the street, heading straight for a specific entrance. He stepped inside the establishment, his eyes scanning the grim interior. A man greeted him with a professional smile, welcoming him to the Lith slave market and offering his services as a guide. The seller's tone was disturbingly casual. What kind of companion are you looking for? Perhaps a mechanic or a warrior? Palm's voice was steady and calm. I have someone specific in mind. Please, lead the way. Confusion flickered across the seller's face, unable to grasp Palm's true intentions. He led him past the punishment field, toward a section reserved for a very particular kind of property. Stopping before a single cell, he pointed inside. The man asked with a hint of apprehension. Are you certain you want this one, Palm simply confirmed? I'm aware. Palm stared at the prisoner chained to the wall, observing him in silence. His suspicions were confirmed. This shackled man was exactly who he was looking for. In his previous life, he remembered how the death of a single individual triggered the world's rapid destruction. That person was the legendary axe heroine, Erin, and her killer was none other than the only apprentice she had ever taken, Debo, the hero killer. He was responsible for the incident that marked the beginning of the end, an unbelievable display of devastating power. With raw suspicion in his voice, the prisoner asked, You came for me then, with spine-chilling coldness? He snarled, Beat it. The vendor, apologizing profusely, explained that the prisoner's mental state was a bit unstable. The prisoner gritted his teeth, his entire body shaking with rage at the humiliation. We have plenty of other mad dogs like him around here, the vendor said callously. Palm just watched, a faint smile touching his lips. In his past life, Debo was one of the few who rose to prominence after the world fell. They were even considered rivals from the same region. Debo taunted Palm. So, what's my price? You look like a young master who can afford anything. He spat out a number. 1 million meso. Is that okay for you? Little lord? The truth was, both of them were desperate for money. Debo had a younger sister, you see, afflicted with the incurable black blood disease, and her time was running out. If you don't have the cash. He growled. Then get out. He watched as Palm reached into his jacket pocket. The prisoner reacted with a jolt of surprise, his eyes following the movement. Palm pulled out a thick wad of cash. Yes, he confirmed. It's 1 million meso. Both the vendor and Debo spoke at once, their voices laced with disbelief. Is that real money? Are you serious? Debo lowered his head, stunned into silence. Palm then laid out his terms a 1-year contract, a 50-50 split of all benefits, and priority for him in choosing portal items. The vendor's eyes went wide with understanding. This wasn't a slave contract. This was a party member contract. Palm handed over the document, offering the paper for Debo to check himself. Debo snatched the contract from his hand. There was no turning back now. He bit his own thumb, preparing to seal the deal with his blood, accepting without hesitation. His sister's life hung by a thread. Palm watched the entire scene unfold, a slight, knowing smile on his face. With the contract signed, Palm announced, we head straight for the portal. Debo immediately rose to the challenge. Leave it to me. But Palm's warning was blunt and cold. You'll have to prove your worth. With a confident grin, Debo vows, I'll become the hardest worker you've ever known. Deep in the forest, he trails behind Palm, an unfamiliar axe heavy in his grip. He calls out to his new boss, Hey, thanks for the weapon, but my specialty is the longsword. We should head back and exchange this. Palm's voice is chillingly calm. From this moment forward, you will use an axe. Debo's eyes land on the gate before them. Is this the test you mentioned? Before them looms a crimson portal, its energy pulsating. An 8-person limit. Palm confirms this is their destination. Looking around, Debo is confused. Where's the rest of the party? A big shot boss like you should have a full team. Palm's silence is unnerving. And Debo insists, at least a healer is a must. Why are you giving me that look? A sudden, horrifying thought strikes him. Don't tell me. The boss is the healer, but Palm dismisses his fear in an instant. You don't need to worry about the other members. For a fleeting moment, Debo breathes a sigh of relief. But then, Palm points directly at Debo's chest, his voice a cold command. Right here. The sheer absurdity of the situation leaves Debo utterly speechless. He stammers, completely bewildered. That can't be right. But Palm has no time for his confusion. With a single, powerful kick, he sends Debo flying straight into the gate. Stop wasting time, he orders. Debo's scream echoes as reality warps around him, spitting him out into a desolate, rocky desert. Debo scrambles to his feet, shouting, Are you insane? This is an 8-person portal, and there's only 2 of us. He fumes, forced to wield a weapon he's never even trained with. Suddenly, the ground rumbles as a horde of wooden monsters known as stumps erupts from the earth. Debo freezes. He realizes his shouting was a beacon, drawing the hard-trunked creatures right to them. Palm shoves him aside with a simple command. Out of the way. Then, he charges headfirst and alone into the monster's wave. A projectile of pure energy blasts from Palm's hand. Striking a monster square in the head, Debo can only stare, his mind reeling from the display of power. More energy blasts follow, each one finding its mark with lethal precision. Palm's cold voice cuts through the chaos. Your performance is disappointing. He warns, do not make such a novice mistake again. Debo's mind screams a single question. What kind of monster is this guy? Elsewhere, under a full moon, dark news spreads like wildfire. The merchants have taken the bait. A subordinate reports that while they're stalling, the 40 required subjects have been secured. The final question is posed to their unseen leader. Do we have permission to proceed from the shadows? A single word echoes back. Yes. The shadowy figure holds a wine glass, declaring, everything will be done according to that person's will. He raises his glass in a dark toast to freedom. For Maple World. Back in the gate, Debo approaches with a heavy bag, reporting, I've gathered a total of 27 mana stones. Palm's only response is a curt order. Keep going. His weary companion can only agree. Debo thinks to himself that Palm may be a lunatic, but his telekinetic power is the real deal. He gets giddy just imagining the fortune he's about to make. But Palm's voice cuts through his daydream. I've found something. Before them, a new group of stumps appears. Palm smirks. That's a perfect number. Debo asks cautiously. What do you mean by a perfect number? Palm gives him a long, unreadable stare, before vanishing in a burst of speed, leaving Debo completely alone with the monsters. Panic grips Debo. He's trapped, forced to fight solo with a weapon he barely knows how to hold. He steels himself for battle against the approaching horde. From a safe distance, Palm observes, watching every move Debo makes with the axe. He knows his new apprentice will soon understand. The axe is not a random choice. It is the very weapon that will unlock his true potential. After all, his talent is undeniable. He is the one and only apprentice chosen by the legendary axe hero, Eren. Debo weaves through the monsters with surprising agility, dodging and parrying their relentless attacks. Palm notes his progress. He's learning at an astonishing rate, and his raw power is immense, even before awakening a circle. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble without warning. A massive spike of wood erupts from the earth, just inches from his face. The shockwave sends him flying backward. What in the world was that before him? A colossal stumpy rises, dwarfing everything in sight. In a blur of motion, Palm charges forward, shoving Debo clear of the giant's devastating attack. He glares at the towering beast and declares, Your immense size only makes you a bigger target. Sprawled on the ground, Debo thinks magic might be the key. But the stumpy catches the attack in its mouth palm, realizing the creature is faster than he anticipated, unleashes a follow-up telekinetic strike. To his shock, the monster blocks that one as well. The colossal stumpy remains unfazed. Palm screams at Debo, Run, unless you want to die. In that moment, Debo understands. It's not that their attacks are useless otherwise. Why would the monster bother to block the real problem? Is its countless branches. Palm shouts his plan. You handle the smaller stumps, I'll take care of this giant bastard. And with that, he charges directly into the fray. Debo can only wonder, how is he so fast? He yells, We can't beat that thing without a strategy. We have to retreat. Just as he predicted. The stumpy blocks the attack again. Debo shouts in frustration. See, I was right. But then, A second projectile slams into the monster's core. Debo stares in disbelief. Did that actually connect? He's stunned by the brilliant strategy. By hiding a blazing fire arrow behind the initial strike, Palm ensured the monster couldn't possibly block 2 attacks at once. Debo sees it instantly. The Stumpy is helpless against such an assault. He realizes his boss is a far greater monster than he ever imagined. Grinding his teeth in pure frustration, suddenly, he spots a few stragglers slipping past their defenses. "Look behind you," he screams to Palm. But in a blur of motion, Palm deals with them instantly. He then scoffs. "Can't you even handle these small fry?" The giant Stumpy roars as it takes another hit, kicking up a blinding cloud of dust. In that moment, Palm sees it. The creature just revealed a fatal opening, if only for a split second. Debo dives in front of his boss, blocking the incoming attack. "I just saved your life," he snarls. "You'd better take back what you just said." Palm smirks, finally starting to pull your own weight. "Are we together?" They brace themselves, ready to finish this cursed thing for good. "It's not over yet," Debo roars, lunging at the monster from below. He raises his axe high, preparing for the final, decisive blow. With blood streaming down his face, Debo decides it's time for the main course. He charges forward without a shred of hesitation, cutting down the last of the approaching stumps. As Debo prepares his ultimate attack, the colossal Stumpy shifts its massive form, its gaze locking onto him. Just then, Palm unleashes a whirlwind of scorching fire, sending a torrent of flames directly at the beast. The creature takes the full force of the attack, screaming in agony as it's consumed by the inferno. His strength failing, Debo collapses to his knees as Palm approaches. "Good job. You weren't so bad yourself," Debo immediately retorts. Without another word, they walk past the creature's smoldering corpse and press onward. Night descends upon the city, draping everything in shadow. Seated at her table, a young woman decides to eat quickly. It's getting late, and she should head to bed. She clasps her hands, giving thanks for the humble meal. Suddenly, a sharp knock at the door makes her turn. Cautiously opening it, she asks, "Who is it?" The young woman stares at the silhouette standing before her, a silent figure in the doorway. But in an instant, a wave of recognition hits her. It's her brother. He holds up a bag heavy with coins and says, "I'm home." She throws her arms around him, crying, "Welcome back." Elsewhere, deep in a forest shrouded by the night's darkness, a small, isolated house stands alone. Palm steps inside, gripping his staff tightly. His eyes drift past a portrait on a dusty shelf as he moves deeper into the home. Palm gazes upon a still body lying on the bed, his expression unreadable, showing not a hint of emotion. Moments later, Palm walks away without a word, leaving the forest house to be devoured by flames. Abby's understood instantly. This entire situation spelled trouble. He had to conquer the 100 gates, or Sir Raken would seize control, and it would all be over. All 10 of the major merchant unions were desperate to clear that portal. The promise of epic, or even legendary items, was too great to ignore. But Abbas crushes his cigar in the ashtray. He warns them this won't be a simple task. Not by a long shot. He lays it all out. The 3 Natasha sisters of the Goldrich Union are a monstrous trio. Even Gaffer's second circle adventurers would be annihilated by them. Every union is sending their absolute best. The Gaffer Merchant Union would be swallowed whole by the competition. Abbas stares at a poster bearing Palm's face, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. He's having second thoughts, and for good reason. Suddenly, the office door flies open, and Abbas barks with rage. "Who the hell dares to enter my office without knocking?" He spins his chair around violently to confront the intruder. Abbas's eyes widen in recognition of the man already seated before him. It was Sir Raken. "Is the list of potential groups ready?" Raken asks coolly. "And what about that little friend of yours from before?" Abbas tries to explain that Palm had his reasons, but Raken silences him with a sharp gesture. Shev's entire party was wiped out. "That is fact," he declares, "and my opinion on the matter will not change." Raken suggests Abbas needs to test him one more time. He continues, saying there's a perfect stage for it. To be practical, Abbas should gather every group he's considering for the task. A cruel smirk plays on Raken's lips. This time, we'll make sure there are plenty of witnesses. Down by the portal, Debo arrives with his partner, making an observation. Far too many people had gathered here. A stranger approaches them. "You two are the 5th group, correct?" The leader of a nearby party sizes them up with a sneer. "Look at that. 2 of them have a slave background." Whispers erupt among the other adventurers. That duo was known for being hostile, but one of them simply fires back. It's only natural for experienced parties to think that way. This is the law of the jungle, after all. Palm takes in the scene and understands immediately. Everyone here was a stone-cold professional. There was no need for bait. A world away from Shev's naive crew. An adventurer scans the clearing. That's it, he warns. Everyone is here. Abbas steps forward and gets straight to business. "I'll be direct.
I am giving you all a chance to prove your worth.
The leader of one group immediately demands. And what kind of chance is that Abbas extends his hand toward the ominous portal? Explaining the terms, it is the chance to clear it. As simple as that. The man with the bandana and his partner's eyes go wide with shock. Is he really talking about the 100 gates Palm watches on as another adventurer states the unbelievable truth? It seems they've prepared a special trial for us, Abbas declares, his voice ringing with challenge. Show them everything you've got. A number glows above the gate's entrance, 40. The portal flares to life, pulsing with a sinister, violet energy. They materialize in a suffocatingly dense forest. Their leader's voice cuts through the silence. Are we back in the same zone again? He turns to a powerful mage, proposing a new strategy. Why don't we just focus on the boss hunt? That would be far more efficient for everyone. They agree to split up, promising to signal at the first sign of contact. Debo and Palm watch silently as the other parties disappear into the woods. A mage named Dolan barks orders to his team. Annihilate everything in your path. We are running out of time. Dolan halts, spotting a lone creature skittering nearby. He scoffs. Is that it? This pathetic monster was a complete waste of his power. He begins to channel immense energy, unleashing a devastating torrent of pure mana straight at the creature. Annoyed by the pointless task, Dolan shouts, "Grab its mana core! We're moving on!" But to everyone's shock, the creature was completely unfazed. Dolan stared in disbelief, wondering if his spell had been deflected. His partner quickly warned him. That attack, it's not going to work. Dolan roars at his squad. Hold your positions. Be careful, you fools. In an instant, they were trapped. Vicious creatures erupted from the earth, their eyes burning with malevolent rage. After a grueling battle, the team stood exhausted among the monster corpses. One of them gasped. It's finally over. An adventurer confronts Dolan, her voice strained. These beasts are far stronger than expected. What kind of insane trial is this? She realized that winning by kill count was a complete death trap. At this rate, their mana would be spent long before the boss fight. Dolan made a choice. He would break the alliance and hunt the boss alone. No more wasting time. From a safe distance, Palm observed the chaos and noted, just as I predicted, most groups will fall into that trap. Leaning on his spear, Debo grumbled. Those things were tough as hell. And you just stood there watching, you useless partner. But Palm calmly replied, there were only 3 of them. Relax. Debo shot back that they couldn't afford to waste a single second. He relented, agreeing to Palm's lead for now. Debo suggested they go for the boss immediately. But Palm's response was firm, his gaze sharp. No, we clear out the trash first.
Palm explained that mastering these small fry monsters was the key, because the true boss was on another level, an entity of absolute danger.
Debo grumbled under his breath. You always act like you have all the answers. But Palm was already looking to the sky, a grim expression on his face. A sinister aura is bleeding from that gate. Something truly evil is on its way. Meanwhile, Dolan's party ventured deeper into the cursed forest. One of his teammates called his attention to a strange discovery up ahead. Standing before the dungeon's escape portal, Dolan gave a new command. From this point on, leave markers so we don't get lost. Suddenly, one of the men began to laugh. It was an unnatural, chilling sound. Dolan whirled on him. What in the hell was that? Shut your mouth, you imbecile. He grabbed the man by his collar, hissing, You'll draw every monster in the area to us, you idiot. But the adventurer couldn't stop, his own laughter terrifying him. What is happening to me? He choked out between cackles. Then, one by one, the entire party broke into hysterical, horrifying laughter. A chorus of insanity echoed through the trees. Dolan recognized it instantly, a mind-altering poison. He had to escape, even if it meant abandoning them all. But as Dolan turned to flee, a monstrous fungal creature materialized from the shadows, its grotesque form blocking his only exit. The insidious poison finally took hold. Dolan's mouth twisted into a horrifying grin, an empty, terrifying laugh escaping his lips. The scene shifts to a mighty river flowing through a deep canyon. Debo walked along the cliff's edge, realizing Palm hadn't lifted a finger to fight all day. Suddenly, a signal flare shot into the sky. Debo knew the sign instantly. The scattered groups converged on the location. The party leader was in a state of shock. You actually found the boss. But then he realized one of the teams was missing. He pushed the thought aside. With nearly everyone gathered, he had to begin the briefing. An adventurer pointed out, the mage Dolan's group is still missing, but the leader cut her off harshly. We can't afford to wait for them. He then made the grim announcement. We have located the boss. The moment we found it, we witnessed Dolan's party being utterly annihilated by the poisonous mushroom of madness. The adventurer's eyes widened in sheer terror at the monster's name. A wave of panic washed over the adventurers. They had to abandon the hunt. They had to find the escape portal. But Debo turned to Palm, needing to know, is that creature really that powerful?
Palm's voice was deathly serious. It's the worst possible opponent for a dungeon of this level. Can't you feel it, Tğᴇ?
He calmly laid out the horrifying truth. Its spores force you to use ranged attacks, but there's a fatal flaw in that strategy. The creature is not only highly resistant to magic, it's also impossibly fast. The leader then revealed the final, devastating piece of news. But there was one fatal problem. The boss monster was standing guard directly in front of the escape portal. Leaving without a fight was impossible. Tğᴇ's ego immediately flared. He boasted that the monster was nothing, and that his invincible fire arrow would make short work of it. But Palm instantly ordered him to shut up. Annoyed, Tğᴇ snapped back, but Palm's warning was ice cold. If we go in without a plan, we're all dead. He then posed a chilling question. Why do you think your fire arrow won't even leave a scratch?
Palm laid out the brutal truth. Even the small fry mushrooms in this portal were incredibly resistant. It was obvious the boss would be an absolute tank.
An adventurer scoffed at how obvious that was, but their leader cut him short. We don't have time for this. We need to decide how to act now. Raising his hand, Palm dropped a bombshell that silenced them all. 50,000 misos. The leader turned to him. His eyes narrowed. What did you just say?
Palm calmly laid out the math. It's 50,000 misos per person. And since there are 30 of you, you'll need to cough up 1.5 million.
Then he made his shocking proposal. If you pay up, Tğᴇ and I will be the bait for everyone. Tğᴇ's eyes nearly popped out of his head. What the hell is this guy talking about? But the adventurer leader roared first. Don't get so cocky. He sneered, explaining that a boss like this couldn't be lured so easily, and that Palm shouldn't assume his slave tactics would work every time. If they failed to draw its attention, everyone would die. Because slaves are nothing but dead weight in high-rank portals. What's more, he pointed a finger at Tğᴇ, his voice dripping with scorn. What can a mere two-circle adventurer and a slave who looks like he hasn't even awakened do, huh? Fuming at the insult, Tğᴇ thought, this jerk is asking for a beating. But he definitely didn't want to be the bait. That's when Palm asked calmly, so, what's your plan? Because if you had a way to deal with the boss, you wouldn't have fired that distress flare, would you? Palm then decided to clarify a detail. Their party consisted of one second circle and one first circle mage. Tğᴇ stared at his hand in shock, wondering, since when did that happen? Reacting with disbelief, the adventurer leader asked, doesn't your entire group only have 1 or 2 second circles? But one of the other adventurers cut him off. Wait a minute. Willing to negotiate, she said she'd pay if they truly acted as bait, but admitted they didn't have that kind of cash on them right now. Palm simply replied, that's no problem. You can pay us as soon as we get out. And if we don't make it, consider it a noble sacrifice. But he gave them one condition. Every single person there had to agree. So Palm commanded, decide now. Near the escape portal, the mushroom monarch feasted on the bodies of fallen adventurers, its terrifying aura thick with dread. Suddenly, a brutal attack slammed into the monster. Head on, the moment the boss noticed them, Palm yelled for Tğᴇ to move, who could only complain. Why do we have to do this? The boss whipped around in their direction with insane speed, and Tğᴇ's eyes widened in sheer terror. Shocked by its agility, the adventurer leader screamed, everyone run! Activate the portal before the bait dies. The rest of the group charged like their lives depended on it. Scrambling toward the escape portal, Tğᴇ ran straight into a swarm of smaller monsters that popped up to block his path. He yelled that they didn't seem easy to kill at all. He quickly prepared a skill, roaring at the creatures. Get out of here! He then unleashed a devastating explosive slash that wiped out everything around him. But in the next instant, the mushroom boss appeared right behind him, ready to crush him. From a distance, Palm fired a blazing arrow to hold back the swarm. Then he fired another, striking the boss once more. Tğᴇ scrambled in front of Palm, yelling in a panic, the monster is catching up to us. Palm just roared for him to jump, and the two of them took an insane leap off the cliff. The giant monster didn't hesitate, jumping right after them with unbelievable fury. Even in midair, Tğᴇ turned to the monster and gave it a final defiant gesture. Palm's attack struck the boss dead on, creating a gigantic explosion as all three of them plummeted. Their long fall ended as they crashed into the river, flowing far below. Tğᴇ burst from the water's surface, cursing that the damn mushroom had almost killed him. He then turned to Palm, demanding to know what that thing's deal was. While wringing out his clothes, Palm answered bluntly, that's the boss, and we need to prepare better if we want to kill it. Tğᴇ just watched in stunned silence, disbelieving the situation. Are you serious? You think we're going to kill that thing? Palm's cold gaze confirmed that he heard right. Tğᴇ finally exploded, his voice cracking. Are you kidding me? Don't you remember the plan was to be bait and get out? He continued to rage, saying their job as bait was done, so it was time to leave. Even the fire arrows didn't work on it. But Palm was unfazed.
The situation has changed. The competition is gone. So now, we're free agents who can even pocket a bonus.
He then asked, his voice low, "What's the problem? Are you going to back out of our contract?" Tğ immediately denied it, but insisted that Palm had better give him a bonus for this. To his shock, Palm simply agreed. Tğ then demanded to know how they were going to kill it. Neither melee nor long-range attacks had worked, and he had absolutely no intention of throwing his life away. Is there truly no other way, he demands? Outside the shimmering gate, Abyss and Rakan can only stand and watch. Adventurers begin to spill out, their faces etched with confusion. That was too quick. For a 40-person raid, wasn't it? Abyss closes in on one survivor, only to be met with a single, chilling truth. They had failed. The man recounts the horror. Dolan's entire party was wiped out. Palm was still inside, sacrificing himself so the rest could escape.
With a choked voice, the adventurer admits the bitter reality. We can't kill that thing. Not with our numbers. Abyss just stares, his expression unreadable. A woman tries to defend their retreat. It was the poisonous mushroom of madness. What were we supposed to do?
But Abyss cuts her off with a single venomous word, cowards.
He turns to walk away, but a voice stops him in his tracks.
Wait, she insists. Palm's party isn't out yet. The gate is still open. They have to be alive. But Abyss crushes her hope. They're not coming back. After all, they themselves had just named their opponent. The dreaded poisonous mushroom of madness. He coldly declares, if you want to hold on to false hope, do it alone. With a final curse at their uselessness, he leaves them behind.
Abyss chalks it up to simple misfortune. Nothing more, nothing less.
He scoffs, knowing even a two-circle mage would struggle against such a monster. These mediocre adventurers were utterly worthless to him. But inside the portal, the story was far from over. Palm knew what he was searching for. A person who defies all odds. Who makes the impossible possible. And right now, that person was him. His staff already humming with power. A grim smile spreads across his face. Let the hunt begin. The strategy was simple, but deadly. Maintain distance at all costs. Overwhelm it with powerful, long-range attacks. This beast was leagues faster and stronger than anything they'd faced. And to make matters worse, it spewed a deadly toxin. He began to gather his mana. A brilliant idea sparked in his mind. If he used telekinesis to add rotation to the arrow, its destructive power would skyrocket. The resulting projectile tore through the air at blinding speed. This was a technique of his own creation. A magic bullet designed to shatter the limits of possibility.
Channeling his will into the attack, Palm unleashed his signature skill, Revolver.
The blast struck the monster dead on. The spiraling energy drilled deep into the creature's flesh. Palm watched, eyes narrowed, analyzing the aftermath of his strike. A secondary blast obliterated a nearby tree, but the monster was still standing. Palm instantly understood. He had missed the vital spot. The core within its head. Another explosion rocked the monster's upper body. Palm cursed internally. Firing Revolver on the move was difficult, and the cooldown was a critical weakness. He began gathering energy for another shot. He had to end this now, before the beast could retaliate. The monster charged forward once more, but suddenly, it faltered, disoriented. This was the signal. Palm roared. Now.
With every ounce of his strength, Tğ yanked a hidden rope. It tightened around the monster's legs, sending it stumbling.
The beast crashed face first into the mud. Slowly, it began to rise, shaking the earth. From his vantage point on the cliff, Palm watched and waited. The monster's gaze locked onto Tğ. You filthy mushroom, Tğ roared, preparing to engage. Tğ charged, his axe a blur of motion. He unleashed a furious barrage of strikes against the creature. His axe tore a gash in its hide, and gas hissed from the wound. Tğ grinned, taunting it. How about we play for real now that you've aired yourself out? And in that moment, Palm saw it. A critical realization dawned. Could that be the monster's true head? Thanks for the confirmation, he murmured, a signal flare already in his hand. Tğ's eyes widened. A flare! The entire frontal assault had been a feint high above. Palm unleashed his revolver once more. A torrent of pure energy pierced the creature's true form. The impact point detonated in a massive explosion. An insane amount of gas erupted from the monster's dying body. Tğ grumbled under his breath. That bastard? Annoying to the very end. Suddenly, a rope yanked him backward, saving him from the blast wave. Staggering to his feet, he confessed, I really thought I was a goner. A toxic cloud now covered the entire battlefield. Tğ, still shaken, had to ask, is it really over?
From above, Palm's voice cut through the haze. It's over? He even offered a rare compliment. You fought well.
He declared they would retrieve the mana stone once the gas cleared, completely unaware of the shadow rising behind him. Palm spun around to face the new threat. as the poisonous mist began to thin, revealing the monster's true form. But from the creature's remains, a small orb of light began to emerge. And in the face of certain doom, a strange smile appeared on Debo's face. Back in the office, Rakan's laughter echoed. He immediately taunted Abby's. "So, you came back with nothing to show for it." He smirked, adding that his old colleague's infamous temper hadn't cooled one bit. Abby's offers a weak apology, insisting they should have left it to the Cygnus Knights. But a sharp knock shatters the tension. Annoyed, Abyss roars, "Get lost!" I ordered no interruptions.
The door swings open anyway. A voice cuts through the air. "I'm coming in!" Abyss whirls around, spitting. "Who in the hell are you?"
He freezes. Standing there, cool and unfazed, is Palm, who announces simply, "I'm back."
A smirk plays on Rakan's lips. "Now this," he declares, "is where things get interesting."
He glances at a stunned Abyss and asks, "What's this? Did someone just crawl out of their own grave?" He introduces himself to Palm, his eyes sharp. The rumors were true. This man's survival instincts were monstrous. He continues, "Palm is exactly the type the Gafur Union needs right now." The young man thanks him with a cool nod. Rakan smiles. "I appreciate polite people." His expression hardens. "I have just one question for you,"
he asks calmly. "Could you show that same skill again at the 100-man gate?" Palm answers bluntly. "That's a tall order."
Rakan just stares, his silence a crushing weight. Abyss finally snaps. "Is that how you speak to Lord Rakan? Do you think you can just pick your missions? Don't forget the debt you still owe."
But Rakan just smiles. Difficult is not impossible. Palm, however, cuts straight to the point. "Let me change the question."
He meets Rakan's gaze without fear and asks, "What do you want meanwhile? In a tavern?" Debo chokes on his drink. He slams his mug down, protesting wildly. 5 million mayos per person is insane. That's 10 million total for both of us.
Palm turns to him and offers a simple apology. Debo questions if Palm is getting far too greedy.
After all, it's their first major mission. They can't just walk away. Palm wipes his face, unfazed. "That is not my problem. The decision is up to them," worried. His companion mutters that if things go south, Abyss will blacklist them for good. Then, he spots movement. Someone is approaching. It's the adventurer leader, and his expression is sincere. "You look so calm," he says. While we were all staring death in the face, Debo leaps up, furious, and challenges him to a fight. "Is that how you thank the man who saved you?" But the leader's companion bows deeply, apologizing for his friend's outburst. Ibaru himself apologizes, admitting, "I misjudged you completely. As an adventurer, I am ashamed." The other man offers a bag of money. "Everyone chipped in extra as thanks," he explains. But Debo refuses it. Palm's voice is firm. What we agreed on was 1.5 million. He explains coolly that he only did the job he was paid for, so they can forget the thanks. And he warns them, "Don't misunderstand." Ibaru and his companion exchange a look, reacting to his chilling intensity. Debo clutches the money pouch, muttering that he got worked up over nothing and will start the count. At the bar, Palm asks Ibaru his companion's name. Ibaru retorts, "So you can do the job you're paid for back in the office." Abyss is yelling, "Absolutely not." He argues with Rakan that 10 million mesos is a 3rd or 4th circle adventurer's rate, and accepting it will set a terrible precedent. Abyss suggests caution, saying Palm is just testing them. He thinks it's better to call him back and renegotiate. Rakan just questions him, amused. "You really think that's all this is?" Abyss scoffs that he wouldn't be surprised if Palm demanded double. Rakan slides a document across the desk and tells him to read it. Abyss scans the paper. "We're only sending Palm's group to represent the Gaffa Merchant Union." What can 2 people even do? He keeps reading, and his expression shifts to one of pure shock. "Is this for real?" he stammers. Rakan replies grimly that he paid a fortune for that information, and he'd be in trouble if it weren't. The document reveals the name Dark Lord Jin. The implications send a shiver down Abyss's spine, an unbelievable danger. Rakan grabs a pen like a weapon. Make no mistake, he warns, pointing it forward, the war has already started. The scene shifts. The gate is now surrounded by a massive, sprawling camp. Countless groups of adventurers wait. The tension around the campfire's thick enough to cut with a knife. A young adventurer remarks that he can't believe they accepted the terms. Palm warns him to stay focused. But Debo just boasts that he's an experienced adventurer now. He's sporting the Merchant Union's grand emblem on his cloak, showing it off with pride. Meanwhile, other adventurers prepare tensely, the atmosphere thick with dread. Palm notes the heavy atmosphere, observing the place's vibe. Debo adds that it seems they have a few new faces around. An adventurer named Sheldon from the genus Union approaches them, asking if they're from the Gafur Merchant Union. Palm introduces himself simply. "I'm just a C-rank adventurer." Sheldon reacts with surprise, commenting he thought only 2nd circle adventurers were allowed past the restrictions. The man was still reeling. A C-ranker inside this portal. It was utterly impossible. A blonde woman cuts through the crowd, ordering the man to back off. She declared firmly,
Her business was with that person. Sheldon scoffs, annoyed at the wasted effort as the woman and her knights close in on Palm.
The scene shifts to a memory, inside a lavish office. Palm's voice echoes. Why must I be the one to do this? Seated at the table, a woman dismisses him coldly. Just do as you're told. She questions his sudden defiance. The Gaffer Merchant Union will cooperate with the Cygnus Knight Order at this gate. A devout follower of Empress Cygnus, she is the strongest of her unit and holds a dangerous obsession with this very gate. Abuse lays out the situation. The entry quota for the gate was already full. So they struck a deal with the knights. Even if they're just trainees, their combined strength ensures a high chance of success. He suspects they have hidden motives for targeting this gate, but the offer was too good to refuse. For now, they would be allies.
Palm knew cooperation was key, but a deep sense of unease told him this would be anything but simple.
Abbas agrees. Something about them feels wrong, a scent of betrayal that hangs in the air. Back at the camp, the woman finally speaks. I am Kiri, leader of the Cygnus Order's rookies. And let's be clear, we are not on the same level. To avoid trouble, she demanded one thing: silent obedience. Her arrogance instantly set Debo's blood boiling.
Kiri sizes them up. Just the two of you from the Gaffer Merchant Union Palm confirms it with a simple nod.
She scoffed internally. Does the Gaffer Union even take this gate seriously? Meanwhile, the Crocus group from the Dig Merchant Union makes their move, an elite squad. Not to be outdone, the Cubal group from the Marina Merchant Union arrives, their power radiating for all to see. Debo feels the change instantly. The elites had arrived. The very air crackled with tension. But then, another arrival silenced them all. A thunderous impact shakes the ground. It's the three Natasha sisters from the Goldrich Merchant Union. One sister steps forward, the Goldrich emblem blazing on her armor. Their oppressive aura was impossible to ignore. Kiri watches them with contempt. All flash, no substance, she muttered. Pure arrogance. A man with fiery red hair steps forward, addressing the entire assembly. I am Longro, he announced. We are the Invasion Guard, here to provide support upon your exit. Longro decided a reminder of the rules was in order, even though everyone present already knew them by heart. He made the conditions crystal clear. The legendary item belongs to the merchant unions, not the individual who finds it. Everyone would be compensated as promised, with no exceptions. He delivered a chilling warning. If anyone was caught trying to steal an item, they wouldn't just face his B-rank adventurer group. Their fate would be far, far worse. Debo's eyes lock onto a mark on one man's arm. Is that 5 circles? He scanned the rest of the squad, his mind reeling from their unbelievable power. With the warnings delivered, Longro gave the signal. The gate was now open. Kiri turns to Palm, her tone demanding. Follow me. I will take the lead. She then declared to her knights, Victory will be ours. Debo muttered under his breath. What is her problem? Do we really have to work with someone like that?
But Palm's gaze was fixed forward. It's finally starting. The number.
100 glowed at the entrance. All his efforts had led him to this single gate, one he never faced in his past life, but absolutely had to conquer.
Palm declared, everything begins now, and moved forward with Debo, who grumbled that he wouldn't lift a finger for the others if they fell behind. Not a chance.
An adventurer rushes ahead, shouting for everyone to follow. Debo looks around, confused. Why is the grass so tall here?
Kiri snaps at the scout. Stop fooling around and get back in formation. Do you think this is a field trip?
He watches the others pull away, humiliated. Did he really have to endure this? Then, he sees something strange ahead. Palm is on the ground. Debo rushes to his side, asking, What are you doing? Suddenly, a massive impact violently shakes the earth. One of the knights turns, sensing the disturbance, and spots a wave of movement charging the other group. His eyes widen in horror as he identifies the threat. It's a herd of ribbon hogs, he realizes with dawning terror. At least 1,000 of them are stampeding right towards them.
Kiri screams the order. Everyone, scatter now! Most of the other teams hadn't even fully entered yet.
One of the men roars in fury. Who broke the sacred rule about not luring danger to the portal entrance? Another leader barks orders, splitting his forces. The Alnado merchants head one way, while his own group ventures into the unknown. The creatures begin to tear through the land, carving a path of pure destruction. Kiri leaps into action, planning to lure the beasts into an obstacle course. But one of her men cries out a warning. Her eyes widen in disbelief. The Gaffer Merchant Syndicate has completely vanished without a trace. Debo lets out a sigh of relief. Turning to Palm, how on earth did you know those ribbon hogs would go on a rampage?
Palm calmly explains that from his experience. Vast herds of beasts often migrate across plains like this one.
An info panel reveals the truth. Ribbon hogs are 2-meter-tall monsters with savagely violent tempers, moving in hordes of hundreds, or even thousands. Music. He adds that while the merchant guilds could fight them, they'd likely avoid a battle just to conserve their strength. Since no one knows what final horror awaits them, he states that simply killing ribbon hogs won't conquer this portal.
Palm's mind drifts to the past, remembering the last assault on the Sleepywood Gate. A total failure, where every last adventurer was annihilated.
Debo steps closer. What's got you thinking so hard? In that instant, a rope snaps tight around Palm's ankle, and Debo's gaze shoots downward. A massive log trap springs to life, launching them both into the air as Debo screams, "What is going on?" The trap reveals its true, horrifying scale, a colossal instrument of death.
Palm grabs Debo mid-air, wondering who could possibly construct such a thing. Suddenly, a blade flashes, severing the rope, and a bald warrior lands gracefully below. With a single earth-shattering blow, he obliterates the entire wooden structure, a testament to his unbelievable power. The newcomer scoffs. Such a childish trap. His companion then informs him, that should be the last of them.
The bald man, Babel, warns his partner Crocus not to lower his guard. Crocus remains silent, arms crossed, observing the scene. He analyzes the trap's design, noting how it mimics human tactics, a sure sign of an intelligent enemy. He comes to a terrifying conclusion. They're facing ogres, monstrous foes on par with a red portal boss. Crocus confirms the grim reality. This one fact reveals the portal's insane difficulty. Without him there, everyone else would already be dead. Deciding to press the advantage, he commands, "Follow me." As they move, he warns his team to be thorough and leave nothing behind.
Crocus glances over his shoulder, just in time to see his ally completely wiped out.
In the same moment, two more are cut down in a single devastating strike. Before he can even react, a figure blinks into existence and finishes Crocus himself. A man appears, calling the fallen warrior an idiot for his arrogance. He lays out their brilliant plan using the ribbon pigs as a massive distraction for anyone entering the portal.
Perched on a rock, another conspirator agrees. The plan worked perfectly, giving them the ideal opening to make their move.
The first man grumbles, finding the whole situation tedious as he music.
Rises. He addresses the Natasha sisters. Time's up. Let's get this over with. The sisters are frozen in place, utterly paralyzed by the scene.
The old mage explains their condition. There's no use struggling. His magic has rendered them immobile for the next 30 minutes. One of the women manages to ask, "Why? Are you doing this?" He looks impressed, remarking on her ability to speak through his spell, music just as expected of the great Anaria. He declares his intentions coldly. "You're the most dangerous one here, so I'll eliminate you first." The other two sisters can only watch in horror. Crouching by the dead warrior, the mage muses. That's a rather difficult question to answer. Suddenly, his head snaps up, his eyes glaring at them with malice. He aims his staff and asks, "Perhaps a demonstration will make things clearer." A wicked smile spreads across his face as he proclaims, "All of this is for the glory of the Dark Mage Lord." One sister watches as the man conjures a blazing fire arrow. The attack strikes her true. Her body falls lifelessly to the ground, but he doesn't even flinch. He sighs, commenting that this ordeal seems endless. He closes his eyes and mutters that all he wanted was a moment of peace. In a memory, a great lord calls for William, who steps forward to kneel. The lord explains they have hidden in the shadows for too long, nurturing their power for this exact moment. He declares this is the dawn of their new era, the time to finally harvest the fruits of their long labor. William swears his undying loyalty. "I promise, I will not disappoint you." His master bestows upon him a single feather. A gift with a grave warning failure is not an option. Back in the present, William laments that he can't even unleash half his true power after that exertion. He steps back, feigning weakness, then wonders aloud if it's time to get serious. In the distance, a massive army of giant ogres stands guard before an enormous wooden fortress, shrouded by the night. Hidden behind a tree, Debo is speechless at the impossible sight. What in the world is that? Music. He stammers, asking if every single one of them is a boss-level monster. But Palm instantly grasps the situation, reminding him that there can only be one true boss. Palm explains that all ogres possess immense natural strength, and worse, they become deadlier by looting the gear of fallen adventurers. A cold dread gripped Debo as he understood the terrifying truth. Stolen weapons meant these monsters could use human skills. The thought alone left him breathless. They were about to fight an entire army by themselves. He insisted, "We have to regroup with Kiri." But Palm simply questioned, "Then why didn't you want to split up before?" and mocked him. He taunted Debo for thinking an army was unbeatable. Just then, two towering ogres exploded from the forest path. Palm shoved Debo directly toward the beasts, forcing him into battle. Debo stumbled forward, furious. "You did that on purpose." He shot back that he never... Debo charged the first monster, aiming a strike, but the creature met him with a brutal punch. He barely defended the blow with his axe handle. Staggering from the force, feeling the impact, The enraged ogre roared at Tğ to quiet his screaming and hurled an insult. Tğ raised his axe for a finishing blow, declaring, "You're finished, you monster!" But the ogre evaded with surprising speed, dashing aside. Tğ read its move and intercepted the beast midair, mercilessly blocking its escape. He used every ounce of his power to pin the creature down, questioning indignantly, "Damn it,
Why won't this thing just die already?" But the creature simply bit down on his blade, a move that left Tğ completely stunned.
Shocked, Tğ leaped away and brought down a devastating overhead attack on the second ogre. The other monster collapsed to the ground, its life extinguished in an instant.
Tğ turned to Palm. "I thought you were going to lend a hand." Palm merely stated that now Tğ knew monsters weren't invincible.
But Tğ countered that it only made him doubt their cursed mission even more. Suddenly, Tğ's head snapped to the side. Something in the shadows had caught his eye. He found the bodies of knights strewn through the forest like broken dolls. What the hell is this? Tğ recognized the armor. They were from the Cygnus Knights. What could have happened here, he wondered. Then he saw it. One of the knights, lying on the ground, was still breathing. Tğ called out to Palm, pointing at the lone survivor. Palm observed the wounded man leaning against a tree and wondered, is he truly alive? He approached the knight and asked what happened. Were you attacked by an ogre? The knight denied it with a painful gasp, explaining it wasn't an ogre. It was an assassin, elsewhere, in a quiet room. Abbas pondered the twisted situation. He came to a single conclusion: nothing made any sense. Assassins were hunters who invaded portals to eliminate other adventurers. But all evidence would vanish with the gate. Abbas realized a direct confrontation would be a fight with no winners. They would waste incredible energy and still draw suspicion from the outside world. He knew no mercantile union would ever take such a dangerous gamble. Therefore, another power had to be pulling the strings. Someone who had something to gain from all this chaos. Back in the forest, Tğ turned to Palm, calling him boss. Far away, Kiri noted that it had been a while since she last saw a certain girl. The wounded knight slammed his fist on the ground in pure rage. Why would Lady Kiri do this? Is there a traitor among us?
Palm was just as lost. She's one of the Cygnus Knights. Why in the world would she be an assassin?
He couldn't believe it. Tğ agreed it was an impossible truth to swallow. But her orders at the portal now felt like part of a sinister plot. The knight caught his breath, revealing that before she struck the final blow, she announced her true identity.
She declared herself a follower of the terrifying Black Mage, making her dark purpose horrifyingly clear.
The name hit Tğ like a physical blow. Black Mage. Did I hear him right? An ancient legend ignited in his mind. 800 years ago, a transcendent evil known as the Black Mage had threatened the entire world. 6 heroes united to stop him. After a great epic battle, they sealed him and his dark armies away. With the Black Mage's forces thrown into chaos, the allied armies advanced, mercilessly wiping out all of his followers. Every citizen of Maple World knows that story, Tğ thought. He couldn't believe she could be a follower. Palm decided there was no time to waste on ogres. They had a new target. He asked the knight, "Are you coming with us?" He then warned, "Be ready for a reckoning when we find her." The knight's reply was instant. "That's exactly what I want," he said, accepting the offer without a shred of hesitation. Meanwhile, Kiri sped across the rocky landscape, moving like a phantom. She reached a clearing and found William, who greeted her calmly. "I was expecting you, Lady Kiri." Beside him, a white-haired woman stood in silence, watching as William addressed their visitor.
William deduced she had already taken care of the ribbon pigs and stated it plainly.
With their targets isolated, the plan could finally begin. "Did you enjoy the little gift we sent?" he taunts. But Kiri's composure remains utterly unshakable. Her blade held steady, radiating an immense pressure as she simply asks, "Who in the world are you?" Meanwhile, in the forest, Tğ tends to a wounded knight, who reassures him that help is on the way. But as Tğ's back is turned, the knight reveals a hidden dagger. "This is perfect," he mutters with a sinister grin. Kiri moves like a phantom, her blade a silver blur against the assassins. From the shadows, William watches, impressed by the Cygnus Knight captain's flawless form. Still, he wonders just how long she can maintain this pace, analyzing her every move, waiting for the moment she breaks.
Kiri gathers her energy, her blade beginning to glow. Technique rising. Sun. An assassin lunges from the darkness, screaming, "Your life ends here."
But her solar strike erupts in a blinding flash, sending him hurtling backward. "Speak your purpose," she commands, "or your next breath will be your last." Kiri stands her ground, an unmovable wall of defiance. William's patience finally snaps. "What are you waiting for? Finish her." A swarm of assassins descends upon her. Their voice is a chorus of "Die." She parries and strikes, a whirlwind of steel, when suddenly, an enemy falls, taken down by an unseen ally. The unexpected move stuns even William, but Kiri doesn't falter, already turning to face the next threat. Back with Debo, the seemingly safe moment is about to shatter. He's still helping the knight, unaware of the treachery. The man suddenly brandishes a dagger. "When you see Kiri," he whispers, "send her my regards." In a flash, the traitor's hand is severed from his arm. Thrown to the ground, he screams in agony and confusion. What just happened? A figure stands over him, calm and collected. It's Palm. Debo, completely bewildered, turns to him. "Palm, what's going on?"
Palm simply replies, "Just as I thought." He glares down at the writhing knight. "Your acting was pathetic."
The traitor begs, trying to make excuses, but Palm cuts him off. "I don't make a habit of trusting anyone. End of story." Observing from a distance, William sees Kiri and now Debo regroup. Something about this entire situation feels wrong. An unexpected piece has entered the game, disrupting his board. One of his men identifies the newcomer. "That's the kid from the Gafor Merchant Union. I'm aware." William replies coldly. He turns to his subordinate, his voice dripping with disappointment. "You have failed me."
Was giving you this second chance? A mistake, undaunted. Kiri watches them with a challenging smirk.
Looks like the big guns are finally coming out to play. William's elite guard surges forward in a synchronized attack. Debo Kiri shouts a warning. "Be careful. These guys are different, I know." He replies with a confident grin. "They've got that look. It's total freaks." Kiri raises an eyebrow. "Freaks, but there's no time to explain. William leads the charge. End this now."
Kiri glances at Debo. "You can handle at least one, right?" As she braces for impact, Debo gives a final warning. "Don't let your guard down."
Debo unleashes his wild strike, a ferocious overhead swing, but an elite named Sheldon intercepts it midair, stopping the massive axe cold. Sheldon counters with a piercing thrust of his own. This is the end for you. But his attack is thwarted by a projectile that zips past his face. He whips his head around, searching for the source. Another enemy, a crossbow wielder, keeps him pinned down while an assassin strikes from his blind spot as cowardly scum he roars, caught in their trap. Blindsided by a powerful charge, Debo is slammed to the ground. He kneels, clutching a wound, but smirks. "Shh, not deep enough." The assassin looms over him, blade ready. "Allow me to put you out of your misery." He leaps, preparing a devastating downward strike, but in a flash of steel. Kiri appears, blocking the fatal blow. "What in the world are you doing?" she scolds. "Debo?" The enemy is stunned by her sudden appearance. And in that split second of hesitation, Debo vanishes, only to reappear right behind him. Debo grins at Kiri. "Relax, I was just playing with my food." He swings his axe, sending the man flying into the trees. "You bastard," another elite screams, charging him. Debo sidesteps the furious attack with ease. He counters with his own technique, explosive slash. The fight is over in a single, devastating blow. One of the remaining elites watches in shock. How? How is he this powerful? Another just shakes his head, disgusted by his comrade's weakness. On the other side of the battlefield, Kiri slams Sheldon into the dirt with overwhelming force, holding her ground. She looks down on him with contempt. "And you call yourselves elite?" The other knight can only watch, cursing their names. William lets out a long sigh. It seems he'll have to intervene personally. He raises his staff. This foolishness has gone on long enough. Suddenly, Debo's eyes snap upward as a crimson glow fills the air. A massive arrow of pure fire screams towards him. The speed, it's even faster than the boss's attacks. He narrows his eyes, bracing for the inevitable. It impacts with the force of a meteor, erupting in a devastating explosion. William scoffs. "My fire arrow is on another dimension entirely. An attack like that is simply impossible to dodge." But then, a figure leaps through the inferno, landing unscathed before Debo. It's Palm. William's eyes widen in disbelief. "And who are you supposed to be?" Palm simply raises a hand, pointing directly at them as he steps forward.
Palm cuts him off, his eyes sharp. "Hold that thought. We have company." From the trees, a colossal beast erupts, charging straight for William's knights.
The two men recoil in shock at the monster's sudden appearance, falling back instantly. An entire herd of ribbon pigs charges as one, swarming the field in a monstrous tide. In the aftermath, William stared at the creature's massive corpse. He thought, what a massive pain. And those cowards just threw it at us and ran.
Gerald rushed over to his side, immediately apologizing to Sir William.
One of his men reported that the area was almost secure, but William's order was sharp and clear. "There's no time to regroup. We're going after them." This entire situation was turning into a headache. That man, Palm, was a tougher nut to crack than he expected. William remembered his subordinate's warning, but he'd arrogantly brushed it aside. Sure, he could handle them, full of his own power. William had declared, inside this portal, "It's impossible for anyone to be stronger than me." His confidence was absolute. Kiri asked, "Palm, did you get a good look at them?" Palm's gaze was heavy as he warned her. "Be careful. Those guys won't go down that easily. Debo questioned him. Then why didn't you finish them off when you had the chance? The realization dawned on Debo, stunning him. You mean, the enemy is stronger than you? The image of his opponent's fire arrow flashed through Palm's mind. He explained, my own fire arrow barely managed to change its direction. It didn't truly affect him at all. Debo refused to believe it. No way stronger than the boss. Stop messing around. So they really just ran away? Debo asked. Palm confirmed it. He then held up a strange ring, leaving Debo completely baffled. He revealed the circle on his own arm. It's reached its limit, and that's what worries me.
Palm explained. At the peak of the second circle, we should be his equal, if not stronger.
That should be the case. But his magic has something I can't figure out. It's somehow strengthening his abilities beyond reason. Debo was aghast. Then that makes him the strongest adventurer in this entire portal. Debo suggested they use the same tactic with the ogres, but Palm shot the idea down. That strategy could easily be turned against us.
Don't you understand the mess we're in, Palm pressed, trying to make him see the incredible risk?
Kiri interrupted them. The information about a dark mage follower hidden among the knights. This could change everything. We need to get outside first, she insisted, trying to guide them. We should give up on clearing the portal. Kiri pleaded with concern, but Palm's reply was chillingly simple. It's useless. The other two were left completely confused. Kiri questioned him, her voice laced with disbelief. Are you still chasing that small reward? Have you forgotten you were once a slave? And what happens after we alert everyone? Palm countered. These followers have been hiding for hundreds of years. He explained, exposing them now is like cutting off a single branch. They'll simply retreat into the shadows and fester like parasites again. Kiri gritted her teeth in pure, helpless frustration. Palm held her back, his voice firm. That's not going to work. Kiri spun around, finally breaking. Then what do you want us to do?
We're being hunted. We have to get out of here. Palm simply said, we should let them know. A faint smile on his lips. Who the real hunters are.
Elsewhere, Sheldon was tearing through the forest at high speed, carving a path through the trees. We have to find them fast, he growled. If they escape through that portal, it's our necks on the line. Suddenly, Debo appeared directly in his path. A wide grin spread across his face. Well, what's the hurry? Debo's axe crashed against Sheldon's sword, forcing the knight backward. You were a fool to come looking for us. Debo roared. This time, I'll kill you for sure. But in a flash, Palm intercepted another attacker, flinging him aside. Andros Sheldon yelled out in alarm. At the same time, Kiri shattered the vines that had ensnared her. Debo taunted his opponent. You really think you can get distracted in the middle of a fight? Another enemy lunged with a dagger, screaming, Sheldon, die! But Debo dodged the attack with impossible agility. Sheldon could only watch, completely stunned. What is he doing? Debo landed a heavy punch on another foe, knocking Sheldon down in the confusion. He followed up with a brutal, direct hit to his opponent's face.
From the distance, an archer took aim with her crossbow, loosing a bolt at a faraway enemy.
Kiri suddenly sprinted past her, a blur of motion. The archer wondered what was happening. Kiri intercepted a fatal strike aimed at her ally, blocking the attacker cold.
Kiri's blade clashed against her opponent's. Steel ground against steel in a tense stalemate, pushing against each other with all their strength.
Kiri's voice was dangerously low. Don't you dare look away, because I'm already sick and tired of how this is going. Watching from a safe distance? William smirked. It seems the fight has finally started. But there is still one person who has my complete attention.
A lone silhouette materialized in the distance. Could it be they were being awaited? The figure stepped into the light, revealing Palm, his staff held firmly in his grasp,
a faint smirk on his face. William decided it was time to begin. In unison, both warriors prepared for the clash.
William's smile widened as he conjured a blazing fire arrow. In response, Palm raised his own magical focus, preparing to meet fire with fire.
The two spells collided in a massive explosion, throwing Palm backward, but through the smoke. William saw his opponent instantly launch another fiery projectile his way. A flicker of surprise crossed William's face. This guy's skill was actually impressive. He decided to humor him and meet the attack head-on. Again, the magical arrows met mid-air, erupting in another thunderous blast. Palm raised an arm, bracing himself against the raw force of the impact. William changed tactics, conjuring a gigantic stone stake and launching it toward his foe.
Palm stared unimpressed at the incoming projectile. It was nothing more than a simple rock. In that instant, William closed the distance, grabbing him and asking, "Is that all you've got?" Palm simply spun his staff, preparing another fire arrow at point-blank range. The attack slammed into William, but he blocked the devastating impact with his own weapon.
William's eyes shot wide open. He was stunned to see Palm had somehow withstood the blow. He had to admit, that outcome was completely unexpected. He was certain his opponent lacked the power to block an attack of that magnitude. "How did you do that?" William demanded, but was met with only stoic silence. He let out a sigh. It's not like they could chat in the middle of a life-or-death battle. "Fine," he declared. "I'll just find out for myself." He charged forward, but Palm held his ground, calmly awaiting the assault. Palm unleashed a new technique, a spiraling vortex of magic he called his revolver attack. "What is that?" William questioned, his eyes locked on the strange spell. He analyzed the technique instantly. Palm was using telekinesis to spin the arrow with incredible force. It was tearing through his own mana defenses like a high-speed drill. William couldn't help but mutter. He had never witnessed a spell like this before. The clashing magic erupted, carving a deep crater between the two fighters. William finally understood. His opponent was reinforcing his magic with telekinesis, a truly unorthodox, yet brilliant, application of power. He watched Palm from across the chasm he'd created. This was the kind of person the world would call a genius. And with a twisted smirk, William revealed, "That's the type of person I hate the most. Let's have some real fun. Show me everything you've got." "Playtime is over," William declared, his entire demeanor shifting. He launched a fire arrow with blinding speed. In response, Palm prepared his revolver attack, countering the shot perfectly. The impact created a massive explosion that engulfed Palm completely. William just smirked. "Finally, you've used both of your charges now. Haven't you?" he taunted, revealing a strange ring on his hand. "My turn?" William unleashed his poison breath, a toxic mist the attack slammed into Palm, shrouding him in a venomous cloud. The blast expanded, blanketing the entire area in a deadly fog. Slowly, the poisonous smoke drifted through the forest, its potency beginning to fade. William explained his strategy aloud. He'd forced his opponent's fire arrows into a cooldown period. For the next 30 minutes, he stated with a confident smirk, "You can't do a thing," with his own spells on cooldown. William decided to end this personally with his dagger. He advanced slowly, savoring the moment. "This," he declared, "is my favorite part. The anticipation is killing me." William couldn't wait to see the look of utter desperation on his opponent's face, but Palm just stared back, his expression unreadable. He clenched his fist, gathering every last ounce of his will, and landed a brutal punch directly on William's jaw. The impact sent the knight flying elsewhere, watching the battle unfold. Ibu could only wonder how Palm had just done the impossible. Meanwhile, in a tavern, Ibaru offered to pay for the drinks. If they would just tell him how they defeated the poisonous mushroom of madness. Debo just laughed. "It would be useless to tell you, because it's not something you can do just by wanting to." He recalled the moment he thought they were done for, when Palm used his telekinesis to pull all the poison out of their bodies. Ibu couldn't believe it. "Isn't that just cheating?" "That's exactly what I'm talking about." Debo confirmed. "My boss, with skills like that, he's a total cheat code." Back in the present, William began to choke as the poison he'd unleashed turned against him. Palm followed up with another powerful blow to his jaw. A merciless flurry of punches hammered the knight's body. Palm finished the devastating combo with a final blow that sent William crashing into a tree. His eyes locked onto his target. Pinned against the tree, William was too stunned to react. And just like that, Palm's fire arrow slammed into its target. Dead on! William collapsed to the ground, utterly and completely defeated. But then, he unleashed one final, desperate burst of energy towards Palm. A last-ditch effort, but Palm's eyes narrowed. He realized that even though William was acting like a cornered animal, he had a plan. Then, the strategy clicked in Palm's mind. The poison breath was a diversion. William's true goal was to get his staff back. Palm adjusted his stance, readying himself. The moment he moved to finish William off would be the moment William tried to recover his weapon. He gathers his mana and unleashes a devastating blast of fire. The explosion smashes into William head-on, completely engulfing him in the inferno. But from the ashes, William reveals a glowing orb clutched in his hand. He vows to shatter Palm into 1,000,000 pieces. An apocalyptic torrent of fire swallows the entire forest. The sheer power is unimaginable. Palm slams into the earth, cursing himself for letting his guard down. He never expected his opponent to have a flame orb, a careless mistake he wouldn't have made in his prime. As a barrage of fire orbs rains down upon him, Palm is forced to accept a bitter truth. He's lost his edge. From a distance, Debo watches the cataclysm. He turns to Sheldon, still clutching him by the throat, and calls out to his boss. Meanwhile, Kiri dispatches her opponent with a single, elegant blow, her power radiating around her. Her patience wears thin as she snaps at Debo. "Stop messing around and finish this." Palm's opponent is on another level. "That was the plan," Debo retorts. But in that instant, a crossbow bolt finds its mark in Sheldon's back. A horde of grotesque green ogres thunders towards them. Kiri steels herself. "Focus. End them quickly." But Debo's voice is grim. "Don't underestimate them." His eyes lock onto a bizarre ogre sitting upon a throne amidst the chaos. and his expression darkens. Surrounded by the raging inferno, William wonders if that scumbag Palm is finally dead. He spits a mouthful of blood onto the scorched earth, gasping for breath. William has to admit, the guy wasn't half bad. He almost regrets not asking for his name. Then, a calm voice cuts through the flames behind him. Palm! William whips around, his eyes widening in utter disbelief. Palm's voice is cold. Remember it well. That will be the last name you ever hear. You cockroach, William sneers. It's useless to bluff, but Palm simply agrees. I know. He reveals a strange stone. Defeating you with only 2 circles is nearly impossible. William's eyes lock onto the object in recognition. It's a monostone. You insane bastard, he screams. Is your last resort to absorb that stone just to level up? Palm smirks, calling William an idiot. Simply absorbing a mana stone won't make you level up, he explains. What you truly need is experience and knowledge. William's face is a mask of pure confusion. But then, a new magic circle ignites around Palm, and an overwhelming aura explodes from him. He declares, "Don't worry, I already have more than enough of both." William accuses him of trying to bluff his way out of death's door once again. He lunges forward to attack Palm, stands his ground, completely unfazed, and then launches a single fire arrow. The attack transforms into a colossal blast of unbelievable power. William's eyes go wide in shock as he recognizes the technique, the flame orb. Uses his other hand, weaving in his telekinesis. But Palm just pours more power into the shot. The supercharged projectile screams through the air, tearing right toward William. It scores a direct hit, and he spits blood from the devastating impact, completely consumed by the blast. He screams Palm's name one final time as the flames turn him to ash. Palm watches the inferno, his expression cold and distant as his enemy burns away. He merely comments, "I forgot to ask his name." In the forest, Kiri is down and wounded as the goblins charge. Debo holds her close, and Kiri whispers, "Things are getting complicated." He draws his weapon, his glare like daggers as he prepares for the coming fight. Debo rushes into the horde, cutting down monsters left and right. Kiri can only watch in awe. How is he moving so easily? She wonders what in the world is going on. He declares he can see their movement patterns with perfect clarity now, adjusting his stance as he fells another creature. That makes 18. He unleashes a powerful strike against a goblin, putting his full force behind it. The blow connects, dealing massive damage. Kiri can't comprehend what she's witnessing. Then, a goblin shaman summons an orbital flame, and Kiri is completely shocked. A monster using a magical item. That's impossible. Hiding, she groans in disbelief. She never expected a monster to be able to use an item. She wonders if they should stay hidden until Palm can find them, praying that he is even still alive. But then, a group of goblins charges straight for them. Kiri raises her sword, parrying a vicious attack. She counterattacks a goblin, but Debo is sent flying from the blowback. Kiri rushes to catch her partner. "I can't leave you behind. I can deal with them," Debo insists. But a massive explosion engulfs them with incredible force. The goblin shaman materializes from the smoke. He won't be your opponent. It rasps. And then, it launches another attack straight at them. The sphere of energy detonates on impact, releasing a devastating aura. One of the goblins charges forward, its face twisted in a morbid grin. But 2 figures burst from the dust cloud, leaving the monster confused. It's Palm, emerging from the smoke. The cavalry has finally arrived. Kiri, still on the ground, turns and stares in disbelief. Palm lowers his head for a second, and takes a deep, steadying breath. He spins his spear in a fluid circle and readies his stance. The real battle is about to begin. From his perch, the shaman watched the goblin horde swarm the newcomer. Then, in a shocking twist, he attacked one of his own from behind. A betrayal no one saw coming. Kiri stared at the unfolding chaos, whispering, "He's unbelievable." She wondered if Palm was truly a first circle warrior, just as he unleashed his full power on the goblin shaman. Debo roared, hoisting his axe for a devastating strike. He hurled his attack at the monster with everything he had. The blow streaked across the battlefield like a comet, but was instantly repelled, sending both Debo and Kiri flying. What terrifying power. Wounded, the goblin shaman struggled just to breathe. With his staff, he began chanting a new spell, gathering a dark, sinister energy. Palm stepped in front of Kiri protectively. "Get back! From here on, I'll handle this." The monster unleashed a terrifying blast of pure energy. As the attack surged forward, it was intercepted midair. The shaman froze, his mind unable to process what just happened. In the next instant, his body was cleaved in 2. A single, fatal blow. Kiri stared, utterly shocked by the impossible scene before her. Palm let out a breath. Looks like I wasn't too late after all. Elsewhere, a boss grumbled that 4 agonizing days had passed without a single word. "Fed up," he announced. "I'm refusing all defense missions from now on," just then. A commotion in the distance broke the silence. He wondered, what in the world is that noise? Without warning, a giant root slammed into Abbas, knocking the air from his lungs. What the heck is that thing? The colossal root writhed through the air, lunging forward like a living serpent.
A man rushed over, shouting for someone to fetch the bishop. He reported that survivors had returned, but the gate was destroyed. Abbas was stunned into silence by the news.
He questioned if they had truly made it back, his eyes falling on Palm, Kiri, and Debo, all wounded on the ground.
Palm's eyes snapped open. He found himself in a bed, asking, "Where am I?" Abbas's voice cut through the haze. "You're finally awake." Abbas demanded he reveal the whole truth. Only 3 from the Garfer merchant group seemed to have survived.
He pressed, "What happened inside that portal?" Palm's voice was hollow. "Only the 3 of us are left." As he was being treated, Palm regretted not foreseeing the slaughter, but the guard warned him to answer the questions properly. Palm revealed the truth. There was a demon in there. The words sent a shockwave through the room. He asked for a pencil and paper to sketch what he saw, claiming he didn't know the creature's name. Abbas's face grew grim as he looked at the drawing.
From inside a command tent, a man's voice roared. "That makes 0 sense.
The leaders of the merchant guilds were gathered, demanding answers. How did 100 elite warriors die in a red portal?
Tğᴇ, a representative from the Sky Merchant Guild, spoke, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. "My cousin was among them." Abbas presented the drawing. Explaining that Palm described the boss as
The other guild leaders murmured amongst themselves. Green ogres can't use items. 100 elites should have handled it with ease. One of the representatives refused to accept it, his expression hardening into cold fury. Franco from Goldrich Merchants stood up, his voice booming. "There is no way my Natasha lost to a creature like that." Abbas narrowed his eyes. "What are you trying to imply?"
Franco's tone turned deadly serious. He suggested there was treachery involved. Nothing else would make any sense.
Toriel backed the suspicion, adding, "The only 3 survivors are from the same group. It's the perfect opportunity for foul play." Ibru slammed his fist on the table. "I will not stand here and listen to this garbage anymore." Or perhaps they survived because they had someone truly strong with them. Franco erupted in anger, accusing him of insulting the other guilds. "Are you implying Garfers is superior?" But Ibru shot back, "I'm simply stating the obvious facts." The argument escalated, with both men trading insults about their guild's ranks. Abbas watched the bitter display unfold. "Are you 2 finished?" Franco rose from his chair, demanding proof. Ibru stood his ground, declaring they brought no items from the gate and had no motive to betray anyone. After the interrogation, Palm thanked them and said his goodbyes. Abbas simply told him to take care. A man beside Abbas leaned in, filled with doubt. "Is it really all right to let them go just like that?" Abbas replied calmly, his eyes unreadable. "They have already reached their own conclusion." The small party moved silently through the deep forest, but from the shadows of a tree, a creature was watching them. Kiri felt a chill run down her spine. "Is that thing really following us?" The small creature simply stared, its gaze unblinking. She questioned Palm's hesitation, pushing him to make a choice. In a flashback, Palm explained his desperate plan to discard all the items and injure themselves before leaving the portal to avoid suspicion. He remembered that crucial choice, his gaze steady. But inside his bag, an item began to glow, reacting without warning. The plan was simple, kill the boss and ditch the loot. But Palm had secretly snagged one treasure. The legendary Phoenix Feather, an artifact that dramatically amplifies fire magic. Palm held the glowing item, realizing he had to get this unexpected prize. The portal. Kiri tried to stop him, her voice filled with urgency. She reminded him that taking any unregistered item would immediately cast them as saboteurs. She warned him not to get greedy and to follow their plan, saying, "We already have the exit portal." Amidst the destruction, the 2 assessed the situation. Palm kept his voice low, explaining the snail was a collector pet with no attack power. He revealed it was a creature he discovered in his past life, which only appeared after the portals opened.
With the snail on his shoulder, Palm presented the Phoenix Feather, watching her reaction closely.
Kiri stared at the item's glow, shocked he actually brought it out. He simply replied that it was better than leaving empty-handed. She asked what his plan was now, but all he said was a calm, "Don't rush." Walking through the debris, Palm explained they had to gather intel carefully, or their enemies would only hide deeper in the shadows. He figured the others had already returned safely, so for now, all they could do was wait. Elsewhere, the aftermath of the raid was revealed to be a catastrophe. Multiple unions had been annihilated, and the mission was a total failure. A man reported that the boss wiped everyone out. He added that while sabotage was suspected, the case was closed due to a lack of evidence. He felt a wave of relief that his cover wasn't blown. Despite the failure, he was already preparing for the next operation, kneeling before a mysterious figure as a storm raged outside. He kept his head bowed low, His superior asked only one question. You weren't caught. The man reported the plan was to kill everyone, and wondered if Palm had any reason to hide something. He began to hypothesize that Palm might have uncovered the truth, the existence of the Black Wizard's followers. The thought of this information spreading made him tense. If it was true, they would have to eliminate their infiltrated members. But before he could continue, an invitation arrived. The leader laughed at the very idea. An invitation, he would gladly accept it. He decided to prepare something special for the occasion, his tone dangerously calm. They would be the first and the last guests, he declared. As a colossal marked beast rose from the storm, emanating a sinister power, Tğ was forced to confront the hell that was his past life. He had suffered in poverty, powerless to do anything but watch his sister die from the black blood disease. Tğ remembered not even being able to give his family a grave. He realized then that this world had always been a living hell. Just then, a woman appeared before him, commenting that someone was still left alive. She found him in the rubble and offered to help, but Tğ told her to get lost. And so began his first meeting with Eren. Back in the present, a beast charged headfirst into the competitors. One warrior celebrated taking first place, raising his fist amidst the chaos. A young man lamented not being 30 seconds faster, but had to admit that Tğ looked pretty cool out there. Eren walked over and declared that with everything wrapped up, it was time to bounce. Tğ watched Eren standing atop a mountain of defeated monsters and took a deep breath. That 1 year had been more than enough to completely change his entire life. His only purpose now was to help Eren. Later, some guy started needling Tğ, calling him Eren's disciple. But Tğ was quick to tell him to knock it off. Someone grew anxious, wondering if such a place could even exist in the Elm Mountains. From inside a house, a voice cried out, begging for help. A young woman explained she desperately needed to find her brother in the treacherous abandoned mine of the Elm Mountains, pleading for a rescue. But Eren dismissed her without a second thought. He told her she'd just be dead weight, and that he doesn't take on personal requests. Eren told the girl to go find another adventurer, adding there was no telling if her brother was even still alive. But Tğ stepped in, saying they were probably her last hope. He insisted that he wanted to help her, promising to keep her safe, and asked his companion to reconsider the quest. The group arrived at a cave, where a desolate scene greeted them. They moved forward, on high alert. The girl spotted a body on the ground. She confirmed it wasn't her brother, but pointed out he wasn't killed by monsters. Someone commented the body had been there for about a week, and then suddenly, his eyes widened in recognition. In that instant, a massive explosion erupted from the cavern floor. The impact sent debris flying everywhere, engulfing the entire area. Tğ shielded the young woman with his own body, screaming, "What the hell just happened?" A creature with glowing eyes burst from the rubble, revealing itself to be a massive Zakum. As the monster roared, Tğ yelled to the girl, "Get behind me!"
Eren charged forward, instructing him to attack from the left. Tğ readied himself for battle, declaring they'd finish this fast.
Eren and the other warriors clashed with the Zakum, exchanging powerful, precise blows. Meanwhile, Shannon watched the battle intently, analyzing their every single move. After the fight, Tğ leaned on his axe, admitting it was as tough as the rumors said. One of the warriors asked about Shannon, which caught Tğ completely off guard. His gaze fell upon the cave's dark entrance. Why would she go in there alone? Eren's voice cut through the air. "Brace yourselves!" A powerful aura was radiating from deep within. The others hesitated, whispering of the danger they sensed. But Tğ's voice rang clear. "I will bring her back." He moved to charge forward, but the warrior stopped him. "Your duty was to protect her." Tğ's gaze hardened. "Then my duty follows her inside."
Eren insisted the threat was her job, but Tğ's mind was made up. He charged toward the cave, Iran right beside him.
Inside, they discovered a vast lava pit, forcing them to slow their advance. In the depths below, they saw a colossal tree bound by chains, and 2 figures at its base. The warriors exchanged a grim look. One of the figures beckoned them forward. Tğ immediately rushed toward Shannon, who knelt beside a body. "Shannon," he called out.
Shannon looked up, her voice trembling. "It's my brother." "Stay right there," Tğ yelled. "I'm coming for you." She offered a sad smile. "I knew you would. You're a good person. But now, there's no going back."
Shannon revealed the name Zakum meant demon tree, explaining that the giant tree was the true monster. "What are you talking about?" Tğ questioned as he stepped closer. Eren simply thanked her for the intel. Her eyes locked on the tree.
Tğ told Shannon to stay calm while he handled the creature. Find a place to hide, unless you still have a part to play.
Eren's eyes narrowed. "Are you using your brother as a sacrifice?" Shannon pulled a glowing jewel from his body. "You still don't get it." The girl claimed their fate was sealed the moment they entered this place. As she raised the jewel high, the jewel cracked in her palm, vibrating with dark energy. "Zakum uses mediums," she explained. And they aren't limited to mere statues. In that instant, her brother's corpse lunged at Debo from behind. Aaron spun around, stunned by the sudden, brutal assault. She quickly adjusted her stance. Then, another puppet leaped from above, descending on Aaron like a shadow. Wounded, Debo turned and shouted, "Maria, what are you doing?" Maria screamed back, accusing Aaron of killing her friends. She continued, her voice seething with hatred. "You only ever saw us as targets for your revenge," Mia announced with a dark smile. "And now, it's time for the grand finale." The woman declared she would finish this performance, raising her hand to the heavens. This is how it must be done. For the Dark Mage Lord, doubt crept into Debo's mind. Could Aaron truly defeat Tğᴇ? But then, Aaron's voice shattered his thoughts. "Stop acting like a child." She made it painfully clear that is not Maria anymore. The possessed warrior stood, ready for battle, and Debo understood, activating an adrenaline boost. Aaron shot toward the enemy, unleashing a crushing blow without a shred of hesitation. Wounded and on one knee, Aaron lamented the choice she had to make. Then Debo charged at the possessed Maria. He attacked, his voice thick with guilt. "This is all my responsibility." Debo threw his shield forward, a silent apology to Maria. The puppet's hand shot toward his face, closing in for the kill. But then, a surprise attack from behind staggered the opponent. The warrior's voice was weary. "Thank you, and please, take care of Aaron." Debo gritted his teeth, struggling just to remain standing. With immense effort, Aaron rose. She prepared to charge, heading straight for Tğᴇ's main body, facing the danger head-on. Tearing through the air, one of Tğᴇ's massive, tree-like hands lunged fiercely at the warrior. Debo roared with determination. "Together, we'll tear that thing apart united." They joined forces. The two surged forward, raining down a storm of blows on the enemy. Debo grappled with one of the creature's arms, resisting its crushing weight. Maria offered her very life to the Almighty, then completely succumbed to the dark control. An arrow of pure energy shot toward the monster Aaron spun around, her heart freezing as she saw Debo was being corrupted.
"Only the statue remains," she shouted, trying to maintain her focus. But Debo dropped to his knees, his weapon slipping from his grasp.
Crying out in despair, he commanded, "Aaron, kill me." He begged her to hurry, terrified of committing an unforgivable act. Aaron braced for the strike, her hands trembling as she begged Debo for forgiveness. Debo smiled in his final moments, staring down his fate. He remembered his comrades one last time and accepted his end. "Aaron, don't hesitate," he pleaded again. But then he saw his sister in a delusion, completely lost in the horrifying vision. Debo saw her fallen and broken, wondering why she was there and who could have done this to her. As a mysterious figure emerged from the shadows, Debo demanded, "What did you do?" Snapping back to reality, Aaron vowed to end this quickly. "I'll never forgive you for involving my sister." Debo roared, finally losing control. He charged, axe raised high, and attacked Aaron, who barely blocked the blow. She grunted. His senses are incredibly sharp. Aaron prepared for her final move, gathering all of her remaining strength.
Holding her breath, she focused all her power to end this fight. Then, Aaron unleashed her ultimate technique.
The Tğᴇ statue stared down the incoming attack, a silent, unmoving titan of stone. But Debo rushed to intercept the strike. Throwing his body in its path, Aaron knew it was too late to stop. This was her only shot, striking through Debo to hit the monster. She could only whisper an apology. The colossal blow slammed through Debo and into the statue, erupting in a devastating explosion of light. Lying broken on the ground, Debo's mind struggled to process what had just happened. Aaron smiled weakly, relieved. "Looks like you're finally back." Though mortally wounded, she was just glad she got to say goodbye. Debo screamed her name, demanding, "Was that really you all along?" In his desperation, he pleaded, "Then why didn't you just kill me?" As she faded, she revealed the truth. Debo was the true chosen one, destined to stop the Black Mage with his incredible talent. Cursing his own weakness, he cried, "But I can't get stronger like you," with a faint smile. Aaron entrusted the world to his care.
She affirmed her faith that he would succeed, each word a struggle for breath.
In her final moments, she called him her only disciple, as Debo desperately tried to wake her. But it was too late. Aaron closed her eyes forever, and was gone. After telling the heroes everything, Debo abandoned that cursed place. He was trapped in a living hell, haunted by his failure to protect her, crushed by the weight of his sins. In that distorted landscape of his memory, Debo stared at a distant, shadowy figure. Suddenly, an attack carrying an unbelievable amount of energy surged towards him. The impact created a massive explosion. Consuming everything in sight, Debo jolted awake in a cold sweat, his entire body trembling. His sister entered the room. "You finally woke up," she said softly. "Another nightmare. Was it all just a dream?" He tried to remember, but his sister interrupted. "Someone is here to see you." Slowly, he rose and walked to the door. Palm met him with an urgent look. The plan has been moved up. Prepare to leave immediately. Debo could only mutter. Don't we ever get a holiday elsewhere, in a tense meeting? A man interrogated Palm. Did you escape by gaining another circle? Palm calmly confirmed it. The man pressed on, his eyes sharp, trying to figure out what kind of scheme Palm was plotting.
Iberu tried to pressure him, offering a handsome reward for more information, but Palm simply shut the offer down.
Instead, Palm threw a thick wad of cash on the table, declaring he was paying off all his debts in one go. Iberu was stunned. To have that much money, Palm had to have another trick up his sleeve. Another way out. So, after a hollow congratulations on his newfound freedom, Ibaru stated, "We need to terminate the contract. It's a done deal."
Palm then asked about the sign-up bonus buyout. The man replied, "That'll be 15 million mazos."
Ibaru scoffed at the very idea. That's insane. No one would pay that kind of cash for a C-rank adventurer.
Palm simply rose from his chair and declared, "This conversation is over." Outside, Debo rushed to his side. So, how did the talk go? Palm explained that Ibaru had rejected the massive offer for the sign-up bonus, all 15 million of it.
Debo was floored by the amount. "Are you crazy?" he exclaimed. But Palm didn't even flinch, calmly denying it. Looking around, Debo asked, "Why did we come here? Do you know this area?" Palm's expression hardened. "I know it all too well. This is the slum where I lived, and where my sister died." He explained, "This place has become a haven for bandits." He added, "It's probably the most dangerous spot on all of Victoria Island." Just then, a man was violently thrown to the ground before them.
Palm and Debo found themselves face to face with a group of bandits, who were enjoying the scene in the middle of the slum.
The man on the ground lamented his fate, moaning that he thought his life was finally turning around. Debo noticed the fight was just starting. "We should bounce," he urged. "Let's just go around." But the beaten man saw them and begged for help. Claiming he was attacked, he grabbed Debo's arm tightly, pleading desperately for them to save him. All Debo could manage to ask was, "What are you talking about?" The bandit leader swaggered forward with an intimidating presence and made his demand. "Your brother stole and sold one of my items. Now you owe me 3 million mayos," denying the theft. The man boldly told the bandit crew to clear out. "Get lost!" The leader fumed at the response and moved to threaten the accused man. Suddenly, a wad of cash smacked the leader right in the face. Infuriated, he roared, "What the hell is this? Where's my 3 million mesos?" "I'll pay the debt," Palm said coolly. "Now get out of here." Debo was completely bewildered by his partner's actions, unable to understand a single thing.
Palm then turned to the man, whose name was Ralph, and told him to follow them.
As they walked, Ralph asked if Palm was trying to recruit him. Palm replied bluntly, "I have neither the money nor the guild affiliation for that." Debo finally lost his temper. "Then give back the 3 million we just paid for you," he demanded. Ralph replied without a hint of shame. "I never asked anyone to pay for me." Debo was utterly speechless, shocked by the man's audacity. Ralph attempts to bargain, his voice laced with arrogance. "For my skills, I'll join for 5 million miso. Deal." Just then, a man approaches, introducing himself as Beiju of the Tğᴇ Merchant Union. "I'm looking for a Mr. Palm."
When Palm confirms his identity, Ralph is left utterly speechless, his confidence shattered in an instant.
Beiju smiles, pleased to have found him. "Our union was quite impressed by the skills you displayed at the portal." He cuts straight to the chase, presenting an offer that silences the clearing. An advance of 3 million, and a 15 million bonus for Palm to join their group. Ralph's jaw drops, completely stunned by the astronomical sum being offered to the newbie.
Palm accepts without a moment's hesitation. The raid is in 3 days, Beiju informs them. He then tosses a bag of coins to Ralph, ending the humiliating negotiation. Palm calmly explains that it's the bonus Ralph had asked for, leaving Debo staring at the pile of cash in total disbelief.
Barely believing his eyes, Debo questions the massive expense. "So, where are we heading now?" In the distance, Kiri appears, watching the two with folded arms. Later at a tavern, Debo grumbles, "Why is this loudmouth girl tagging along?" But Kiri coolly states she's only there to fulfill a promise. As a storm brews, she remarks, "This is a good day for a raid."
A woman gives the final briefing, announcing that 5 teams, 50 people in total, will be entering the portal.
Ralph immediately starts complaining. "All these useless people will just shrink my payout." He's clearly fuming. Beiju then announces that this portal is an orange-level threat. He believes 50 people will be more than enough to guarantee a smooth clear.
Palm hadn't expected the Union to be here. He deduces that the followers must already be active in this area.
Even though the timing is different from his past life, he vows not to change his plans. After all, Palm has cleared this very portal before. The woman repeats the protocol. All groups fire a flare if a second portal is found. Kiri chimes in to help. A second portal leads to a new dungeon with completely different monsters, so stay on your toes. "Shut it,"
DBO snaps at Kiri before turning his glare on Ralph.
Just because I hired you, that doesn't make you the leader. Ralph sneers back. Leadership shouldn't be defined by skill alone, should it?
Palm cuts through the tension with a proposal. Let's decide the leader based on who contributes the most inside the portal.
A grin spreads across Ralph's face. The fool fell right into my trap. This is how I'll seize command. Now this, he says aloud, is going to be very interesting.
Palm wishes them luck as the adventurers step into the shimmering gateway. The mission has officially begun.
But just inside, Debo spins around, enraged. Did one of you just call me useless? Ralph cuts him off, coldly stating he won't lift a finger for anything that doesn't earn him money. Even as the other man tries to provoke a fight,
Debo complains to their leader, criticizing the decision to hire Ralph. Honestly, he's destroying the team's morale. Suddenly, the world erupts in chaos. Monsters ambush them from all sides. The leader screams, "Hold the formation or we're all dead!" Debo is swatted down in an instant.
A massive creature pins him, its maw descending. He's caught, but with a roar of effort, uses all his strength to hold its crushing jaws apart. In that moment, Ralph spins and unleashes a savage kick on one of his own teammates. Kiri realizes the grim truth. The portal dropped us right into a nest, she screams, as Ralph barks at everyone to get their heads in the game. Palm's mind races. This scenario doesn't match his past life at all. The monsters. They never attacked like this before. Kiri charges, unleashing her rising sun attack. But the beast dodges with impossible speed. She strikes again, only for the creature to evade her blade a second time. A brutal counter sends the knight flying. She's in shock, unable to believe she couldn't predict its movements. Within seconds, Kiri is surrounded, trapped in a deadly situation. An explosion erupts behind her, catching her completely off guard. As Debo continues to struggle for his life, Ralph finally steps onto the battlefield. He intercepts a monster with a single, devastating blow, utterly obliterating it. He lands without a sound, surveying the carnage. Debo can only watch in awe as Ralph casually keeps score. That's 2 for me, and 1 for the lady. I'll continue my mission, Ralph declares. Try to keep up. Kiri watches him with new eyes, finally understanding. This was the true power of a third circle warrior. A completely absurd level of strength. Another creature lunges. Ralph meets its charge with a direct punch, disintegrating it on impact. He stares down the next one, unimpressed. Its movements are erratic, but that's all. He strikes the monster's eye with pinpoint accuracy. Just then, the knight notices an arrow, guided by Palm's telekinesis, admitting his speed is even greater than her own. Ralph's gaze locked onto Palm, his expression turning deathly serious. While effortlessly silencing a snarling beast, he had to admit, Palm was undeniably an asset. He considered the contract. 50 million wasn't a fee for just anyone. And he knew the merchant union would pay even more for this kind of power in the future. A vision flashed through Ralph's mind himself, sitting on a mountain of gold, the undisputed leader of the crew. Kiri, still deep in the fight, glared at him. "You monstrous jerk," she seethed. "You're actually enjoying this, aren't you?" Ralph grinned as he readied another attack. What a thrill, he roared, only to be slammed from behind. By Palm himself. A sharp kick sent him staggering. "You want to fight?" Palm, Ralph snarled. But Palm simply replied, "I don't need your thanks," as monsters closed in on him. Suddenly, streaks of light tore through the battlefield, eradicating the creatures in a blinding flash. Palm whipped around, his eyes scanning the chaos. Who fired that shot? Just then, a fresh horde swarmed from the woods. High above, a hooded archer knocked several arrows, a silent predator watching from the branches. Palm's senses flared, instantly pinpointing the new threat. Without hesitation, he lunged toward 2 incoming beasts. The archer's arrows found their mark, felling both monsters with lethal precision. Palm observed the attack, impressed by the speed of the magic. From a distance, the hooded figure watched him back, a silent observer to the carnage. A single fire arrow streaked toward the archer's perch, slamming into the trees and erupting in a massive, fiery explosion. Ralph whistled in admiration. Using a monster as a shield to counter, not bad at all. "Watch out!" Debo's warning came a second too late. Palm spun around, his eyes widening in pure shock. A volley of arrows rained down upon him, detonating on impact. Boss Debo screamed in terror. Palm couldn't understand. "How I was sure I hit him." Kiri's voice cut through his confusion. "This place is too dangerous." "We have to fall back," she insisted. But Ralph shot back. Fall back to where? Before they could argue, a storm of countless projectiles rained down from the sky. "Get clear," one of the men yelled. But there was nowhere to run. The relentless barrage found its mark, taking down 2 mercenaries in an instant. Kira unleashed her solar slash, a brilliant arc of light deflecting the deadly projectiles. She turned, shouting, into the forest. "It's our only chance." But a mercenary's voice was filled with despair. "It's no use. They're already waiting for us." Just as he spoke, A giant beast lunged from the shadows, dragging another man to his doom. But then, a path miraculously opened through the flames and carnage. Seizing the moment, Ralph declared, "I'll take the lead, allow me."
Kira's voice was sharp. Stop wasting time and move.
"Boss, at this rate, we're all dead," Debo cried out. In response, Palm unleashed his full power, launching a devastating fire attack. The magic detonated with unbelievable force. "Debo, focus!" Palm roared. The enemy archer flinched in surprise. So, he found me after all. He knocked another arrow, a grim smile on his face. It seems my lord's concerns were justified.
Sorry about this. But goodbye, Palm declared. Before vanishing into the trees, dodging a hail of projectiles at impossible speeds, the archer stared, baffled. How is he so fast? Then, the horrifying realization dawned on him. Someone was missing from the fleeing group. The man with the halberd. A moment later, a massive fireball slammed into the archer's position, the explosion tearing the forest apart. Palm emerged from the inferno, his eyes glowing. "I saw that one coming," he declared.
Debo rushed to his side. "Incredible," he cheered. The disguise swap worked perfectly. You bought just enough time. But in that moment of victory, a massive, brutal projectile pierced straight through him. Kiri spun around just as Debo's lifeless body collapsed before her. Palm froze, witnessing the horrific turn of events. Rage erupted from within him. He gathered an insane amount of energy and unleashed it in a devastating blast. An enemy stared back in disbelief. Impossible. Amidst the chaos, another mercenary fell, his screams for help cut short. Kiri grabbed Debo's body, shouting, "We have to run," but as she shielded him, a projectile tore clean through her leg. The impact threw them both violently to the ground. The knight writhed, pain shooting through her from the grievous wound. The enemy archer's voice was cold. "Stay focused," he commanded. "They can't escape." Ralph scooped them both up, grumbling under his breath about having to babysit the entire crew. "You'll never escape my sight," the archer vowed, drawing another arrow and taking aim. But just then, he noticed something new approaching.
"What's the plan?" Kiri demanded. Ralph's reply was simple. "I just follow the boss's orders. No questions."
The group tore through the forest at a blinding pace, but skidded to a halt as something completely unexpected blocked their path. In front of them, a second gateway shimmered into existence, and Ralph realized Palm must have known its location all along. A grim smile touched his lips. They were alive because of Palm's foresight, and they could reach that portal before the arrows found them. Kiri's voice was sharp. Was he really planning to abandon their boss? But Ralph knew better. This was exactly what Palm wanted. He made the decision. They would enter the portal and wait. As he moved a step forward, a projectile screamed towards them. The ground erupted in a violent explosion, torn apart by an absurd level of force. Debo was thrown to the dirt, his weapon clattering beside him. An attack from the front, Ralph's mind raced while Kiri remained motionless on the ground. Before they could react, another massive impact slammed into them, sending everyone flying in a blast of raw power. At that moment, Palm used fallen logs to barricade the portal entrance. An intense light flared, and suddenly, the path was clear once more, from a safe distance. The enemy archer watched the scene unfold and muttered, "That crazy bastard."
Palm continued his relentless push through the forest. Another of his projectiles found its mark, obliterating a monster in its path.
The archer couldn't comprehend it. Why wasn't Palm hiding? He knew he was being hunted. Very well, he decided to test his target's limits, turning this hunt into a game to see just how long his prey could last. The archer's mind flashed back to the day his master chose him, reliving the brutal selection. 300 assassins fighting to the death until only 5 remained. For 7 grueling days, the slaughter was endless. And because no one could so much as lay eyes on him, he earned the title of Ghost. What truly unbelievable power. Suddenly, another projectile slammed into the earth, dangerously close to the archer's position. He instantly knew he'd made another error. His eyes narrowed in fury as a fire attack blazed past him at impossible speed. Another close call. Not a bad attempt, he had to admit. The archer knew Palm must have pinpointed his location with that last attack. He launched an immediate counter, but his arrows only struck empty trees, leaving him stunned. Then, the fiery projectile curved back through the air, coming straight for him, catching him completely off guard. Engulfed by the explosion, he grumbled about the cheap telekinesis trick. But Palm pressed on, unfazed. In response, the archer knocked and fired another arrow. This time, his attack collided with Palm's midair, creating a cataclysmic explosion. Cursing the smoke that now obscured his vision, he desperately searched for the enemy. He fired another arrow, straight into an approaching fireball. Another detonation, even larger than the last, shook the forest. Thrown to the ground, the archer roared, "You bastard!" But he pushed himself back to his feet, a twisted smile forming. This was actually getting interesting. Meanwhile,
Palm noticed the sudden silence and his blood ran cold.
That bastard had struck again. He realized the future had changed the moment he entered that portal with 100 men. Kenna. She must have sent this assassin.
He bellowed into the trees. "Get out of your hiding spot, you coward!"
He was utterly shocked to hear the archer's voice reply from nearby. "Let's stop wasting time," the voice taunted. "Hiding won't change a thing." The provocation was shameless. Do you prefer to fight or to cower? Palm wondered how the enemy had gotten so close without being detected. Teleportation, perhaps? Or had he somehow controlled the very waves of his own presence, a genius technique, but infuriatingly effective? The archer's voice echoed with chilling finality. "I found you." He took his stance, and a magical projectile, crackling with a devastating aura, shot straight toward Palm. The scene shifts violently. We are now in a desolate, snow-capped mountainscape.
A blinding light explodes, throwing the group backward with insane force. "Debo!"
cried out, regretting that they left their boss behind. But Ralph shot back, explaining this was all part of Palm's plan. That's when Debo saw it, a macabre pile of bones and skulls, burning in endless flames. He froze on the spot. The number of bodies. It was impossible. There were far too many for a simple 3-mark portal. Kiri realized the truth with burning fury. It was all a trap laid by those damned Ka-folk. How infuriating. A voice cut in, explaining that if one connected the clues, it meant Ka was a follower of the Dark Mage. She concluded that Palm had been right all along. Kanye had used this portal as bait, luring countless adventurers to their doom. But the old leader interrupted them. They could save the chatter for later. First, priorities. He pointed ahead, commenting that the host of this place seemed quite displeased. And from the shadows, a colossal, shadowy creature emerged, revealing a terrifying and oppressive aura. Kiri questioned her own senses. Could this monster really be the boss of this realm? Smiling with bitter irony, the old leader commented that he'd finally have to pay back his loan, and that everyone should consider themselves lucky. Just then, Ralph revealed a card, stating he doesn't show this to just anyone. It was a sign of his true power. Called a scumbag and a fiend by others, he faced their scorn without flinching. He didn't care. He was known as a man who would do anything for money, his life surrounded by rumors. But as an adventurer, his skills were absolutely top-notch. A true ace. He then revealed his true self, a healing bishop at the very peak of the third circle. As he began to conjure his sacred magic, a wave of divine light enveloped Kirian and Debo, their grievous wounds mending in an instant. Debo watched, breathless, as his own flesh knitted back together. He was utterly stunned. The realization hit him like a thunderclap. Ralph's true class was a bishop. He'd been holding back his true power this entire time. A true genius. A smirk played on Ralph's lips as he commanded, "Now, it's time to earn your keep." The colossal beast let out a deafening roar, marking the true start of their epic confrontation. They taunted the monster, daring it to fight. "Let's see what you've got, you oversized brute." In response, the monster slammed its fist into the earth, the shockwave scattering them all. Debo and Kiri scrambled up a rock face, desperate for high ground. He hurled insults at the beast, which only opened its massive maw, ready to devour them. The monster charged forward, its jaws of stone shattering their cover. In a heartbeat, their sanctuary was pulverized without a trace of mercy. Debo lunged for the monster's face, screaming, "Who do you think you're looking at, you idiot?" As Kiri advanced with deadly focus, she delivered a Debo attempted another all-out assault, but a thunderous slap from the monster sent him careening through the air, unveiling his sacred text. Ralph began to chant, conjuring a blessing of immense power. The holy energy surged into Kiri. She could feel it instantly, an unbelievable power coursing through her very soul. Ralph warned them the skill would cost 100 mayos. Without hesitation, they both roared back in unison, "Just do it." For a fleeting moment, the giant beast faltered, its guard dropping. Ralph celebrated their hard-won victory, declaring it a good fight against a tough foe. He announced it was time to talk payment, but his words were cut short by another earth-shaking roar. It was awake again, and it was furious. Debo spat, disgusted by the stench. "All right, time to put this thing down for good." He and Kiri charged as one, their weapons aimed at the colossal enemy. But Ralph watched with a grim expression. Something wasn't right here. The monster then rose to its full height, revealing a truly terrifying form. Elsewhere, Palm tore through the forest, dodging a deadly rain of projectiles. He kept moving, but he couldn't pinpoint the attacker. Then he remembered the archer's unique skill, the ability to return to a preset location. That's when it clicked. His movements were being perfectly predicted. A taunting voice echoed through the trees. "You're so slow. You're making me sleepy." Palm dodged a blazing arrow as the voice sneered. "Are you even aiming at all?" Then came a chilling warning. "Keep wasting your skills like that, and you'll die from mana shock." An explosion erupted near his escape portal, signaling his failure. The archer's cruel laughter was his only reward.
Palm slumped to the ground, his energy draining. It felt hopeless, fighting a ghost he couldn't even see.
One of the projectiles finally found its mark, slamming Palm to the earth. He had no time to think, only to react as the barrage continued. This was it. Palm made his decision, downing a potion in one gulp. It was all or nothing. He unleashed a massive orb of fire, intercepting the volley of arrows. The archer's voice scoffed, calling him a fool. The enemy leaped away, easily dodging the fiery projectile. But what happened next left him utterly speechless. The single orb split into 6 smaller fireballs, each one locking onto him, chasing him with terrifying persistence. The archer finally felt a chill of danger. He realized Palm's desperate gambit. He was sacrificing himself, using a high-level skill that would surely cause fatal mana shock.
Palm fought to control the raging magic, his body screaming in protest. He swore that if the enemy's secret was what he suspected, he'd drag them into the light no matter the cost.
So, Palm held his focus. The archer weaved through the trees, astounded. How can he target me without even knowing my location? But the fiery projectiles pursued him like hounds from hell, relentlessly tracking him through the forest.
Palm stood his ground, gritting his teeth. I'm not done yet. A series of massive explosions rocked the entire area.
He had to stay conscious. He had to endure. He struggled to keep his footing, his vision blurring. The archer called him a madman, sneering, "You really think a blind attack like that will ever hit me? You're finished," he declared, sealed and left to die from mana shock. But then, amidst a colossal formation of magical flames, Palm rose again. The archer stared in disbelief. What was this? He suddenly realized the entire area around him was a raging inferno. It wasn't a blind attack. Palm had planned this from the start. The archer knew if he stayed, he would be incinerated. He spotted a clearing and made a break for it, a path to escape the flames. But he skidded to a halt. The clearing felt wrong. It was too perfect. It was suspicious. "No," he screamed, trying to reverse his decision. Realizing it was a trap, the archer spun around to retreat, only to find a silent figure standing right behind him. Who are you?" The archer flinched, trying to react, but a powerful barrier slammed into him from behind. He let out a desperate scream for his brother. Out of nowhere, Palm strikes from the shadows, hissing, "Take this!" The archer collapses, the wind knocked out of him. He knows he's finished. He scrambles desperately across the scorched earth. And then, the horrifying reality dawns on him. There is no escape. He turns around, and his blood runs cold. Something monstrous is hurtling towards him. In that same instant, a colossal barrier materializes, shielding him from the raging inferno. He staggers to his feet, his head spinning. In all this chaos, where is his brother? He has to find him. He runs blindly into the flames, only to be met by a surprise attack. It's his own brother, striking from his flank. The archer roars in outrage. "You undead bastard!" His brother attacks with a soulless scream, intent on murder, and manages to land a devastating blow.
The protective barrier shatters into nothingness, leaving him completely exposed to the hellfire.
He stumbles through the flames, his mind unable to process what just happened. He watches the scene unfold in utter shock. His face says it all. Then he spots his brother's body, fallen amidst the fire, and screams his name. Desperate, he rushes to his brother's side, pleading, "Hang in there." He cradles him in his arms, lamenting, "We dragged this fight on for too long. But it was all for nothing. We still need to recover the phoenix feather." Then, right before his eyes, his brother's form shimmers and transforms. It was Palm, that monster, in disguise all along. He attacks without an ounce of mercy. The blade slices through the air with terrifying power and impales the archer's body. A fatal blow.
Palm lets out a long, exhausted sigh, trying to catch his breath. That was far too close.
He glances at the fallen bodies in the fire and scoffs. "Shh! I am so sick of these archers." Meanwhile, the gigantic ice creature towers over the party, its presence dominating the cavern. It roars with immense power. The monster lunges with a mighty blow, but Ralph intercepts it instantly. "Too slow," he yells, charging in with a thunderous punch. The blow smashes into the creature's face, sending shockwaves through its icy form. Ralph pulls his hand back, wincing. Damn, this thing's built like a fortress. The creature retaliates, grabbing him in a brutal grip and beginning to squeeze. Curses pour from Ralph's lips as he realizes the danger he's in. But Kiri descends from above, unleashing her solar slash and saving her comrade. "That makes us even," she declares. A healing spell envelops Ralph, glowing for a moment. The group regroups, their fighting spirit renewed, ready to deliver another beatdown. Ralph shouts to Debo, "Cover our rear," as he tries to coordinate the assault. Debo turns, confused, and asks, "Cover it where?" just before he's blindsided by a crushing blow. As the monster attacks again, Ralph yells, "Debo, draw its aggro," I need an opening to get close. Their target, the great sword, plunged into the ice, the creature's only weak point.
Debo roars for everyone to push forward, taking the lead in the desperate charge.
Kiri and Debo strike the creature together, their combined attack making it howl in agony. Debo sprints along the monster's arm and realizes in an instant, this is no mindless beast. The creature lunges with terrifying force. Intent on crushing the entire group, smashing its fists together, the monster creates a shockwave that shakes the very foundations of the cavern. Kiri screams at Ralph to use his heel as she's thrown back. The monster smashes the ground again, the unbelievable force making everything tremble. Debo is launched through the air by the devastating impact, and Kiri screams his name in pure despair.
Ralph warns, I only have 4 more heals. We need to dodge now. I'll find an opening.
Everyone spread out. Ralph groans, having to heal right after telling them to scatter. But he casts the spell. That's a leader's burden. The healing light hits Kiri, who promptly faints. Ralph laments the complete waste of magic. The monster continues its relentless rampage through the ice cavern. Debo is slammed against a wall of ice, the impact knocking all the air from his lungs.
Overwhelming pain courses through him as he collapses, gravely wounded, his life hanging by a single thread. Suddenly, Debo is sitting in a chair, asking about the circular. Palm explains that Debo must first understand the fundamentals. But the young man replies, it depends on how you think, and what you wish to achieve. Palm takes a sip of his drink, stating that each person's experience is different, and his own path cannot serve as a guide.
In the end, Debo must discover his own way forward. Debo asks what he should do. Palm tells him he must find his own key.
Whether through understanding mana, forbidden knowledge, or an unforgettable memory that can make one's heart pound and power bloom. Back in the battle, Debo's eyes snap open.
Burning with a newfound, ferocious determination, Debo unleashes his explosive slash, striking the creature with the full force of his awakened fury. Ralph watches the scene, completely stunned. With a single devastating blow, Debo had just sliced the ice creature in two. Ralph's mind reeled. What was happening to the kid? As Debo unleashed a relentless storm of axe blows, Ralph could only wonder, did he just level up? Impossible. Scrambling across the beast's massive form, Debo scrambled toward the sword embedded in its chest, aiming for the one true weak spot. He hammered the blade with every ounce of his strength. Driving it deep into the monster's power core, it was over. The beast's fate was sealed. It let out a soul-shattering roar of pure agony, but Ralph's voice cut through the chaos, filled with pride. Well done, Debo. He urged the boy to his feet, mustering his last reserves for one final healing spell. The light of the heel washed over Debo, but the monster gave no quarter, striking him down instantly. The beast's colossal hand shot out, grabbing Ralph. It lifted him from the ground, its grip like crushing steel. As his bones began to creak, Ralph cursed him. You damn idiot, don't worry about me, but fueled by the healing light. Debo readied himself for the final, decisive blow. He tore the sword from its icy prison and charged with every last shred of his being. The creature's core erupted in a violent, shattering explosion. The long, brutal battle was finally won. Back at the campfire, Kiri's eyes fluttered open. She's awake, Debo announced. Kiri's first words were a whisper. Are we alive? What happened to the monster? Debo confessed that sheer hunger had driven him to try and eat the monster's flesh. But with the portal sealed, there was no choice but to wait it out. He explained the beast's hide offered some warmth. You should rest too, he told Kiri. I need to step out for a bit. With that, Debo left the relative safety of the cave. He journeyed alone through the frozen, desolate mountains. A heavy snow began to fall, but he refused to stop. Daylight was fading, and his focus was starting to blur. And then he saw it. A colossal paw print directly in his path. A new monster, massive and terrifying, emerged with a ferocious roar. Debo simply sighed. Of course. I knew this would happen. With a defiant shout, he charged headfirst into the new threat. Why do they always get in my way? Back in the cave, Kiri shot up as he returned. You're back. Did you find the exit? Her eyes widened at his fresh wounds. But Debo just shrugged it off. Ran into a few pests, that's all. It's nothing. There are still monsters out there, she asked, her voice firm. Next time, I'm going with you. It's too dangerous alone, she declared. Someone has to look out for you. They were companions, after all. Debo silenced her. Even if we avoid the same paths, it's safer if only one of us goes. He insisted, don't waste your energy. Just rest. Despite the pain, he forced himself back to his feet. His mind flashed back to the brutal fight that earned him those scars. He had faced down an entire horde of monsters, alone on a cliff's edge. In the heat of battle, he paused for just a second, gasping for air, cursing the biting cold. In that instant, one of the beasts charged. It leaped, its jaws snapping shut with ferocious power. But Tğ reacted instantly, smashing its head into the frozen earth, collapsing over its corpse. He admitted to himself that was too close. For a moment, he truly thought he was dead. Then, through the swirling snow, he spotted a figure in the distance. He found a man, sitting silently in the snow, and realized he wasn't a corpse. Not yet. Taking the man's hand, he saw he was clutching something. He hadn't been dead for long.
With his last breath, the man entrusted him with the letter. "Take my gloves," the man offered. "The warrior mastery class will be invaluable." The letter revealed the whole tragic story. They'd fallen into a deadly trap, and his comrade was killed by a terrifying snow yeti. The man had found the exit portal, but there was a catch.
It was a special gate that would only open once the area's boss was defeated. The letter even contained a map to other portals. His final request was simple: deliver this letter to his family. At his friend's grave, a single sword marked the spot.
Tğ followed the tracks left in the snow. He found the exit portal, where Kiri was already waiting.
Carrying Ralph on his back, the young warrior approached the shimmering gate. He gave the frozen wasteland one last look. Then they stepped through, emerging in a dense forest. "What now?" Tğ asked. "We need to regroup." Suddenly, a hooded figure appeared from the shadows. "I thought this might happen," a voice hissed. The figure glanced at the fallen. So, the Phantom actually lost. Tğ knew instantly. They were from In his current state, this was a fight he couldn't win. "Don't worry," one of them sneered. "This will be over in an instant."
Kiri launched herself forward, sword raised. "Stay back!" But the assassin simply hurled a volley of daggers, striking her with deadly accuracy.
She gasped, staggering from the searing pain. Tğ screamed as the enemy closed in for the kill. Facing the assassin head-on, he stood his ground. Then, a powerful, devastating light erupted from him.
A blinding strike shot forward, piercing the enemy clean through. Kiri could only watch as the deadly attack blazed past her.
A single devastating blow annihilates the remaining foes. Another hooded enemy falls, struck down by that overwhelming force. Tğ and Kiri stand victorious amidst the wreckage. A smirk crosses his face as he mutters, "Ha! I really hoped I wouldn't have to say that."
Palm lifts his staff, casually asking, "Did you miss me?"
Tğ just shrugs it off, but someone else pipes up. "Since we're late anyway, might as well grab a drink."
Elsewhere, the formidable Evoke lounges beside her massive, chained beast. A skilled new player has entered the game, but their identity remains a complete mystery.
She senses that a storm is about to break out among the factions, and she's preparing for the chaos to come. Just then, Beiju bursts in, announcing Palm's return and asking about the contract. With an ice-cold expression, Evoke gives a single. Chilling order. "Kill him!" The command freezes Beiju in his tracks. He stammers that Palm isn't alone, but Evoke cuts him off without a second thought. "We'll invent an excuse later." Her interest piqued by this new information. Evoke demands more. Beiju explains he's traveling with a group, and right on cue, the scene shifts to Palm, entering a new room. At a table, Ralph complains loudly about the terrible food. Tğ instantly fires back, warning him not to disrespect his sister's cooking. Meanwhile, Shannon kindly offers Kiri another serving, who gratefully accepts. Tğ curses under his breath, thinking this is exactly why he opposed bringing Ralph. Kiri notes that Kanye has surely heard the news, and that for her sister's safety, they must stay united. Just then, Palm strolls into the room, asking how everyone is holding up. But Tğ confronts him immediately, demanding to know where he's been. Ralph seizes the moment, declaring it's the perfect time to discuss splitting the reward money. He demands an extra 7 million misos for himself. Tğ explodes, asking if he's insane to chase after Kaya for money at a time like this. Tğ accuses Ralph of taking credit for the snow yeti, when all he did was sleep while Tğ searched for an escape. Kiri adds that she heard Palm fought off 2 assassins. Ralph just scoffs. And where's the proof of that? Tğ instantly fires back, calling him a punk. Kiri turns to Palm, asking about his plan. He confirms that Kanye will absolutely make another move. Suddenly, a loud banging comes from the door. A voice from outside shouts, "How long do you intend to keep me waiting?" Shannon opens it, her eyes widening in pure shock at the figure standing there. Who are you?" she asks. Tğ and Kiri are equally stunned by the man's presence. The visitor, Abyss, commands, "Tell the punk who just arrived to get a move on." In a shadowy room, a scarred man barks an order. "Fix this mess." Later, in his office, Abyss grips his head, completely overwhelmed by the unfolding chaos. That's when he hears a sound from his office door. Abyss remarks that his negotiations with Kanye fell through, but Palm drops a bombshell they offered him 15 million mesos to pass their test. The revelation makes Abyss visibly tense. Palm smirks. "Did you just come here to brag about that?" Receiving no answer, he turns to leave. But Abyss finally breaks. offering Palm a 6 million meso contract to sign on the spot. A subtle smile plays on Palm's lips. His gambit paid off. He signs the document, and Abbas asks, "So, are we officially partners now?" Then he adds, "Let's put all our cards on the table." And so, Palm reveals the entire treacherous plot. Tğa was the true mastermind, and the test portal was a death trap from the very beginning. The truth hits Abbas like a physical blow, and the pieces instantly fall into place. Tğa only reached out to them to destroy the evidence. With unwavering conviction, Palm declares his new mission. "This time, I'm going to crush Tğa completely," Abbas calmly asks. "And will that be enough for you?" Palm admits his testimony is the only proof he has. Tğa can simply deny it all and make the evidence vanish without a trace. Abbas reflects on how easily public opinion can be swayed. After all, the other merchant unions are desperate for a scapegoat to blame for the portal disaster. And he realizes that even with the odds stacked against them, Tğa can still be utterly destroyed. Why just remove them from power when they can erase their very existence from the map once and for all? In another corner of the world, a mysterious figure learns that the Dark Wizard's followers are on the move. A shadow spreading across the land. Abbas meets with Toriel and Franco. When they ask why he's there, he simply states, "I've come to offer my apology." He explains it was all a simple misunderstanding, blaming Palm's rash actions on his youth and impulsiveness. Then, Abbas declares Palm as Gafor's official business partner and apologizes on his behalf for the theft. Beiju agrees to forfeit the promised contract fee, to which Abbas casually replies, "It's no problem at all." Abbas continues, explaining that this shocking incident made him realize the value of human life, and that he now intends to treat people with the respect they deserve. A wide, menacing grin spreads across his face as he adds, "He'll have skilled guards on standby at all times, ensuring the total protection of Palm's group." Beiju listened in silence as Abbas praised their flawless teamwork, a sight he admitted was truly remarkable. Abbas's tone turned deadly serious. If anyone dared to harm Palm or his allies, they would face the full might of the Gafor Merchant Union. It was an unbreakable vow. Faced with this staggering declaration, Beiju was speechless, his mind reeling from the turn of events. Debo completely lost his composure. 16 million gold? The amount was simply astronomical. Kiri, just as stunned, turned to Palm for answers. "What kind of sorcery did you use to make the Gafor Merchant Union dispatch their own bodyguards for us?" Ralph, naturally, was quick to shower Palm with praise, calling him a true monster in the world of business. But Palm simply told him to cut the drama. Catching sight of the guards posted outside, Ralph's ego swelled. He began boasting that no one in the world of Maple could ever compare to him. He proclaimed himself the ultimate jack of all trades, a master of healing, protection, and leadership. Palm, with a deadpan expression, sarcastically agreed that he was the best of the best. Then Ralph spun around, pointing a finger at Debo. "You kid, you're a monster. Just what in the hell are you?" Debo was completely blindsided, utterly baffled by the sudden accusation. Ralph then revealed the shocking truth while completely unconscious. Debo had single-handedly annihilated the boss. There was some unknown power sealed within him. Kiri's mind flashed back to the fight with the Hobbs. Did he go berserk in his sleep, she wondered? Debo struggled to make sense of it all, but his memory was a blur, except for one particularly bizarre dream. He described a mysterious woman who appeared in his sleep, and how they would fight with the strange familiarity of lifelong rivals. The worst part, he could never recall her face when he woke up, only the image of her wielding a gun. Those words struck Palm like a physical blow. The gun, and the dream. A chilling premonition washed over Palm, and his entire body tensed. Then, everything clicked into place. Before he returned to the past, it was a well-known fact that Debo and Aaron were a fated couple. Palm's mind raced. What was going on? Had he made a terrible mistake by altering the timeline? Suddenly, Ralph's voice shattered the tension. "Idiot." His sharp gaze then locked onto Palm. "And that goes for you, too." He'd seen through Palm's act instantly, and now he understood why the Gafor Union was so invested. Ralph then turned to Kiri, who met his stare without flinching. Ralph sized her up. She was experienced and sharp. Not bad at all for a second circle mage. But he delivered a crushing verdict. There was nothing special about her. Nothing that made her stand out from the masses. He stated plainly that their mission was to infiltrate Kay, and that she should return to her original duties. Ralph's dismissive words left her utterly shaken. Kiri moved on, approaching a grand and imposing building. Upon entering, she found a man and announced, "I've landed an interesting job recently." Sir Kasim greeted her with a warm smile, remarking that it had been far too long. She asked if he was on his way to see the master, and he nodded. Kasim noted she had stooped to joining an explorer group, and scoffed. "It seems you've found a place that suits your level." He gestured for her to proceed, informing her that the master was waiting in his office. Kiri arrived on a balcony to find her master. The man, his back still turned to her, asked bluntly, "Have you come here to quit?" Kiri insisted she couldn't explain the situation just yet. But the master immediately retorted, "And when, exactly, will that day arrive?" He then gave her a direct order report on the Explorer Group's activities every 3 weeks. The master gave a final warning, telling her to never forget her discipline or her position as an eternal knight of Cygnus. Meanwhile, back with the group, Kiri explained her predicament to Ralph. She couldn't return to her master empty-handed, not with a rival loyalist among the knights watching her every move. She declared firmly that she didn't need money. All she wanted was the chance to grow stronger. She only needed more time. Ralph called her immature and questioned her. "Are you truly certain about this decision?" Debo and Kiri bristled at his tone, and Ralph shot back, "What in the hell are you two looking at?" Palm thought to himself, if she goes off searching for that loyalist on her own, her recklessness will lead her straight to hell. Palm turned to Ralph, questioning his earlier assessment. Then his voice cut through the tension. "I have something to add." He acknowledged Ralph's confident analysis, but revealed he wasn't the only one disappointed by the team's performance. Palm explained that he sent them to the second floor, believing they could handle it. But without Debo's latent power, they would have all been annihilated. Ralph protested that the Snow Yeti was no ordinary monster, but Palm just met his gaze with an icy stare and asked, "Oh, is that so?" Then Palm dropped an absolute bombshell on the group. "I have hunted a Snow Yeti? All by myself." The revelation left Ralph, Kiri, and Debo completely frozen in shock. He clarified that this happened before his regression, and he would have crushed the beast himself if everything had gone according to plan. Palm explained he had no choice but to change his entire plan because Kanya's assassins were far more dangerous than he had ever anticipated. Ralph immediately called his bluff. Liar. How could a mere slave accomplish something like that? But Palm simply smirked. "You don't believe me." He took a step closer, his voice dangerously low. "Shall I prove it to you?" Ralph instinctively backed away, saying, "No, there's no need." And he immediately shoots back. "Then that means you don't need me either." The kid just cracks a wry smile. Moments later, he issues a grim warning to the group. They must get stronger, and fast, because in 1 month, the next raid begins. Then he declares with cold certainty, violence is the only answer. In another chamber, Beiju bows deeply, reporting, "My lord." Things did not go as planned. He informs Eren that their spy discovered little, and that the negotiation was likely a trap from the very beginning. Seated beside her monstrous beast, Eren simply whispers a name, Gaffer. She notes they've been quiet so far, and crushing them will be trivial when the time comes. Eren asserts that their true enemy is, and always has been, the Maple Association. After all, a mere merchant union wouldn't warrant their superior's attention. But a flicker of doubt crosses her mind. Could he truly have done all this? With only Gafor's backing, Beiju remains perfectly still, offering no answer. Eren's command is sharp. Find me everything on Gaffer. And like a phantom, Beiju melts into the shadows, gone in a flash to obey her command. She watches him vanish, but in her mind, a different name echoes. Palm, a worthy adversary, she hopes. Someone who will finally present a real challenge. Beneath the canopy of a sun-drenched forest, the group's grueling training begins. As Ralph hits the dirt, Kiri demands, "What kind of magic is that even supposed to be?" Palm strolls over, casually asking. "What's the holdup now?" With a knowing smirk, he issues a challenge. "Just try to land a single hit on me." He then leaps into motion. Weaving through their desperate attacks, he declares, "Land one punch," and this training ends immediately. Further away, the constant noise is grating on Debo's nerves. He screams, "How can I concentrate with all this racket?" Debo slams his fist into a stone dummy, thinking, "Why the hell am I stuck doing this?" Palm explains the goal: he must consciously tap into the power that erupts when he loses control. He admits he doesn't know if it's even possible, but then adds, "But if he could pull it off, wouldn't that be something truly special?" Debo returns to his training, but the doubt lingers. Will this really make me any stronger? Ralph, his face already bruised, questions if this can even be called training. Debo lets out a bitter laugh, but Palm bluntly states he simply adjusted the difficulty to match Ralph's own circle level. Shannon then worries about leaving her sister alone, but Ralph reassures her, saying she is heavily guarded. Just then, Debo approaches Palm, his expression serious. He says there's something they need to discuss. He presents a letter and a ring, a relic that secured his escape. He declares it's time to return it. Palm glances at the object and instantly knows. It's the cross ring. Debo demands to know what it is. Palm takes the letter, stating he already has a pretty good idea. "I'll handle this," he tells Debo, "so just focus on getting some rest." And as the kid leaves, Palm adds a warning, because starting tomorrow, Da will be joining this hellish training too. Later, in a moonlit clearing, Kiri trains alone, her sword a blur of powerful strikes. Exhausted, she finally pauses, gasping for breath. But from the shadows, Kasim appears, startling her. He delivers a soul-crushing critique. You have no talent whatsoever. Yet Kiri simply resumes her training, swinging her sword with even greater ferocity. In the dead of night, Palm moves like a ghost through the silent streets. His shadow stretches long before a single, unassuming door. He halts, watching as it slowly creaks open. A figure peers through the narrow gap, their voice sharp. Who are you? Just a mailman, Palm replies, holding up the letter. His mind flashes back to the portal's destruction. An entrance was annihilated, and the guard sent to investigate simply vanished without a trace. But then the portal reappeared nearby. After that, the attack stopped. And in that moment, the truth struck Palm like a bolt of lightning. He knew who was responsible. Now, seeing the open door, he finally understood why. Palm steps inside, his staff held ready. A man's voice cuts through the tension. How did you find this place? A woman, hidden in darkness, speaks with a chilling tone. You have exactly 5 seconds to explain yourself. Then, the group emerges from the shadows. They are the legendary Cross Hunters.
It all clicked into place. They were the secret organization behind the portal's destruction. Heroes who made a noble sacrifice that the world would never know.
A woman from the group raises a dagger, the familiar ring on its hilt.
Palm states he came to return what was lost. But he can tell they aren't in a welcoming mood.
The woman begins the countdown, her voice dripping with menace. 5. Unfazed, Palm says, I came to offer you a shortcut. Wasting time isn't in my best interest either. As blades are aimed at his throat, Palm explains that he can't reveal his source. But he drops a devastating bombshell. If you kill me now, that information goes directly to the heart of the dreaded Edelstein Assembly.
Palm's voice is low and steady, to the very place where your leader's identity will be exposed to the world.
The woman's fury erupts. Who in the hell are you? A slight smile touches Palm's lips as he greets her by name. Cheryl. He corrects himself, thinking, perhaps I should just ask. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Suddenly, memories of a forgotten past resurface. A time when they were once comrades in another life. After the Cross Hunters fell, Cheryl joined the resistance, and they fought countless battles as one. They were inseparable, until the day she sacrificed her life to save him.
Back in the present, Palm vows to repay that sacred debt. He gets straight to the point.
He tells Cheryl to bring out the cunning branch, warning her that the followers already know about it. Then he reveals his latest acquisition, a severed hand bearing the mark of the Tğᴇ Merchant Union. His discovery is undeniable. Cheryl's eyes narrow, her voice laced with ice. If this is some kind of game, you will regret it. But Palm simply tells her to examine her own hand.
A strange symbol materializes on her skin. The unmistakable tattoo of a follower. One of her own men confirms that that's the Tğᴇ symbol.
The terrifying truth dawns on Cheryl. The follower's existence is now public knowledge. What is it you want, she demands. And spare me the nonsense. Palm's request is simple. Information. That's all. After their tense meeting, the hideout door slams shut. Ralph turns to Cheryl. Can we really trust him? But she quickly dismisses his concern. The man is dangerously suspicious. This whole thing could be a trap. Outside, Palm decides he will play along, feigning ignorance for now. As he considers his next move, he realizes he gained something more valuable than just information. Palm wonders, did his meddling with the future cause Tğᴇ to alter their grand design, with his resolve hardened? He makes a declaration. Our next destination is Nautilus. And from the depths, a colossal ship breaks through the waves. Debo stares in awe, his mind reeling at the sheer scale of the port. He had joined the group, buzzing with excitement for the fight, only to realize an entire month had already passed. Seated across from Palm, Abby's cut straight to the chase. Choose. He lays out a list of portals coveted by Tğᴇ. Isn't it time we made our move, he presses. But Palm remains silent, his gaze analytically scanning every option. Annoyed by the hesitation, Abbas provokes him. You're scared, aren't you? That's when our hero announces his unbelievable choice. The eagle-eyed tomb. Abbas is completely stunned by this decision, questioning if Palm truly understands the grave danger he's courting. That place is infamous, tied directly to Kieran, the legendary captain of Nautilus, and her disciple, Leah, the feared Eagle Eye. For the portal is not a portal at all, but a solemn memorial, where Leah met her tragic end. Abbas insists the tomb is impossible to conquer, but Palm simply confirms that is the very challenge Tğᴇ wishes to undertake. Just then, Rockin enters the room, interrupting their conversation. He asks Palm where he obtained such explosive information. He explains his desire to offer a gift, a new beginning for them all. Rockin extends his hand, presenting the gift. 2 radiant phoenix feathers, legendary items crafted by the master artisan. Gaffer. A sly smile crosses Rakan's face as he wishes them luck. Debo quickly connects the dots. They now possess 4 phoenix feathers.
Palm understands Rakan's unspoken message. Their collection must be nothing short of legendary. Palm explains they're still waiting for the rest of their party. Debo's curiosity is piqued, wondering who else could be joining them.
Suddenly, Palm bellows, "Oi, you drunken whale!" A mountain of a man named Iu appears, lugging a massive sack. After a brief greeting, Debo immediately asks what's inside.
Orders from the boss, Ibaru explains. Kiri grumbles that, on top of everything, he was forced to play delivery boy.
As Kiri dons his new equipment, he remarks on how incredibly light it is, feeling as if he's wearing nothing at all.
Ibaru reveals its secret. The material is rare snow yeti.
Leather, left by the boss specifically for Kiri. Debo declares he wants one for himself, but Ibaru says that's the reward for clearing the portal. He adds that its rarity is beyond measure, but they shouldn't worry. There is one extra vest. Ibaru then presents the vest to Palm, but as Palm hesitates, Iu warns him sternly. There's no time. Go change. Now, elsewhere. A man with braided hair complains endlessly about his profound boredom. Meanwhile, the legendary ship Nautilus sails toward a tropical island coast. On the beach, 2 figures spot its approach. They're here.
A crew member praises Miss Manu for her hard work. She simply inhales deeply, commenting that nothing beats the fresh ocean air.
Then, a thunderous cheer erupts from the shore. Miss Monu has done it. Everyone celebrates her glorious return. After all, she single-handedly conquered an orange-ranked portal and quelled the chaos of the ensuing invasions. But the captain, her back still turned to them, offers only a cold response. Monero challenges the captain's judgment, arguing that if they cleared a 200-person portal, a 74-person raid would be an absolute cakewalk. She declared herself far stronger than the Eagle Eye of that era, so backing down was not an option. Karen's voice turned to ice. "Are you talking back to me? Is this what you call insubordination?" The young woman hurled Leah's vengeance back at her. "How hard did you really even try?" she challenged. But the captain merely repeated her order. "Manu, get out." The sheer weight of that command crushed Manu, sending her to her knees. Fuming at the tavern, Manu considered throwing caution to the wind, marching over there and ripping down the posters herself. One of her companions tried to soothe her. "This just proves the captain cares for you. It's nothing but overprotectiveness." Just then, a man burst in, panicked. "We have a huge problem. You need to come, right now." He delivered the unbelievable news someone had already taken down the wanted posters from the Eagle Eye's tomb. Manu was utterly stunned. Her crewmates were bewildered. Who in the world are these mainlanders? Why would they dare take down those posters? Meanwhile, Palm and his group were navigating a long, sinister corridor. Debo immediately grimaced. "This place gives me the creeps. I feel like utter garbage." Kiri warned them. "We're in their territory. If we break some unwritten rule, don't be surprised if we're cut down where we stand." She then explained that the Nautilus rules were brutally simple. Whoever rips down the wanted poster gains absolute priority to invade the portals. At that moment, a woman appeared, questioning them with a fiery gaze. Manu stormed toward them, radiating pure fury. She screamed at the top of her lungs. "Who do you think you are, taking my poster?"
Palm calmly asked why she hadn't claimed it sooner. She hesitated. "I hadn't received permission yet."
"I don't recall any rule about permission," Palm retorted, but she stood her ground. "I need it. Captain Karen is my mentor." In her frustration, Manu blurted out the truth. "You fools, Nautilus wanted posters are only for pirates." One of Palm's crew confirmed. "That's right. Non-pirates can't just show up and do this at every Nautilus portal." Debo spat out his drink in sheer disbelief, then erupted into uncontrollable laughter. "Stop it right now," Manu demanded. Debo just grinned, his eyes gleaming with defiance. "And what if I don't want to stop?" That's when they made their grand entrance. "We are the Uru Pirates." Ibu chuckled, crushing a paper in his hand. Finally, things were starting to make sense. Manu immediately shot back. "You can't just call yourselves pirates." "There's a whole procedure for that," she insisted. But her words only enraged Debo. "Being called a fake pisses me off." "We are real pirates." Ibu then introduced himself, laying out his claim. But Manu had never even heard of Captain Ibu, let alone his crew. "Just because you're with Ibu, a real pirate, doesn't make all of you pirates," she countered. "You're just trying to force the issue." The other pirates began to murmur amongst themselves, concluding that the rest of the group were imposters.
"Who dares talk back to me?" Debo roared. Just then, Manu noticed a new figure had arrived.
She turned to the newcomer. "Mr. Murath, what is all this commotion?"
Palm remained unfazed. "Never heard of him. And as far as I know, we haven't broken any rules."
Murath laid down the law. Chiron is responsible for these posters, and for judgment. He then scanned their small party. "Where are the rest of you?" "All 5 of us are right here," Palm replied. But Debo was puzzled. This was a 74-person portal. Mirath's suspicion grew. This was highly unusual. "State your name," he commanded. The name Palm sent a ripple of shock through the crowd. "You know him," a pirate whispered. "I've heard the stories. He's the survivor of that legendary 100-person red rank portal." Debo recalled the rumors. "I heard most of them died in there." And then he finally understood. These guys were not your average adventurers, but he just smirked. "So what?"
A pirate instantly fired back. Their invasion failed. They barely escaped with their lives. They're nothing but cowards.
Debo simply chuckled. "Why are you yelling, my friend?" Another pirate defended Manu's honor. "She cleared a 200-person orange rank portal. She's on a completely different level." But Manu felt they were just making a scene. Mirath finally grasped the situation. "He's one of you," he declared, before proposing a deal. Since they claimed the poster first, they can keep their priority, if they forfeit the other 69 slots. Debo started to object, but Palm silenced him with a look and accepted the terms. Palm then stated his own condition: 100,000 mayos per person, for a maximum of 10 people. Elsewhere, a man cornered Manu. "Are you serious?" he scoffed. "You're just guaranteeing they won't get wiped out." He shoved a thick wad of cash at her. "I don't have time for this. I'll do whatever I want, and beg for Chiron's forgiveness later." But Manu's will was like steel. There was no way she was letting anyone else claim that portal. Back at the tense negotiation, Ralph exploded at Palm. "What were you thinking? Giving up 10 of 69 spots just cost us 690,000 mayos, D. Go tell them the deal is off." Kiri cut in, warning that a frontal assault would be suicide. But Ralph sneered, demanding they crush them without mercy. Palm, however, held him back. Their true objective was far more critical, and far more delicate. Their goal is the assassination of Manu, Captain Chiron's second disciple. The chosen location, Eagle's Eye, the very same cursed place where her first disciple fell. Losing another disciple in the same portal would utterly shatter Chiron, sending her spiraling into shock and isolation. A moment of weakness the followers would surely exploit to finally annihilate the Nautilus pirates. Palm had acquired critical intel. Kanya had secretly funded the Nautilus. This forced him to limit his invasion force to guarantee her safety. He also had to conserve his mana at all costs. He would not repeat the fatal mistakes of the past. Ralph grumbled about the lost funds, but quickly silenced his comrade. He knew Palm always had an ace up his sleeve. Still, he wondered how he got tangled in this web of schemes. Beneath the moon, their ship sliced through the waves, a silent predator on the open sea. Back in his room, a sharp knock echoed on Palm's door. He opened it cautiously. "Who is it?" His eyes widened in absolute shock at the visitor. This was the last person he ever expected to see. He quickly ushered them inside. Captain Chiron and Mirath stood before him. Chiron wasted no time. She needed to confirm something vital, and demanded the truth. Her gaze was sharp as steel as she cut straight to the point. "No more games. Are you a follower of the Dark Mage?" Palm's mind raced. How could she possibly know? Had the future he knew already shifted? Or was she always one step ahead of him? Morath saw the flicker in his eyes. "Do you have any connection to the Dark Mage?" He vehemently denied it, claiming his shock was from hearing those words from her. Chiron's eyes narrowed. He never questioned if the followers were real. The captain shot back that she had no reason to trust him. Demanding proof, Palm admitted he had none, but countered. "I assumed you came to me because you already knew the answer." Chiron declared she already knew the identity of the followers, and his own relationship with them. Otherwise, he would already be dead. Palm's eyes lit up. "Are you talking about the Cross Hunters?" He never imagined she had ties to that shadowy group. She confirmed it. The followers were the dreaded Kanya Merchant Union. That made Palm their enemy. But Chiron warned him, "That does not make you my ally." "But I could be," Palm offered smoothly. "What is it you need from me?" He knew this was the real reason for her sudden visit. The captain's expression turned grim. The situation was desperate. She revealed a devastating truth. The Dark Mage's followers were the ones who murdered Leah, and they had already infiltrated the Nautilus. She could only trust Mirath and a handful of loyalists. Palm realized the situation was spiraling out of control. Events were accelerating far faster than he had ever predicted. Chiron had learned of their next move. Their target was Manu, who had become a symbol of hope for the entire ship. If Manu falls, the Nautilus will descend into total chaos. Not even Chiron could stop the crew from tearing itself apart. It would be the end. Palm understood instantly. This was a high-stakes negotiation. Chiron tasked him to protect Manu at Eagle's Eye Tomb. The reward, a priceless treasure from the Nautilus vault. Before the portal, Debo swaggered forward, announcing, "We'll go in first. The rest of you just sit back and enjoy the show." Manu watched silently as the group approached the shimmering gateway. On the other side, Debo gasped in awe, commenting on the alien landscape. It was a world unlike anything he had ever witnessed. Ralph grumbled about the limited 10 entry spots, but Kiri shot him a sharp look, reminding him this was no sightseeing trip. Spotting a small creature, Debo scoffed at its pathetic appearance. An easy kill. He stepped forward to handle it, but froze mid-step. A colossal shadow loomed behind the smaller beast, its presence suffocating. Debo's arrogance vanished, his voice trembling as he stammered, Is that its mother? Manu didn't hesitate, unleashing a volley of shots. Eliminate these creatures! As the pirates opened fire, Zoe realized the terrible truth. The noise of their weapons was a dinner bell, attracting even more monsters from the shadows.
A pirate tried to rally their spirits. Stay calm. They're just drakes. We've faced worse than this, haven't we?
But the words died in his throat as a monster lunged from the darkness, tearing right through him. The beast took a hit, but roared back in fury, swatting 2 pirates to the ground like dolls. A man yelled at Zoe to get back into formation. You were right, Zoe admitted in horror. Manu raised her weapon, her eyes blazing. I will end this. But from a blind spot, another creature ambushed the group. Panic erupted. Where are they all coming from?
Palm shoves Debo onward, telling him he has other business to handle. Debo explodes in anger, roaring. Where do you think you're going? Palm ignores him, cursing under his breath as he faces the cave wall.
Just then, another colossal beast charges straight for them. Debo braces himself, a grim smile on his face. Finally, the real battle begins.
Palm's voice cuts through the chaos. Their current strategy is a disaster, and if they stay disorganized, they are doomed to fail.
He declares a radical shift in their tactics. From this moment on, we fight as one unit, in as one family. The declaration hangs in the air, stunning everyone. Debo is the first to act, spearheading the new plan as he charges the front line, intent on sowing utter chaos. He knows he can't land a decisive blow just yet, but his goal is to inflict as much damage as possible. His mission is clear, and his advance is relentless. Ignoring the attacks from his blind spots, Debo just keeps pressing forward. But he's not alone. Ralph moves to cover his back, announcing, Don't you worry, your old man has got you covered. He calls Debo his cute little boy, ordering him, Just trust your old man naturally. Debo just screams at him to shut up. But this was all part of Palm's design. His order to Ralph was crystal clear. He was to become Debo's shield and abandon all his selfish tactics. Ralph's new purpose was to fight for Debo, to protect him at all costs. The order was undeniable.
And so, Ralph unleashes his move, hurling a smaller beast directly into the path of a larger one.
Debo adjusts his footing. Ready for the opening, Ralph bellows. Son as the massive creature takes the bait, attacking the monster he just threw. A direct hit, the plan worked perfectly. Pumped up by the power of a father's love for his son, Ralph is fired up, but Debo just tells him to shut his mouth. Meanwhile, Palm turns to Kiri, explaining her role is the most crucial of all. Her unique power prevents an enemy's wounds from healing, a vital skill for this very moment. He gives her the command. Use that power to finish them all. Kiri's gaze sharpens. Locking onto the wounded monsters, she darts forward like a phantom, cutting down multiple beasts in a single, devastating slash. Palm notes her terrifying progress over the last month, an evolution that was nothing short of insane. Kiri surveys the carnage, remarking coolly, This is easier than I thought. She rallies the others with a sharp command. Press the attack. Don't let the others escape. Meanwhile, outside the cave, 2 guards stand watch before the portal. Suddenly, one looks up, sensing an approaching presence. A group led by Tğᴇ emerges from the shadows. The guard immediately challenges them. What is the invasion squad doing here? Tğᴇ brushes him aside. Out of my way. I have urgent business and must see Manu at once. Deep inside the cave, Manu commends one of her pirates for their good work, urging the team to keep pushing forward. Then, one of her men calls out, pointing toward an incredible discovery, a mana stone of enormous size. A pirate cheers. We'll be rich if we sell this. But in the next instant, she's struck by an unseen force, wondering what in the world just happened. The others barely have time to react to the surprise attack. One of them screams a warning. Everyone, watch out. Zoe dives in front of a comrade, taking the hit for him. He saves him from another projectile and desperately screams from an arrow. Manu's voice is steel. I know. She instantly launches a counterattack. But then she pivots, sensing a new point of light, a new danger approaching from behind. A warning screams out the attack is coming from behind. She adjusts her stance in a fraction of a second. A volley of projectiles rains down, striking the pirates. Manu glares at the attacker, demanding an explanation. Palm's reply is cold and simple. He's just doing a little cleanup. Don't move, he warns, his projectiles surrounding her. This will be quick. Elsewhere. Ayu cries out in protest. Hey, did everyone forget about me? He's fleeing for his life from a monster, complaining that Debo left him behind after telling him to trust him. Trapped in a crevice, He realizes he'd be dead if not for a small anthill. What kind of rotten luck is this? Ayu knows he can't hide forever. If the others escape without him, he'll be stranded here. Standing on a cliff's edge, the horrifying reality sets in. But he's a second circle adventurer. After all, he refuses to die in a place like this. Taking a deep breath, he steels his resolve. No way. He finds himself facing another portal, wondering. So, am I just supposed to wait around here or what? Suddenly, a swift kick from behind sends him flying right into the portal inside. He spots a tiny creature and understands immediately. It's one of Palm's summons. How long were you waiting there, he stammers. You nearly gave me a heart attack, little guy. Then, a familiar sound echoes through the space, and Ayu freezes. An intense light erupts, followed by his desperate scream. Incredible. The small creature lets out a chirp, then dissolves into shimmering particles of light. How strange. Back in the main cave, Palm's command is absolute. Nobody move. He promises to end this swiftly, his blades poised around the pirates. The air is thick with tension. Shut your mouth. Palm Manu finally snaps. She furiously demands he explain himself, right now. Zoe lunges forward. Stopping Minu's attack at the last second, one of the pirates freezes, his face a mask of shock. Just then, Tğᴇ and his squad appear, cursing their timing. How in the world did they track us here, Minaru seethes. Minu insists Palm is still alive, demanding they pursue him. But Tğᴇ halts, a grim realization dawning. He'd seen this exact strategy at the 100-person portal. Tğᴇ explains the grim truth. Chiron had seen through their enemy's entire plan and sent them as reinforcements. Manu is floored by this revelation. So this was all Chiron's command. What a shocking turn of events. Meanwhile, Palm charges into the fray. He unleashes a sweeping attack with his staff, each sending a wave of pirates crashing to the ground.
With a furious roar, Tğᴇ's companion shouts at the pirates. What are you worthless grunts even doing?
He's just one man, he screams, unleashing a blinding volley of shots with deadly precision. He declares, "Target locked." A massive explosion erupts with devastating power. The blast rips through the area, stunning the pirates. Such incredible force. Watching from a distance, Palm sees the attack land perfectly, but he senses something is off. Did they figure out his true plan? They aren't alone here. A small projectile streaks toward him. He reacts in a flash, firing back with both weapons. Manu declares, "I never miss."
Palm accelerates, sprinting towards a newly formed portal. At the same time, Tğᴇ hurls a bomb at the pirates, screaming, "Get down!"
The device ignites mid-air, detonating before it even reaches its mark. A deafening blast echoes. The shockwave slams into Zoe, who screams Manu's name in terror. The impact brings the ceiling down. As the pirates seize the chaos to make their escape, amidst the settling dust and debris, Manu struggles to his feet, his breathing ragged. This battle is taking its toll. Suddenly, Palm materializes, blocking her weapon with his staff. Manu glares at him, demanding, "What is your problem? Just what are you trying to accomplish here?" Palm's gaze remains firm. Can you truly handle the truth, he asks.
Zoe grabs Tğᴇ by the collar, furious that Manu was hit. But as he tries to explain, another massive explosion rocks the very ground beneath them.
Not again. Staring into the swirling dust, Zoe screams, "Manu, are you all right?" A flash of steel. He's struck. A blade lands a direct hit, ripping Manu's weapon from his grasp. As he stumbles, Tğᴇ can only watch, frozen in disbelief. In the next instant, Tğᴇ is peppered with shots and thrown violently to the ground.
Sprawled on the ground, he can barely whisper. Why? Meanwhile, Minaru unleashes her fury on a fallen pirate.
She attacks relentlessly, lost in a blind rage. Zoe screams her name, horrified. "Minu, what is happening?"
Palm calmly approaches her. Your stubbornness cost me some mana, he states coolly. But the result is precisely what I predicted.
He then turns to a massive group that has just arrived. Minu spins towards Zoe, her voice urgent. "Take everyone and retreat now."
Those are direct orders from Chiron, she declares. There will be no arguments.
Elsewhere, near the second portal, Ibu hesitates. "I really don't want to go in there." He whines. "I should have just waited." Peering inside, he wonders, is this another cave? Are the others already inside? His eyes catch a figure in the distance. Wait, who is that? The mysterious figure begins to walk away, growing smaller. Ibu calls out desperately, "Wait up!" He hurries to catch up, explaining he got separated. "Hey, maybe we can go together," he suggests. Suddenly, he's slammed to the ground by an unseen attacker. Ibu scrambles back to his feet, glaring at the small creature. "You little pest," he snarls. "Keep that up and you'll be my next meal." But then he realizes that wasn't a monster. He freezes in terror as a colossal foot slams down right before him.
From the swirling dust, a towering, slender nightmare emerges. its presence utterly terrifying. Staring up at the horrifying creature, Ibu holds his breath. The atmosphere crackles with tension.
A subordinate warns Cheryl that something is terribly wrong. They know far too much about our artifacts. He insists. We can't trust them.
He brings up the monocle of penetration, an artifact that reveals the flow of mana itself. It can expose followers of the Dark Mage, but its power consumption is immense.
Cheryl listens, her expression thoughtful.
She points out that since Chorus's death, no one has been able to use it. Does he not know it requires attunement with the user's own element?
She muses. How could some kid cosplaying as a mage possibly wield an artifact of that level? Cheryl confesses she doesn't trust him either. But for now, she says, our objectives align. Even if this is all some elaborate trap. Her subordinate asks what their next move should be. Remember, I'm the one who lent him the item. He says, I'm asking you to trust my judgment.
She reasons that if the boy's mana reserves are too low, he'll burn out and die before the monocle even activates.
So, they agree on a course of action, wait and watch. From afar, the two observe, curious to see how Palm handles the tense crowd.
Palm turns to face Chiron, holding the monocle aloft. He makes a shocking declaration. Everyone here, except for those three, are enemy followers.
Nonsense, one of the accused roars in defiance. Where's your proof? As if our leader would believe a brat like you.
Palm's voice dripped with condescending calm. What if the only proof you need is the kind you can't see?
He revealed a chilling secret. The followers' tattoos are invisible. Until ignited by a surge of mana, they could be hidden anywhere. To the naked eye, there is nothing, a perfect, unbreakable mark of loyalty. But just because you can't see it, he whispered, doesn't mean it isn't there. With a deceptively gentle touch, Palm reached for one of the pirates. Your arrogance is quite something, he noted, his fingers pressing into the man's skin. Suddenly, the Dark Mage's symbol flared to life. No. It can't be, the other pirates gasped in horror. The man who demanded proof felt his world shatter. In a flash, the followers raised their weapons. The confrontation exploded into violence. Slaughter, every last one of them, a fanatic roared. And chaos erupted.
What in the blazes is happening? Yelled a pirate wielding a massive cannon. Panic took over. He unleashed a wild blast from his scatter cannon, starting the war. Manu, steel in her eyes, aimed her weapon, ready for the storm.
A follower took the full force of the blast and crumpled to the ground, lifeless.
Palm's voice was strained. I used too much mana tracking them. We're at a disadvantage. An enemy spotted a glimmer of hope. A second portal. We can escape through there.
Silence. Monero's voice cut through the noise like a blade. I'll handle them all myself. She then charged headfirst into the fray. Stay back if you value your life, a voice cried out, trying to halt her reckless advance. From the shadows, a new figure emerged. The hunt begins, he declared with a vicious grin. He struck a pirate down amidst the chaos, a predator in his element. What is this? Manu cried out, her senses twisting. The world dissolved around her. Trapped in a blinding illusion, despair began to set in. She thrashed wildly in the suffocating darkness, fighting for any way out. A chilling voice echoed from the void. I expected no less from you. But now, you better be ready for what comes next. Mainu's desperate shout cut through the dark. I'm blind, I can't see a thing. A follower aimed his weapon at her heart. You miss Eagle Eye so much, I'll send you straight to her. He pulled the trigger, firing a shot meant to kill. In a blur, Palm materialized before the bullet. Give her my regards, he said coolly to the shooter. With a flick of his wrist, he deflected the shot and whisked Monero away from death's door. Impossible how. The follower's composure shattered. As Palm steadied the pirate, the man screamed in disbelief. He's supposed to be blind. Shoot him, the follower commanded. Palm is too dangerous to be left alive. On command, every follower unleashed a storm of gunfire, but Palm simply raised one hand, and an impenetrable barrier of pure energy deflected every single shot.
He brandished his staff, a blur of motion. In a single heartbeat, several thugs fell. Let's see if this works. A pirate took aim with his cannon and fired. The blast struck Palm head on, but he didn't even flinch. How? What kind of power is this?
They're just fire arrows, the enemy scoffed. Everyone, get back, he roared, unleashing a volley of his own. His assault slammed into the enemy's projectiles, triggering a cataclysmic explosion that shook the very ground. In that moment, the pirate understood. He'd used the blast to redirect the fire arrows. The entire battlefield was his chessboard. Using the chaos as cover, Palm surged forward. His blade was a flash of light. The follower was cut down before he could even react, falling silently to the earth. His relentless assault continued. He moved like a phantom through the remaining enemies. Suddenly, the illusion shattered my sight. It's back, Monero declared. An enemy loomed before her, and she met the threat without hesitation. The follower revealed a pulsing orb of dark energy. Everything. For the dark mage. Across the field, other followers activated identical orbs. They hurled them in unison. The spheres detonated, unleashing a chain reaction of pure devastation. Monero was sent flying by the shockwave, tumbling helplessly through the air.
From within a protective barrier, a voice screamed. Pom-Pom staggered toward the portal. My mana is at its limit. I have to get through now.
He grabbed Manu and made a desperate dash for the exit. But an enemy lunged, aiming to cut them off. An attack slammed into the girl, throwing her violently aside. Monu. Her friend shrieked in terror. Palm spun around, his hand outstretched. But the minion charged forward, intercepting a dark orb hurtling their way. He threw the unstable orb directly at the portal. As it imploded, the gateway collapsed in a blinding flash of light. Manu pushed herself up from the rubble, gasping for air amidst the settling dust. The portal was gone. In its place, only a scar of raw destruction remained. The portal? It's gone. A pirate lamented in defeat. But another asked, wait, did the followers actually get Palm? Cheryl's voice cut through the despair. It's fine. The portal will regenerate close by. He then revealed their true mission. Our real target is Manu. With that, he shot towards her like an arrow. His fist flew forward with murderous intent. The pirate barely managed to block the devastating blow with her weapon. That won't work, his comrade declares, activating his own technique. Manu realizes the attack was useless. Had he been hiding this power all along? Sneering that she's weak, the man drives a fist straight for her. The sheer force blasts Manu backward, shattering her balance. She twists with the momentum, vaulting over his shoulders to aim her weapons down. Manu unloads a barrage of bullets into his back and legs, desperately trying to bring him down. The man staggers from the wounds, fighting just to stay standing. Manu presses the attack relentlessly, but a shot from the distance sends her reeling. Wounded, the pirate still turns and fires back at his attacker. His comrade mocks her from afar, calling them little rats. From behind, Manu strikes, plunging her weapon deep into his ribs. Then, she fires point blank at the man's head, ending him instantly. The other pirates can only watch from afar. They scream Pedro's name in horror. But Manu declares they have no time. Come on, all of you, at once. In another location, Debo stares at a massive gate. What is that? Kiri points out several smaller, secondary portals nearby. Ralph explains.
That they must be special gates linked to different parts of the second region. He's heard rumors of something like this.
He reveals that once a portal accepts a certain number of people, it seals itself, forcing everyone else to use the remaining gates. The group agrees to scout the area, planning to find Palm as soon as they can. One of the pirates spots a figure. Ibaru appears, sprinting towards them, shouting that the crew is here to save him. The group tries to stop him, screaming for him not to go that way. But through his monocle, Palm sees it all, and knows there's no hope. The creature charges without a hint of hesitation, attacking Ibaru. Ralph notices the monsters are wearing tattered clothes. Are they even human? He realizes this is no time to think. These things just won't die, and his ammo is nearly gone.
Palm admits he's never encountered monsters like these, a deep concern growing within him.
Through his unique vision, he sees them for what they are. Zombified husks with no vital points. Something entirely different from anything he's faced before. He scans the chaotic scene, desperately searching for a way out. That's when Palm spots them interconnected lines of mana.
He wonders just how far these lines of energy stretch, trying to calculate their reach.
He deduces there must be a source behind the wall where the lines converge, and focuses all his attention on that one spot. His ability activates, revealing Debo in the middle of a battle. Are they at the second portal? But his mana is draining fast. The pressure is crushing him. One of the pirates shakes him violently, trying to snap him out of his trance.
Palm, wake up, he screams, just as a giant creature charges forward. The monster swings a massive arm, and Ralph barely dodges the blow.
He screams Manu's name in desperation, a plea for help. The pirate unloads shot after shot into the creature's arm, trying to slow it down. Suddenly, a man named Kevin appears. With a sigh of relief, he asks, "Are you hurt?"
Get out of here if you want to live, Manu warns him, already preparing her next attack.
Kevin just turns to her and asks coolly, "What did you just say?" In response, Manu unleashes a massive explosion, blasting a hole straight through the rock wall. She stares into the new tunnel, taking a sharp breath, while Kevin staggers back to his feet. Kevin gets up, complaining that she nearly killed him, only to see even more enemies swarming toward them. "What now?" Manu asks. "I'm almost out of ammo." Kevin replies that he can use his skill one last time, if he pours all his mana into it. Just then, Palm arrives. "Wait, we need that skill," he yells. But Manu glares back, arguing they don't have a second to waste. "I don't need 5 minutes," Palm declares. "Just give me 3. The pirate looked on, intrigued by what he could possibly do in that time. "I'm going to clear this entire portal," Palm proclaims, and shoves several glowing orbs into his mouth. Meanwhile, at the other portal, a horde of zombies swarms Debo's group. One of the knights struggles against the tide, screaming. What is going on? He realizes that even when he cuts them down, they just keep coming. He's running out of breath. A creature attacks with savage fury, sending him flying. Without hesitation, Ralph charges in, smashing into a monster with his bare fists. He shouts at his comrade to stop complaining. If you have time for that, you have time to kill more of them. Kiri and Ibaru fight back-to-back against the endless horde. Ibaru screams, "Die, you monsters!" A zombie grabs Ibaru's arm, trying to drag him down. But he slams the creature into the ground with a devastating impact, dissolving it on the spot. Nice one, Kiri says. Ibaru just smirks, boasting, that was easy. Suddenly, the enormous stone wall before them begins to crack and crumble. The knight can only watch in awe. That was incredible. From the newly formed opening, a colossal creature emerges, revealing its terrifying form. So, what's the plan? Debo asked. Now that this little thing has awakened, Ibaru answered without a second thought, declaring, it just complimented me. The creature ignored them, launching itself at a zombie and diving headfirst into the chaotic battlefield. Mainu and the pirate unleashed a volley of fire, only to see an energy barrier shimmer into existence. Palm felt his heart hammering against his ribs. He was out of options. He had to push beyond his limits once more. He knew it was reckless to advance to the next circle. It could permanently stunt his growth, which left only one desperate path. Palm remembered his life before regression, how he always faced monsters that grew stronger while his own power fell behind. He decided to risk it all on the mana stones, the concentrated very essence of a monster's life. The theory was simple: consume the stone's core and convert it directly into raw mana. He believed it would instantly recover all his spent energy, leaving behind nothing but explosive waves of power. Palm forced a current of energy to flow with the blood in his veins, praying his body could withstand the violent shock. Manu kept blasting the giant's legs, desperately buying him time. A voice cut through the din of battle, praising the pirate's work as a figure emerged from the chaos. She turned to the pirate, her eyes sharp. What happened to Palm's hand? He simply told Monero to prepare her previous skill, a request that left her utterly baffled. Staring at Palm's terrifying transformation, she couldn't help but ask, what in the world is that? Kiri used the momentary distraction, charging forward to cut down one of the monsters. The giant creature slammed a knight to the ground, its tentacle whipping through the air. Debo looked down in horror at the mushrooms sprouting from his own arm, and the color drained from his face. He finally understood the horrifying secret of the zombie mushrooms. Realizing the true danger he was in, a desperate scream echoed across the field. Everyone, watch out for the tentacles. The giant creature continued its brutal assault, and the knight warned them. One touch will turn you into one of those zombie mushrooms. Debo knew this monster was the source of it all, and a wave of despair washed over him. Kiri's eyes widened in alarm as he noticed everyone's movements becoming sluggish and stiff. Ibaru realized with a grim certainty that if this continued, they would all be annihilated. Leave this to me, the knight declared, ordering everyone to fall back. He would take the risk himself. But Kiri yelled out, wait! Taking a deep breath, he told himself, I have to be the one to do this. The knight surged toward the whipping tentacles. Raising his blade, he became a whirlwind of steel, parrying every deadly strike that came his way. Kiri seized the opening, leaping over the knight to press the attack. Just focus on keeping the skill active, Palm told him. I'll handle the aiming. We need to destroy that wall, he declared, pointing toward their true target. We've only got one shot, the pirate said, adjusting the cannon's aim through the swarm of monsters. At Palm's command, she watched Manu ready the weapon. The crushing projectile rocketed toward the wall, guided by Palm's own energy. It spun at an impossible velocity, slicing through the air with every ounce of power they had. Pushing his skill to the absolute limit, Palm accelerated the projectile even further. His own energy engulfed the shot, brutally amplifying its power. It's still not enough, Palm screamed. We need more momentum. Monero, keep going. She unleashed a fire arrow attack, which merged with the projectile, making it burn with even greater power. I'm out of ammo, the pirate yelled as a creature lunged for him, forcing an urgent retreat. Monero, get out of the way, Cross roared, charging into the monster horde. Cross called out for the boy just as the giant creature struck him down, stealing the very breath from his lungs. Through his vision, Palm finally understood. Their ability to think rationally had been hijacked by the puppets of a coreless monster. The pieces were finally falling into place. He saw the monoline was leading somewhere else entirely and realized the immortal's true identity was not what they thought. It all made sense. The owner of the core was hidden somewhere else. That was their real enemy. And so, he made his choice. The combined shot slammed head-on into the giant creature, exploding with devastating force. Palm pointed toward the true enemy in the distance. There he is. The combined projectile changed course,
streaking through the air like a guided missile.
The knight looked up, awestruck by the sheer power of the attack, while Debo found himself completely swarmed by the remaining monsters.
Minoru and Palm stood back to back, facing the horde of creatures closing in from all sides.
One of the knights was overwhelmed, subdued, and torn to pieces by the creatures. A truly tragic end. "I finally did it," Yu yelled, celebrating amidst the chaos. Manu looked at the now visible portal and took a deep breath as Palm confirmed their path was clear. In that moment, Manu remembered her parents, the terrible people who abandoned her, and the crushing weight of that memory returned.
She knew Leah was the only one who had ever protected her, recalling the profound safety she felt with her sister.
Leah had always stepped in. Her sister became her hero. 10 years have passed since their master took them in, and the time has flown by in an instant. Leah, a genius recognized by Kern himself, spoke with firm conviction, but to Manu, it just felt like another lecture. The air crackled with unspoken tension, the distance between them growing with every heartbeat. Then, Leah playfully pinched her cheek. Shattering the silence, she pleaded with Manu to not be so serious, insisting that her unwavering consistency was her greatest strength. But the girl just grumbled. "Don't pinch me like that." A warm smile bloomed on Leah's face as she vowed to always be by her side, so Manu would never feel adrift. Back in the grim present, a knight asked if Kiri was unharmed. Debo immediately puffed out his chest, boasting that his healing magic had snatched her from death's door. The knight deadpanned in reply. "Oh, absolutely. It was all thanks to you." A shout from a pirate pierced the gloom, drawing everyone's attention. In the distance, a figure was bound to a colossal rock, and they approached with weapons drawn. Manu's blood ran cold. She knew that silhouette anywhere. It was Leah. Kiri questioned the meaning of the ropes, trying to make sense of the horrific scene. Debo guessed she might have tied herself up before turning into a zombie mushroom. In that moment, her master's words came rushing back to Manu. A chilling warning about the return of the Dark Mage's followers. Leah had warned her they had infiltrated the Nautilus and that she couldn't help her anymore. She had begged Monero to be on guard. Her final message was a heartbreaking farewell. Leah had discovered the traitors had planned everything meticulously, and that half the crew were secretly followers. She realized there was no one left to trust. This was probably her end. With a voice laced with bitterness, Monero cried out, her promise to her sister broken. As her anguish tore through the air, a portal ripped open on a beach littered with bodies. The Dark Mage's followers were waiting, wondering why the others were so late. The silence felt wrong. One of them reported that Tğᴇ had taken the night fragment, and Minu's group would soon fall under its spell. He tried to keep his composure, but then he watched a comrade fall to a sudden attack, and his world shattered. A storm of projectiles rained down upon them as the group screamed in terror. "It's an ambush." The leader recognized their assailant, his eyes wide with shock. "You're supposed to be at the conference." Karen simply aimed her weapon and asked, "How does it feel to be ambushed for the first time?" One of her men reported they had eliminated 46 enemies. "Hold your positions," she commanded, driving the point home. Abby's told the captain not to worry, revealing they had sent a certain man with the group for this very reason. Karen's gaze was fixed on the horizon as she whispered, "If Manu doesn't return, I won't be able to forgive myself." She walked along the shore when a pirate appeared, carrying a wounded Manu, who weakly called out her captain's name. A wave of relief and sorrow washed over Karen as she took a deep, steadying breath. The young woman gasped that she had managed to bring her sister back, before nearly collapsing. The captain understood, her voice remaining firm. "You did well." Karen welcomed the young pirate home, taking her into her arms. As dusk fell, countless boats gathered around the Nautilus. A knight was stunned by the numbers, and Kiri remarked that it was practically the entire crew. They had all assembled there to attend Eagle Eye's funeral. Minu watched the farewell ceremony for her sister, desperately trying to contain her emotions. The knight asked Kiri where the boss was, saying he was looking for him. Lanterns floated across the water, a glowing tribute to the fallen. Palm dropped a bottle beside a wooden box as the world swayed around him. He took a long drink from another bottle, questioning if that was supposed to be some kind of offering. Palm scoffed at the proposal, calling it a huge ask, but Chiron insisted it was absolutely necessary. The captain questioned his demand for mana potions, reminding him they were priceless after the recipe was lost. He crossed his arms and retorted that he knew, and that's precisely why he was asking. He justified his demand by saying it would be easy for her, given the Nautilus's immense financial power. Karen reminded him their deal was finished, but Palm extended his hand, saying they still had things to work on together. He proposed a new deal, demanding 2 items from her private stock instead of just 1 in exchange for his help. Palm's gaze was intense as he made a promise in return. He would find every last follower of the Dark Mage on the Nautilus. He sighed, lamenting that his second life wasn't getting any easier. The pirate approached Manu, asking why she was so lost in thought. She brushed him off, saying, "It's nothing. Leave me alone." But her ally Zoe suggested she should go with Palm, a proposal that clearly surprised her. He quickly said he didn't mean to eavesdrop, trying to smooth things over. Zoe continued, saying he knew Palm tried to recruit her, but she denied it. He reminded her that they only survived because of Palm, stressing that the very people who killed Leah were still hiding among them. He clenched his fist, his voice low but firm. I'm sure you want revenge, just like I do. And if you go with Palm, you'll be on the front lines fighting them. You can trust him. He promised to protect this place, reminding Manu of his strength. She could only whisper his name. Zoe! As she lowered her gaze, a small smile finally broke through her grief as she teased him about his bravado, while he grumbled that she'd ruined the moment. With Chiron watching over the Nautilus, they knew everything would be fine. The duo then began a new journey, traveling along a river that cut through the dense forest. In a deep silence, their small boat followed the current, pressing ever onward toward its final destination. A gargantuan golden gate loomed before them, yet their vessel glided through without pause. High above, armed sentinels watched their every move. Karen then lifted her staff towards the grand entrance, awakening a hidden mechanism within. With a monstrous groan, the massive gates parted, creating a path for the boat to pass. Palm's eyes widened in shock as he recognized this place. In an instant, the truth struck him. This was Chiron's legendary treasure hoard, and everything finally clicked into place. He desperately asked Karen to reveal the value of the items, his voice filled with anticipation. But the captain's answer was blunt. The choice was his alone. She reminded him that their promise was for only 2 items, a fact that left him deep in thought. Palm's gaze scanned the treasures. He quickly found the onyx dragon wand and the Dominator's pendant. His eyes then fell upon the angelic guardian ring of dawn, forcing him to weigh his options. A moment later, his expression hardened with resolve. He turned and set a new course. Karen watched the young man with curiosity as he moved towards a different part of the vault. He reached out his hand, declaring with absolute certainty, "This is what I'm looking for." A dark memory surfaced in Palm's mind. That final day, when a traitor massacred their comrades on the front lines, he relived the entire nightmare. The name Reek echoed in his thoughts. A traitor to humanity whose betrayal had scarred them all. He had infiltrated the association's highest ranks, only to betray them at the most critical moment, dealing a fatal blow. Palm remembered how many lives were lost to that monster, and a chilling thought crossed his mind. Is this where he got that power? He clenched his fist. This item would be his first choice. It was now his #1 priority. Karen noted his keen eye but questioned his decision. The item's elemental properties didn't align with his own. Palm shifted his focus back to the other treasures, continuing his search. Then, nestled among the coins, he saw a ring he had never seen before. He wondered, is this just an ordinary ring? It felt out of place here. Something common had no right to be in a hoard like this. He reached out to take it, but the very instant his fingers made contact, the unexpected occurred. What happened? Karen asked, trying to understand the sudden shift. Palm stared at his hand. What is this thing stuck on me? He explained that he'd merely tried to pick it up, but the ring had suddenly latched onto his finger. He could only stare at his hand in total confusion. The captain was utterly stunned, at a complete loss for words. My apologies, she finally managed, but that ring is not mine to give. She urged him to choose another item, but with a faint smile, Palm simply said, Got it. It's okay. Karen stared, bewildered, waiting for him to explain. Instead, he just showed her his hand with pure frustration. I can't get the ring off. Far away, Beiju reported that the goldish crisis was resolved, earning praise for a job well done. Aaron then inquired about Palm. It should be time, he declared. Beiju fell to his knees and apologized profusely. We have failed, he admitted, but he was cut off before he could say another word. Failed. Aaron's voice thundered with uncontrollable rage. How could you fail, even with the night fragment? His power erupted. A dark voice resonated through the chamber, a chilling warning that this was his final chance. If he failed again, his life would be the price. Back on the ship! Manu slung her pack over her shoulder, ready to depart. She burst from the room, her steps filled with purpose. The group hurried after her down the corridor. Let's move! Palm urged them onward. Ralph watched them depart on the boat, hoping they would grow stronger before their return. He then recalled a bet Debo had won, cursing that damn gambler under his breath. Already on the move, the knight asked Palm. Are we truly leaving? He simply confirmed their course. Just then, Minu rushed to the pier, shouting, Wait for me. The knight stared at the newcomer, questioning her sudden appearance. This was unexpected. He told her to wait, attempting to stop her, but Palm merely watched with an amused smile. Manu leaped aboard the boat. So, where do I sit? In another place. A man sprinted desperately down a dark hall. "Keep running," a companion yelled, as another on the floor screamed, "Go! Don't you dare look back." The group fled for their lives, knowing at this rate they would never escape. They saw a lever on a nearby wall. One of them saw a sliver of hope.
He broke into a desperate sprint toward the mechanism, shouting to the others, "I'll get it!" Gutrin grabbed the lever, roaring that he would not die in this place.
But before he could pull it, a blade pierced him from behind. His companion screamed his name as the man's sword clattered to the floor. His life faded. A stone wall slammed shut before them, sealing their only way out. As he collapsed, Gutrin's last words were an order. "You must escape." A knight on horseback emerged from the shadows. "You have to survive."
Back in the guild hall, Palm broke the silence. "I have returned." Abuse slammed his fist on the table. And what's with that confident look?
After all, he had returned with nothing to show for his efforts. Yet he seemed pleased with the outcome.
Palm tossed a stack of documents onto the table. "This may not be enough for now," he said, "but it will certainly broaden our stage." Palm reveals the next phase of his plan. Minhu, their target, had just become the perfect bait. Now, they would lure the followers into a deadly trap.
Abby's asks how long he must endure these deadly games, but Palm refuses to reveal all his cards just yet. Palm knew that if they fractured into civil war over Kanye's goals, they would never reach the followers' true masters. For that reason, his decision was absolute. He declares that they must hurry, stating their victory wouldn't take long. Across the room, Ralph's rage began to boil. Palm added new members without anyone's approval, and now Ralph's own wallet would have to pay for it. As the meeting grew tense, Kiri and Manu watched Ralph challenge Palm's command. Palm coolly places a glass on the table. He declares that if anyone has a complaint, they can settle it with their skills. His eyes lock onto Ralph. He states he's always open for a duel. Ralph flinches, his bravado instantly shattered by the challenge. He backs down from the offer. He storms out, slamming the door, complaining it was his money, and that Palm had betrayed his trust. Ralph demands to know where he's going. Palm simply replies that he has somewhere to be, and that training for the day is canceled.
From a hidden terrace, his guards observe the group members as they head out to completely different locations.
The followers sneer from the shadows, convinced the group acts like they have multiple lives. They question why their targets always wander off alone. Ralph storms down the street, his anger blinding him. Seeing their chance, the men decide to split up and follow.
Chiron questions if the item itself chose Palm as its new master. After all, the ring refused to budge from his finger. He realizes this is a terrible omen, recalling the ring's one true owner. Palm, however, accepts the situation without a hint of surprise.
Karen advises him, saying he'll need permission from the item's owner. As they step into a hidden chamber, Cheryl greets them, confirming she is alive and well. Palm immediately asks if she is the ring's owner. He holds up his hand, showing her the unremovable artifact, and asks if she minds. The woman stares at the item in utter disbelief, instantly recognizing the legendary artifact on his finger. She turns to her companion, panic flashing in her eyes. She insists she can't give him the ring, because its true owner isn't here. But then Palm's voice cuts through her fear, telling her to bring the owner to him for an explanation. He declares the situation is perfect, leaving her even more confused. And so, Cheryl makes a desperate request regarding the ring's owner. She tries to make her needs perfectly clear. She asks him to save Fur, the hero tracker. And with that, Cheryl reveals the depth of her fear. In its final days, humanity was pushed against the wall. Facing down terrifying monsters, 6 heroes rose to fight, returning once more to the battlefield. Among them was Evan, the successor to the great hero Freed, and Luminous, the adversary of fate itself. Joining them was Frey, the phantom thief, and the queen of the elves, Mercedes, taking her position. Rounding out the legends were Aaron, the halberd heroine, and Shade, the forgotten mystic hero, solidifying their presence. This was the return of the 6 heroes. One of them unleashes a devastating attack, charging forward with world-shaking force. It smashes into the creature head-on, as raw energy tears through the battlefield. The people witnessed their power, rendered completely speechless. Seeing the overwhelming might the heroes possessed, they finally grasped its true magnitude, and realizing the heroes were capable of creating miracles, they rekindled the dying flame of faith. They hoped these legends would save the world again. They nurtured that precious hope. But no one knew their power was tragically incomplete. 800 years ago, the heroes lost their sacred items within temporal rifts, and somehow, those items had reappeared in the modern world's portals. With no time to recover their true power, the Alliance's last attempt had failed. But this time, things had to change. The heroes needed to be armed with a formidable shield, and they depended on it to prevent the followers from ever reaching them. In the meantime, Palm's group would serve as the perfect bait to draw the followers out of the shadows. The plan required uniting every faction of the Maple World. This powerful alliance was their only hope. Their one chance to finally change history. The knight admires the landscape, commenting on the incredible view. Before a vast canyon, the group surveys the scenery. Palm states this must be the location, and points out the exact spot. He hands strange-looking papers to the group, instructing them to place the talismans on their bodies, leaving the knight completely confused. Obeying the order, the knight places the paper on his chest. It suddenly erupts with an immense energy that expands outward, making him question, what the hell is that? The energy floods across the ground, forming a massive, glowing circle. Out of thin air, a portal emerges, taking shape in the circle's center. Manu is stunned, realizing they'd never find the portal without this magic.
Palm's mind flashes back to Fur, the hero tracker, the one who discovered how to locate these lost items. In that instant, all the pieces clicked into place.
He finally understood. Palm glances at the ring on his hand, wondering in silence. Could this truly be a hero's item? The group readies themselves, watching as Palm steps forward. He declares, "We're going in. We're going to save him." Hovering in the void, an immense structure dominates the space. Debo shows off proudly, announcing they cleared the first portal in a record-breaking 5 hours. He brags about how the firebores were pathetically easy. Then Kiri tells him to wipe the ash-covered soot from his face. Manu stared, shocked by Debo's power. But Debo just scoffed, declaring himself a genius who would soon reach the 4th circle. Ralph simply watched his fiery enthusiasm with a knowing look. The young man then turned to him, asking if he was afraid.
Palm advised him to slow down, warning that leveling up too quickly isn't always a blessing.
He explained that such reckless growth could overload his body and stop his evolution cold. But Debo snapped back. "Then why did you jump 2 circles at once?"
Palm calmly replied that back then. He had no other choice. Manu watched, intrigued by how easily Palm discussed such incredible feats.
Palm remembered his life before regression, where constant danger had actually crippled his true potential. But now, he thought to himself, it was different. Armed with knowledge of the future, he would only grow when the time was right on his path to the legendary 8th circle. Kiri's voice trembled with worry. Had they rushed too far ahead, she feared they had lost the person they were tracking. But Palm reassured her instantly, guaranteeing their target hadn't escaped his sight. The device in his eye flared to life, detecting thousands of presences. "We've got company," he warned. Before they could process it, Debo barely had time to react. His eyes went wide with pure, unadulterated shock at the horror unfolding before him. A tidal wave of skeletons, radiating a deathly aura, swarmed towards them. "What are those things?" he screamed in terror. "There are too many?" "Everyone, fall back." Manu charged forward, realizing instantly that bullets were completely useless against these undead. Kiri despaired, her voice shaking. "Is this the only kind of monster we'll face from now on?" Ralph declared they had no choice but to fight. Suddenly, an unknown voice roared, "Everyone, hit the deck!" Debo was already being swallowed by the advancing horde. The skeletons attacked with a relentless fury, their swords and shields pressing in without a shred of mercy. In a flash, a powerful force flung the creatures aside. Across, Hunter emerged from the chaos, her iconic mantle of penetration announcing her arrival. Debo gasped in relief at the sight of their savior. But the newcomer, Fur, suddenly cried out with urgency. "Food! I need food!" he begged desperately, before collapsing to the ground, leaving Palm and Debo utterly bewildered.
Fur explained that while trapped, he had memorized the patterns of every skeleton and ancient device in the area. He boasted about his masterful infiltration skills, trying to regain some dignity. As Manu held up a protective barrier, Fur confessed the real problem: he hadn't eaten in 5 days. "I nearly starved to death in this wretched place," he lamented. But Palm cut him off. "I need to ask you a favor." Seeing him stuffing his face like a wild animal, Palm sighed and simply told him to finish his meal first. Monero offered a slight smile, commenting that this was a relief. "Now that we've found the exit portal," she said casually, "we don't even need to defeat the boss." But Fur interrupted her, his tone suddenly serious. "I still have a favor to ask of you all." He bowed deeply, his voice filled with desperation. "Please, become my bodyguards for 3 days." He revealed there was an item he had to find, or his friend's sacrifice would have been for nothing. "I'm not a fighter," he admitted, his pride wounded. "Exploring this place alone is beyond my abilities." So he pleaded for their help one last time, guaranteeing he could track down the item in 3 days and reward them handsomely. Palm was skeptical. "You couldn't find it in a month. So how can you find it in 3 days? We don't have that kind of time to waste." But the hunter insisted he hadn't dared to search the most dangerous zones yet, and he had a strong feeling about where the item was hidden. Far away, a white-haired man watched from the shadows. A smirk played on his lips. "I wonder if the great hero will fail to escape his fate this time."
No sooner had he spoken than a chilling voice answered from behind him. Are you so certain of that? He spun around, searching for the source of the voice. A horrifying, multi-eyed creature expressed its disappointment. Evoke, you can't even eliminate one tiny insect. He dropped to his knees as a small spider-like being spoke. How much longer do you intend to embarrass our cause? He knew there were no excuses. He could only accept his punishment. Insisting his grand plans were already in motion, his only choice was to beg the spider lady for one more chance. She accepted his plea, her voice like ice. Fine, but you will take full responsibility for what comes next. Meanwhile, back in the thick of battle, Tğ annihilated a swarm of skeletons, a grin spreading across his face. This is incredible. As the group advanced, he commented that with the path now clear, their journey would be much easier. He spoke too soon. Just ahead, they encountered a strange device. If one gate opens, another one closes. Palm noted, we must find that item before we're discovered. He then looked toward an imposing statue of a knight, revealing a shocking truth. That statue was the very item the great hero, Fur, had been searching for. Tğ looked around, confused. Are we sure this is the right place? I don't see anything valuable here.
Palm stepped forward, his eyes scanning the chamber. This place. It's different from what I remember. We'll have to look harder.
Manu stared, wondering what kind of madman could have built this. Tğ, meanwhile, nervously eyed the statue, half expecting it to just get up and walk. Suddenly, Kiri's voice cut through the silence, urging them to gather around. She gestured to a stone slab, its inscription unreadable but radiating a powerful, ancient aura. Fur stepped forward, his eyes tracing the ancient script. It's a riddle, he announced. The key to finding what we seek. The text spoke of musicians, an actor concealed behind a curtain, and a single, clear command, follow the light. Just then, Manu spotted a massive door covered in strange glyphs, questioning its significance. Tğ's eyes scanned the chamber. They're not just on the door, he called out. These markings are everywhere. Fur's mind raced. These symbols, they're not just decoration. They're the answer to the riddle. Each one has a meaning. He recalled the phrase, follow the light. And suddenly, all the pieces clicked into place. A look of pure understanding dawned on his face. Trusting the clue, Tğ placed his hand upon the sun symbol. The door groaned open, and he smirked. Well, that was almost too easy. But his words were swallowed by a ferocious torrent of flame. Kiri's terrified scream echoed through the chamber as the inferno engulfed him completely. He stood frozen, a blackened silhouette against the fire's glow. A complete disaster. But from the sidelines, Ralph just laughed. Regret washed over Fur. The sun was the wrong answer. But then, another piece of the puzzle fell into place. His focus sharpened. Behind the dark and deep curtain, the words echoed in his mind. Of course the answer is the moon, he declared, pointing with newfound certainty. It all makes sense now. Sounds good to me, Ralph chimed in. But as he spoke, another trap sprang to life. A massive stone slammed directly into him. With 2 members down, Fur could only apologize. I'll get it right this time, I swear. A heavy, tense silence fell over the wounded party. Kiri stated the obvious, her voice trembling slightly. Every time we choose the wrong symbol, another trap goes off. We get that, Tğ grunted, but we still have no idea how to solve this stupid riddle. Their eyes fell on the remaining doors, wondering what the lightning bolt and the strange X symbol could possibly mean. Tğ urged Fur to just pick one, but the hunter hesitated. The fear of another failure and another brutal trap paralyzed him. Palm stepped in, offering a new perspective. Perhaps we're looking at the symbols the wrong way. We need to solve the riddle first. Fur's logic wasn't entirely wrong. He began. Behind the dark curtain is the night sky, and the musicians could be crickets. Palm continued his theory. The part about them despising us could be the moon and stars. Since we were told to follow the light, in that moment, the entire riddle unraveled in Fur's mind. The answer is the stars, he exclaimed. Unlike the moon, the stars are constant, a guiding light that's always there. His conclusion reached, and the correct symbol now clear in his mind, he moved without hesitation. Fur strode to the door and placed his hand on the X-shaped symbol. And in that moment, Manu saw it too. It wasn't an X at all. It was a star. Holding his breath, Fur prepared to push, praying this was the right choice. The heavy stone groaned, slowly grinding open. A wave of relief washed over Fur as he peered into the dark passage. We were right. He turned back with a smile. This way, everyone. Let's go. But a chilling voice from the darkness asked, Are you so sure? Before they could react. A figure lunged. A man named Shade emerged, a cold smirk on his face. We'll take it from here. He shot forward like an arrow, aiming directly for Palm. Caught by surprise, Palm barely managed to raise his staff, blocking the blow at the last possible second and holding his ground. Enraged, he counterattacked with a powerful swing of his staff, snarling, "You rats!" He lunged forward, yelling, "Gotcha!" But his opponent vanished into thin air, leaving Palm stunned by the incredible skill. The new foe reappeared instantly. Palm recognized him, Beiju. His mind raced, desperately trying to understand their plan. As Debo and Kiri watched more enemies close in, Debo gritted his teeth. Who the hell are these guys? In a matter of seconds, their party found itself completely surrounded. One of the newcomers hesitated, asking, "What are our orders?" A woman's sharp voice cut him off. "We shouldn't have waited. We need the hero's item to atone for our past failures." She smiled coldly. "Either way, this will all work out." Fur was in disbelief. How did they find us? Palm was just as shocked. "I don't know. I was certain we couldn't be tracked." Then, a familiar voice spoke from behind them. "You all seem so curious." The voice sneered. "Why don't you ask someone else just then?" A shadow fell over Palm from above. He was slammed into the ground with bone-crushing force. Debo whipped around in utter shock, his eyes landing on Ralph. "What the hell are you doing?" Ralph just smiled, holding up a blood-stained object. "Simple," he said. "I'm making money." The scene shifts, and the lights of a lone house pierce the darkness.
We're pulled into a flashback. A much happier Ralph grins, calling out to his beauties.
He throws open a chest overflowing with gold. "This," he declares, "is what I live for. It's all that matters." But a violent pounding on the door suddenly shatters the moment. Ralph turns, annoyed. Who could possibly be here at this hour? He swings the door open to find two shadowy figures. "Why aren't you at your posts?" he demands. But one of them cuts him off. "Watch your tone, Ralph. Someone wants a word with you."
Ralph's glare is filled with tension.
Seeing the gravity of the situation, he scoffs, asking who they think they are to command him. But a voice from outside announces their personal arrival, and Ralph's eyes widen in utter shock. It's Beiju.
From the legendary Tğᴇ Merchant Union, here to have a decisive conversation, back in the...
Present? Kiri's eyes burn with contempt for the traitor. She doesn't hold back, calling him a piece of trash. Debo cuts straight to the heart of the matter, asking if he sold them out for a few measly coins. But Ralph just scoffs, revealing that even the guards were offered a staggering 3 times their salary. This man's betrayal is absolute. He then turns to Palm, who's struggling to his feet, and asks what price was put on his head. Bleeding and broken, Palm reveals the devastating truth: the bounty is 100 million misos. Ralph explodes into hysterical laughter. I mean, who in their right mind could refuse an offer like that? It's an astronomical sum. But a shot suddenly rings out from behind. The masked figures declare the time for talk is over, and one gives the chilling order. Get them all! In an instant, the battlefield erupts into chaos. Kiri's swords clash with her opponent, who sneers and tells her to step aside. The knight retorts, "You really think this will go according to your plan?" "I know it will," he replies, parrying her attack with insulting ease.
Kiri's opponent notes that while she dual wields, her right arm always delivers the power strikes. He explains that once an enemy's patterns are known, dodging becomes simple.
At the same time, Debo is completely overwhelmed. His defense is crumbling as he faces multiple assassins at once.
Kiri's foe declares they know their every move. Just accept it. You will die here.
Minu fires at the assassins, but Beiju deflects the bolt effortlessly. He praises her, remarking it's just what he'd expect from Chiron's disciple. Manu fires again, but the shot is stopped dead in midair. In a flash, a chain coils around her neck as Beiju warns her she's chosen the wrong opponent, a lesson she's about to learn the hard way. But suddenly, a figure named Phantom strikes from the shadows, forcing Beiju to release her Phantom, then roars at Ralph to finish his job. The traitor complains that fighting Palm isn't as easy as it should be, despite him being theoretically weaker. Suddenly, a blade sinks into Fur's back in a cowardly blow. Debo and Kiri scream his name as they battle furiously against their own foes. But one of the masked enemies pauses, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He realizes the item Fur was carrying was a fake. It shatters, revealing a paper with mysterious symbols.
Across the chamber, Fur stands with a defiant smirk. "You idiots," he says, pressing another symbol on the wall. "I think I know what this does."
The wall panel cracks, and with a deafening roar, the entire room's ancient gears grind to life. One of the assassins feels a sudden dread, and his instincts are dead on. The floor beneath them gives way. The enemies are pulled screaming into a swirling vortex with no hope of escape. Beiju's followers plummet into the chasm that has ripped open the floor. For them, the game is over. As they fall, Kiri screams for Debo, reaching out desperately until her hand finally clasps Manu's. A single glimmer of hope. But Ralph seizes the chaotic moment, attacking Debo from behind to seal his ultimate betrayal.
Debo roars for the girls to hold on as he slams his axe into the wall, a desperate anchor against the fall.
Kiri clings to his leg, his body straining against the immense weight. The tension is about to snap.
Kiri pushes Manu forward, yelling for her to go on and save herself. Manu uses the momentum, swinging desperately towards the safety of the platform.
They both collapse onto solid ground, exhausted but alive. But the passage is already closing, leaving Debo behind to his fate. The gears of the massive mechanism turn relentlessly, and the ceiling slams shut, sealing him away forever. Debo realizes this place is a labyrinth, and Kiri knows it must connect to the other regions. She remembers the cliff entrances, deducing that a path must lead back to the previous area. Manu hopes they can find Palm, but Debo knows they're far more likely to run into their enemies. Just then, a heavy iron gate crashes down from above, trapping the trio in the corridor.
Seeing them cornered, Debo mutters. Are we screwed? Kiri rushes to the bars and blames him, but he screams a chilling warning.
The walls are closing and Kiri unleashes her solar strike against the bars, but the attack does nothing. Debo smashes his fist against the gate and feels a strange protective energy. Monero's voice cuts through the panic. Get out of my way. She takes aim and unleashes a crushing projectile. The blast hits the gate dead center, erupting in a shattering explosion.
Manu thinks she's triumphed, but her victory is short-lived as the structure stands without a single scratch.
Pinned against the wall, she screams. The gap is closing too fast. The desperate situation fuels Kiri's own frustration. In a stunning display of brutal strength, Debo shoves himself between the walls, forcing their advance to a halt. Kiri screams his name as he pours every last ounce of his might into holding back the crushing pressure. He roars that they won't die like this, refusing to yield. Manu desperately begs Kiri for a plan, but the knight has no answer. Then, a calm voice cuts through the chaos. This isn't working. Debo reminds Kiri that since she once tried to end his life, he has to save hers now. He hates owing anyone a favor. He turns to her and asks, "Can you save me one more time?"
Kiri stares back in disbelief, yelling, "Are you crazy? How can you joke at a time like this?"
Taking charge, she roars for everyone to hang on. Kiri explains the walls are powered by a magic-fueled machine, and she's going to find and destroy it. She sprints down the corridor, yelling over her shoulder, "Don't you even think about dying before you pay me back." The knight scales the wall, using the tiny crevices as footholds to ascend with breathtaking speed. Elsewhere, Palm unleashes his summoning skills, grumbling that his enemies are nothing more than mindless killing machines. Hitting a dead end, sheer panic takes over. Fur can only wonder what kind of hell this place truly is. He's ambushed by a follower and pathetically begs for mercy. Palm forces himself to push on, fighting back against the relentless horde. Ralph's voice echoes, "I warned you not to let your guard down." Beju moves in for the kill, declaring, "It's all over for you now." There's no point in running. Palm hurls a projectile at a pillar. The resulting impact creates a gigantic, devastating explosion. Ralph pins down a follower while Beju screams that she can die, but not before settling her debts with him.
Fur casts a protective spell, barely blocking a follower's lethal attack.
He readies a shuriken blast to counter, but an ally grabs him from behind, ruining his aim. The blast fires off, heading straight for Palm.
Palm saves the kid, but screams that his neck is killing him from the strain. He then unceremoniously tosses the child to the ground. Utterly exhausted, he watches more followers close in for the final assault. He turns, smashing one of the enemies with his flaming staff. Palm continues his desperate fight, tearing through his opponents one by one. Leaning on his staff, he stands alone, surrounded by the bodies of his fallen foes. A masked follower glares at him and says, "You're a monster." Meanwhile, Kiri bursts into a chamber and stops before a beam of pure energy, wondering if she's finally found what she was looking for. Her eyes lock onto the pulsing device at the center of the room. Kiri realizes this must be the mana source powering the entire structure. She concludes that if she can destroy this incredible concentration of mana, she can save Debo and Manu. But then, a voice calls her interesting, and her true opponent appears from the shadows. The adversary strikes with a devastating slash. Kiri is gravely wounded, falling to her knees from the sheer force of the blow. The opponent gloats over her good fortune, saying, "I can kill the other two just by finishing you." Kiri screams in agony. Of all of them, she has always been the weakest.
Even with Kiri wounded, the adversary mocks her, commanding, "Get out of my way, you follower." But the woman shoots back defiantly, "I can't do that, and I have a name too." The adversary invites her to chat a bit, but Kiri is already powering up her rising sun technique and fires back.
"Bring it on. I'm a little busy right now." Her opponent calls her stubborn and unleashes a torrential rain of blades to end her life.
Kiri desperately defends herself from the attack, but realizes that some of the swords are mere illusions. She takes a direct hit, cursing her inability to tell the real blades from the fakes. She dodges, only to be surprised by a new attack from behind. She realizes her foe is changing the blade's trajectory, as if with telekinesis, and is stunned by the impossible assault heading her way. The adversary launches another projectile at the knight, but Kiri finally sees the truth. It isn't telekinesis at all. It's actually invisible threads, controlling every single weapon. With newfound understanding, she reaches out and grabs one of the threads with her bare hand. In that moment, Kiri knows she can turn the swords back on her enemy, but the adversary simply taunts her. Did you think I'd just wait for you?
Kiri uses her sword drawing art, unleashing the 100 Death Slash. Her opponent counters with a technique called Beautiful Sadness, and the attack lands dead on.
The adversary scoffs. I knew you weren't that strong. She invites Kiri to run away and save herself. Or is your ego too big to simply bail with newfound resolve? Kiri introduces herself, revealing her full name, Kiri Fraudum. Her opponent sneers. From such a prestigious house. What a complete waste. But Kiri's voice cuts back. You don't know the first thing about me. The adversary just laughs. Now, don't get angry. That beautiful face will get wrinkles. She leans in, her words dripping with poison. Did you know, Kiri? In the world of Maple, opportunities aren't for the unfortunate. The woman continues her cruel lecture. Isn't it so unfair to be blessed with everything, just because of your bloodline? And then, the final blow. And the worst part is, you have absolutely no talent. A memory flashes. A young Kiri on the ground. As another girl commands, don't ever show your face here again. In another painful memory, Crossley's voice echoes. She's only here because of her family's name. Back in the present, the enemy says Kiri's team is filled with geniuses, with one glaring exception.
She lists off Kiri's failings. She lacks Ralph's experience, Manu's combat instincts, and especially Debo and Palm's raw talent.
But the knight interrupts her with a single, sharp question. So what? The sudden defiance leaves her enemy speechless. Kiri rises to her feet, her gaze firm. I may be weak, she admits, but that doesn't make you strong. She raises her sword, her voice ringing with resolve. I have no time to waste on you. Her opponent scoffs. Calling her stubborn, Miss Trash needs to learn her place. The blades, controlled by invisible threads, surge towards Kiri once more. But Kiri is ready, taking her moonset stance and unleashing the lunar divide. The chilling strike freezes and shatters the threads to dust. Her adversary watches in pure despair as her ultimate technique is broken. Her foe resorts to cowardly tricks, but Kiri charges forward, her blade a blur of motion, the 100 Death Slash. In a flashback, a man's voice asks a young Kiri, do you truly desire this path? He tells her a harsh truth. The Order of Knights only accepted you because of your family's influence. The knight's words were absolute. There are walls in this world that you can never hope to climb. But Kiri's resolve hardens. I will not be bound by their standards.
Her brother's words echo in her mind. When you finally understand my words, you'll become stronger than anyone in the world. Back in the fight,
the enemy is stunned by Kiri's sudden evolution. She asks herself how Kiri can possibly keep up with her speed as their blades clash. The opponent unleashes her most devastating slash. But Kiri evades the fatal blow at the very last second. The true power sleeping within Kiri finally awakens, revealing itself as a vast, starry universe. She prepares to use the legendary Soliner time technique. An immense sphere of energy forms before her. As she absorbs the power of the world around her, her very appearance begins to change. Kiri brings her sword down in a powerful vertical slash. The impact is absolute, shattering the enemy's mana source into 1,000,000 pieces. At last, she understands her master's words. She was the only one holding herself back. But she fears it might already be too late. Even so, she chooses to believe in her friends. And finally, in herself, elsewhere, a follower screams an order. Find those damn rats who got away.
Fur sat beside a wounded Palm, wondering how much longer his diversion could possibly buy them.
He asks his friend if he's truly okay, but their pursuers have found them, yelling, catch those bastards. They can't keep running. But in a flash of light, Palm intercepts an attack with his blazing staff. The enemy mocks Fur, sneering that he was useless in a real fight. Furious, Fur charges forward, yelling, don't you dare underestimate me. He presses the attack again and again, screaming, please, don't underestimate me. Meanwhile, Palm prepares to unleash another spell, holding his staff and a glowing orb of power. He stares down Beiju, his gaze cold and certain, as Fur shouts her name, creating a diversion. Palm catches her with an attack she never saw coming.
Palm then unleashes a massive explosion, leaving Beiju completely stunned by the sheer raw power.
She wonders if he simply vanished. But Ralph suddenly appears, saying they were wasting time on Small Fry and that everything was under control. But Beiju reveals her trap with a smirk. I've already got my hooks in him. Fur rushes to support the gravely injured Palm, asking if he's all right. Farah cries out in despair at the sight of the dark blood, screaming in horror. Is this poison? As they flee, Ralph calmly informs Beiju it would take 40 minutes at most, and Palm wouldn't survive much longer than that. Bijou explains her curse. A lethal poison that eliminates its target through immense and inescapable pain. Ralph declares he won't make it much further, ordering his men to split up and find him, whatever it takes.
Collapsed against a wall, Palm laments his fate, saying he never should have asked for their help. Feeling the crushing weight of his decision,
Fur sincerely apologizes for what happened. But Palm reassures him, "It's not your fault. If I couldn't overcome this, I was destined to die sooner or later anyway."
he reveals the secret of Beijou's dagger. It had a teleportation
ability. This wasn't just some random cowardly trick.
Palm says he will handle Beijou himself, telling Fur to go after what he was looking for. He points to a mechanism on the wall, revealing that it opened the ceiling.
The plan clicks into place for Fur. He realizes that solving the enigma would activate the device with mana. He vowed to resolve it immediately, but Palm handed him an item, telling him to take his time. There was no rush. Palm's ocular device then flared to life, as he declared he had his own important business to attend to. Ralph's command then echoed through the ranks. "No one is to lift a finger until I find him. He's mine, and mine alone, to kill." But a defiant voice cut through the tension. "And why should I follow your orders?" Rage flared in Ralph's eyes as he screamed back. "Take any complaints you have straight to your leader." In that instant, a massive explosion erupted, catching Ralph completely off guard. A searing fire attack slammed into him head-on as he cried out, "No way!
I can't even tell where the strike is coming from." He then realized the horrifying truth. The attack was guided by an aura of pure penetration, leaving everyone utterly defenseless. Another brutal blast slammed into him, forcing a desperate dive for cover. Once the dust settled, the area was a graveyard of charred bodies and flickering flames. Palm's voice cut through the silence. "It's over." Just then, Fur announced he had finally cracked the enigma, and mana was now surging through the device.
But when he turned, his triumph turned to ash. He found Palm passed out on the ground and desperately screamed for him to wake up. Suddenly, the mana source shattered into a million pieces. Fur, realizing the flow had been severed, wondered what in the world was happening. And then, from the shadows, Ralph appeared directly behind him.
A sinister smile spread across his face as he whispered, "I finally found you. Elsewhere." A wall exploded into rubble, and Debo demanded to know if Kiri and Monero heard the noise.
In the next moment, a massive wave surged down the corridor. Kiri screamed, "What is that thing?" The current slammed into them head-on, giving Debo no time to even process the catastrophe. The sheer force of the water dragged them away, pulling them completely under. Elsewhere, Beiju was complaining about the noise, until a voice pressed him. "Where's Ralph?" Beiju saw the passage rapidly filling with water and muttered in disbelief. He was dead wrong. He had been so certain the person before him couldn't possibly escape this place. But that's when Ralph emerged from the chaos, carrying 2 followers on his shoulders. He declared, "I suffered a great deal because of this whole scheme." Beiju immediately demanded to know about the crew he sold out. Ralph's reply was cold. They all died fighting their own battles. With the job done, Ralph demanded his payment for Palm. Beiju confirmed the boy was still alive, but taunted him point blank.
"What if I had simply killed him? And pretended our deal never happened?"
She tossed him a bag of money, saying his ruthless attitude was precisely why he was trustworthy. She confirmed the 100,000 mayos were all there. She told her accomplice to grab the prize, remarking that it was a good deal. And just like that, with a flash of steel, she disposed of them right then and there. Beiju stood over the fallen body, calling it a pathetic end for anyone who dared to cross Kanya, then added, "It's all for the Black Mage." But Beiju immediately corrected herself. "No, it's all for my master, Lord of Oak." She struck the body on the ground, screaming in triumph. It's finally done. But her celebration died in her throat. The body on the ground was one of the followers, not Palm. Suddenly, Ralph's voice boomed from behind her. "Surprise, you bastard!" Beiju shrieked, blasting him away in an instant, a wave of regret washing over her forever trusting a man like him. She realized Ralph still had Palm and screamed, "Why toy with us?" just then. A projectile came flying in. A new voice called out, thanking Beiju for crawling all this way and saving them some work. As Fur watched the explosion, his heart stopped. "Is Palm okay?" Ralph's voice was calm. "Take it easy." "All right." He turned his back to the blast, shielding Palm in his arms. Beiju muttered that this was far tougher than she expected, while Palm immediately laid into Ralph, believing he was a man who would do anything for money.
Ralph calmly explained his choice, stating that if their side had won, all the cash he had just earned would have become completely worthless.
Ralph then declared that siding with Palm was his plan, from the very beginning. He revealed that Palm knew Kanya would bring out her assassins, and that the outcome of this battle had already been decided. Beiju asked if injuring Palm in the first attack was just an accident, but another voice cut in. "What do you mean by hurt?"
Palm stood up, declaring himself Maple's top healer. "That earlier attack," he explained, was merely a treatment. He added that if it had been a real attack, he would have died instantly.
So, he said with a chilling finality, we'll just cut the explanation short right there.
Ralph grinned, thanking them for the easy 100 million, then declared that Beiju was now all alone. She promised he would regret this decision as she charged forward to attack.
Meanwhile, a hand reached through the dark water for Kiri, who floated completely unconscious. The instant the hand touched her, her eyes snapped open. Kiri broke the surface, coughing up water in front of a massive suit of armor as Debo cried out, "You're alive!" Monero also surfaced, questioning what had just happened. Debo's eyes locked onto Kiri, and he concluded that whatever was going on, the situation was looking incredibly dire. Water was now gushing from every single passage, and Kiri realized with dawning horror that the entire place would be flooded in less than 30 minutes. She reveals their only way out is the ceiling, but the mechanism to open it has already been shattered. Manu spots something in the water just before a wave shoves her aside. Debo whips around at the sound, his eyes going wide with shock. The colossal suit of armor stirred. Moving without a master, his gaze snapped upward as an ominous light began to flicker overhead. Enemies materialized from the shadows, surrounding Beiju in an instant. But he didn't even flinch. To him, this was nothing more than a coward's clone technique, a cheap and dirty parlor trick. But Beiju is sharp and quickly sees that most are just fakes made of magic. He gets the picture. The real one is hiding among them. Fur is pushing his limits, warning that he can't keep this technique going on forever. But Beiju is already defending against a surprise attack that came from nowhere. Then, multiple projectiles slam into him dead on, exploding with brutal force. Fur screams, "They got us enraged!" Evan grabs Beiju from behind and immediately roars, "What in the world were you thinking?" Palm appears, a taunting smirk on his face. "You'll never guess what we just pulled off." At that exact moment, Ralph lands a devastating blow on Beiju. Stunned by the hit, Beiju tries to fight back instantly, yelling, "There's no way I'm letting this happen." But Ralph holds him tight as a powerful energy envelops them both. Sealing the confrontation, Beiju glares at his opponents, his eyes burning with pure hatred as he curses them out. "You damn pieces of trash." He decides Fur will be the first to feel his wrath and attacks mercilessly, landing a direct, brutal hit. Gasping for air, Fur can barely speak. These guys are a bunch of monsters. Ralph lunges toward one clone, while Beiju fends off another that's right on his heels. Suddenly, a devastating attack known as Dark Flash is unleashed, blasting Ralph and one of the clones backward with overwhelming power. Wounded, Beiju struggles to his feet and vows, "I am going to kill every last one of you, no matter what." But from out of nowhere, an immense torrent of water crashes down on Beiju, sweeping him away in the furious current. As Ralph clings to a pillar, he murmurs, "Looks like the time has come." Beiju emerges from the shadows and attacks Ralph from behind, gravely wounded. Ralph tumbles forward as his opponent stands victorious. Right behind him, Beiju then swears, her voice filled with venom, "I am going to kill all of you, with great difficulty." Ralph turns to face her. Pierced by the blow, Ralph screams in pure agony. Why does it hurt so much? Palm and Fur can only watch the scene in shock, desperately screaming their fallen comrade's name. Beiju spots the kid holding the staff and screams his name, Palm. But Ralph understands her plan and immediately makes his move. He smashes his fist directly into Beiju's face. The impact is so brutal it cracks the very ground beneath them and sends her flying backward. Ralph declares he hasn't lost to the darkness and warns that at this rate, he won't be able to fulfill Eok's orders. Beiju counters, asserting she'll make it happen no matter the cost. Their attacks clash in a massive collision of overwhelming force. Yelling that she can't let them leave this place alive, Beiju declares she'll do it, even if she has to sacrifice herself. Then she swears she will kill them all as her own power begins to consume her. She screams, "Evoke's name." But Palm cleverly reveals he still has one arrow left. He fires it, creating a gigantic vortex that swallows everything in its path. A white-haired figure emerges from the explosion and congratulates him. "Good job." Beiju reaches out to Evoke, begging for forgiveness. A colossal explosion of light engulfs the entire chamber. When the dust settles and the light finally fades, only Beiju's weapon remains, floating in the water. Fur despairs as he realizes the water is rising fast. It's almost at the ceiling. Debo tells everyone to just hold on a little longer, promising them that help is on its way. Palm is already submerged and swimming downward, holding a device that creates an air bubble around his head. He knows less than 3 minutes remain and prays it's not too late. The device is already armed and will activate the moment it receives the exact amount of force. There's no time to waste. He has to find the shortest path to his crew, so he darts through the water like an arrow. Ralph breaks the surface, yelling. The water is almost hitting the ceiling. Fur tells everyone to hold their breath as Monu begins to count down. They all dive in, holding their breath for as long as they can. Palm realizes the regular path will take far too long, so there's only one way out.
He stops in front of a giant passage deep below and decides, I'll just make my own path.
He focuses all of his power, knowing he only gets one shot at this. He unleashes a massive attack on the passage, which shatters in a devastating explosion. The force of the blast tears open a new path, and the current immediately pulls everyone inside. A small object drops down, plummeting towards an imposing central tower. Then, massive gears and rings of energy activate throughout the entire structure, setting off a massive chain reaction.
Palm sees the energy flowing from the device now resting in the middle of the room. That energy is feeding the ancient mechanism, model.
With a deafening groan, the colossal gears began to turn, grinding with a power that shook the very foundations of the chamber. Below, Fur and Manu could only stare upwards, frozen in place. A ferocious current erupted, dragging the entire party into a newly formed crevice in the ceiling. Bursting through the surface, Debo and Kiri desperately gasped for breath. I honestly thought that was the end, Debo choked out, watching Kiri collapse against the edge in exhaustion. Minoru's voice trembled. Is the armor going to activate? But Debo's eyes were fixed on the water as he roared, Boss! A menacing whirlpool was already twisting into a vortex.
Palm's body drifted limply through the passage he'd forced open. His consciousness was fading, but one hand still reached out into the deep.
Manu plunged into the depths after him, both swallowed by an ethereal light. In that brilliant abyss, she finally caught him, pulling him into her arms. A gentle voice echoed from nowhere. Pushing yourself to the brink again, aren't you?
Palm's eyes fluttered open to a scene he never thought he'd see again. He was back in the sun-drenched forest, surrounded by the warm, familiar faces of his old crew.
An old friend chuckled. You can rest when things get tough, you know. Kiri's voice was soft. You did more than enough. Palm knew this was just a memory, a ghost of the past. But he remembered his promise, the vow he had made to them all. Back in the cold present, the group huddled together, finally safe at the edge of the now drained chamber.
Palm jolted awake in Manu's arms as she violently coughed up water. He shot up, his voice laced with confusion. What happened? Did you save me?
It's good to see you conscious, Debo said with gruff relief. We were getting worried you weren't coming back. Palm noted. My body feels fine, Ralph confirmed. Your own healing ability took care of that. The young man looked around at their somber faces. What is it? Is something wrong? But Manu quickly cut in, her voice strained. It's nothing at all.